This kid hit the jackpot. The biggest one was getting the Necromancer class, a unique 5-star class. And his second biggest luck wasn't legendary loot. It was having this thick-thighed maiden on his team, with an army of the dead and a thick girl on his side. This apocalypse is going to be easy for him. And unlike other Manhwa, he's not going to be a solo depressed necromancer farming aura. He's going to throw hands with students who think they're the protagonist. This kid is Seong-woo, a former Special Forces sergeant. Today is the day he returned to school. That day his friend Han-ho was one of the only ones who saw the phenomenon in the sky, which nobody cared about at first. He was even called crazy by the psycho sergeant. However, during a boring class, that's when the system appeared. What is the best class to survive the apocalypse? At that moment, the lights went out and everything went dark. The only thing everyone could see was the system, and they only had 15 seconds to decide if they would be relevant or become background NPCs. Everyone had to choose a class. The classes were cards to pick from, and there were many of them. Suddenly one of the cards started glowing, and a sword fell in the middle of the room. The warrior card that had just disappeared was behind it. With time running out, he could only think of one thing. The number of stars on the cards was different, so he chose the one with the most stars, and ended up getting the 5-star necromancer class. Little did he know, he just downloaded a broken hack. Time ran out, and those who didn't choose lost their chance for now. No one understood anything, but one thing became clear. The guy who chose warrior got a sword, and Song-woo chose necromancer and got absolutely nothing. Suspicious, very suspicious. But before anyone could complain, the door exploded, and a student came in, being violently crushed by something that was a goblin. Small, ugly, and clearly had anger issues. Everyone ran. Total chaos. People tripping, screaming. Everyone except one person, the protagonist. Because protagonists don't run, they make questionable decisions. The goblin screamed, and everyone turned to the guy with the sword. Use the sword, man. But there's a small problem. He doesn't even know how to use the sword God gave him. Imagine one made of metal. Even Seong-woo looked and thought, maybe I can count on him. Spoiler, he couldn't. In the end, he was just another extra with starter loot. The goblin charged. Seong-woo even started running, but froze. Turn your back on a monster? Terrible idea. So he turned, and bam, a direct kick. The goblin went flying, because let's be honest, it's a monster, but weighing 33 pounds isn't scaring anyone. Without wasting time, he grabbed a chair and ran like a certified psychopath. The goblin didn't even have time to react. Crash, chair straight to the head, with intent, with force, with feeling. The result? The goblin went to sleep without being able to sleep. And in the middle of all that chaos, there was only one person who did something. Result? Plus 10 gold. Simple as that. You kill, you get paid. But no one was ready for that. The students were in shock. People crying. People rethinking every life decision. And then, the system appeared again. He could raise the dead. And he just got a level 1 goblin skeleton. And behind him something started glowing. The goblin's body rose. But now, it belonged to him. His first vassal. And at that moment, it became obvious. This class is completely broken. But of course, the system wasn't going to make it easy. More goblins rushed through the door. And the little skeleton, standing still, motionless, waiting for orders. Better discipline than half the class. Seong-woo gave the command, and the skeleton rushed in instantly. No fear, no pain, no plan, just violence. But there was a problem. It was 2 against 1. Result, he lost an arm. Poor little skeleton, just got summoned, and already on hard mode. Seong-woo tried to help, so he asked the fat guy for the sword. Mistake. Big mistake. The guy snapped, it's mine, of course, because he was clearly making great use of it so far. Seong-woo just said, then go kill them. But obviously, he won't. So plan B. Chair again. Seong-woo ran like a madman, and together with the one-armed skeleton, they finished the goblins. But when it was over, the skeleton came back, walking slowly, staring right at him. No expression, no blinking, just staring. And Seong-woo, uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. Stop looking at me like that. And the worst part, the skeleton obeyed and became sad. Congrats, you just made a depressed skeleton. But now, he could summon more. An entire army of 3 monsters, or almost that, because he quickly hit the limit. Meanwhile, the rest of the class was still in panic. The teacher tried to calm everyone down with 0 success, so Song-woo went to the window and looked outside. It wasn't just the school. The entire city was in chaos, maybe even the whole country. And that's when it became clear, this wasn't an incident, it was the beginning of the end. Things this bad, one student opens the door and says they need to keep moving. Another tells everyone to head to the parking lot because he has a car. As they run toward the stairs, a group of goblins jumps out of the shadows. The goblins charge the students, but before they can reach them, the undead skeletons ambush them. The MC yells for the students to run while his skeletons deal with the goblins. In the panic, the students split up and run in different directions across campus. The MC tries to stop them, but then decides they may be better off on their own. He knows the game seems to follow rules. He figures his best shot at surviving is to keep fighting, since that's how he gets stronger. He watches his undead minions keep battling for him. One monster goes wild and cuts off the head of one of his undead soldiers. With one soldier gone, Sung-woo realizes he could be in trouble. Now his 2 skeletons face 2 monsters. This time, his skeletons manage to kill them, and he gets more gold. He also sees that his level has gone up. He opens his profile window to check his stats. Instead of stat points, he gets a level up card with a random reward. He knows it's luck-based, but it's also one of the most important parts of the game. He finally picks the random skill card, and it raises his max minion limit by 1. Now he can control 4 minions at once. When he summons another skeleton, he realizes he's running low on mana. He gathers his skeletons around him and sits down to think. He still has no clue what's happening. happening, so for now, he decides to focus only on surviving. With his skeletons protecting him, he slowly heads downstairs. Things look bad down there too, but he knows he can't stay on campus forever. He orders his skeletons to take point and moves out. As the skeletons head down, they run into Han Ho. He freaks out when he sees the undead goblins and smacks one on the head with his dagger. The MC sees him crying and calls out to him. His friend asks what the goblins are, and the MC says they're basically his bodyguards. Then he asks about Han Ho's class, and Han Ho says he picked Rogue. Because his friend is dumb, he chose a 1-star class, thinking it ranked him as high as a brigadier general. Even the minions seem disappointed in him. He joins them, and together they start heading off campus. As they move, the MC gets a notice saying he's gained a synergy effect for traveling in a group. The effect needs the group to equip 5 daggers. It gives bonus gold and a chance to land a fatal hit. The MC realizes this buff activates when certain party conditions are met. Even better, his skeleton army can use the bonus too. That means he can trigger the buff without needing a real party. As they keep moving down, they run into a group of minions and a huge monster that looks like the boss. When Sungwoo spots the goblins, a notice pops up. Scent of Death is active, cutting their stats by 30%. It only works when he has 4 skeletons of the same type. With that effect on, Sungwoo sends in his skeletons. They overwhelm the goblins fast and start cutting them down. But the real problem is the boss. It lifts its hand and uses Wild Berserker. The skill powers up the enemy minions and the fight starts turning against them. Sungwoo forces himself to stay cool. If he wants his skeletons to win, he has to get rid of that buff first. He tells the one-armed skeleton to ignore the others and go straight for the boss. The goblin skeleton leaps at the boss and chops its arm clean off. The boss kicks it away right after, but the job is done. With the buff gone, the skeletons quickly take control and crush the enemy goblins. The boss still refuses to go down without a fight. In the end, it falls too, and Sungwoo gets bonus gold. He sees the boss also dropped some loot. One item is a spear, and the other is a wristband that boosts nearby allies. After picking them up, he looks at the one-handed skeleton standing there, like it's waiting for praise. Sungwoo smiles and pats it on the head, which makes the skeleton perk up. Then he keeps moving with his friend. A little later, he hears people nearby. Sungwoo tells his skeletons to hide so they won't scare anyone. A crowd of students is gathered by the exit gate. One guy tries to calm them down, saying he already contacted the student council, but the college's main gate is locked, and no one can get out. Sungwoo knows the guy already, Jin Seok, a bully who also messes with women. Because he's on the student council, he acts like he's in charge. Sungwoo wonders if he's just showing off. He tells Sungwoo and Han Ho to help protect the other students since they have weapons. Then he asks Sungwoo's class and proudly says he killed 1 goblin. While Sungwoo is cringing at him, a nerdy guy with a sword runs over and says he hears goblins near the stairs. Jin Seok tells everyone to hide in the cafe while they guard the front. At the same time, Sungwoo calls Han Ho over and points to the message on the door. It says the door will stay shut until they beat the boss within a time limit, and if they fail, the boss gets stronger. Sungwoo realizes no one is coming to save them. If they want out, they have to kill the boss. Then Jin Seok comes back, introduces the nerdy guy, and tells Sungwoo to hold off the goblins. Sungwoo asks if he read the message on the door. The guy says he did, but he's waiting for rescue. He thinks the Korean army will show up and save them. Sungwoo knows waiting for help is a bad idea. As he heads back toward the stairs, he sees a pack of goblins rushing at him. The nerdy guy nearly has a heart attack when he sees them. Then the skeletons appear too, which makes him panic even more. Sungwoo signals the skeletons to stop and explains that they're under his control. He calls Jin Seok an idiot and sends the skeletons into battle. With the synergy buff and scent of death active, the goblins don't stand a chance. From the cafe windows, the students watch Sungwoo's skeleton army fight the monsters. Sungwoo joins in too, smashing goblins with his spear. Jin Seok stares in shock, even though he was ready to run the first chance he got. When the goblins try to flee, Sungwoo orders his skeletons to block the stairs. He knows he has to prove he controls these skeletons. If he wants help against the boss, the others need to trust him. His wristband triggers Wild Spirit, speeding up all his minions. These little goblins aren't a real threat now, but Sungwoo knows stronger enemies are coming. The students begin to realize Sungwoo is controlling the skeletons. As his army wipes out the remaining goblins, the crowd starts cheering. They're finally beginning to trust him. Sungwoo checks the dead monsters for loot, but only gets a message saying he earned a roulette ticket. He wonders how that's supposed to work when he doesn't even have an inventory. Then they all head back to the others. Sungwoo smirks at Jin Seok and asks if he was any help. For a moment, everyone just stands there, unsure what to do. Sungwoo tells them they still can't leave because the door won't break. He explains that they have to kill the boss first, and it's somewhere in the building. As soon as they hear that, everyone starts backing away. None of them wants to face the boss. Sungwoo warns them that failing will make things much worse, and they may end up facing even stronger monsters. Then one student raises a hand and says he saw the boss before. It seems to be on the roof. Knowing that's where he has to go, Sungwoo asks if anyone wants to come with him. Just like he expected, no one wants to go. Even Han Ho wants to stay behind, but Sungwoo makes him come since his class can boost the skeletons. While they're talking, a girl named Jisoo cuts in and says bringing more people might actually make things worse in a tight space. She points out that Sungwoo already has skeletons, so adding people weaker than them would be useless. Sungwoo thinks she's a little too quick to judge since they still don't know enough about the boss. He glances at Jin Seok, but Jin Seok starts shaking and says he has to stay behind to protect the students. Realizing no one else is is coming, Sungwoo heads up with the team he has. As they climb, they run into another wave of goblins. The goblins trap them from both above and below on the stairs. Without hesitating, Jisoo charges straight at them and cuts them apart. She fights with a longsword, and it's obvious she knows what she's doing. Hanho is blown away by her skill. Meanwhile, Sungwoo handles the enemies above. After the wave is cleared, they keep climbing. A few flights later, they find an injured professor. Sungwoo runs over and asks what happened. The professor says that when the monsters attacked, he led his students to the roof to keep them safe, but it was a terrible mistake. A horrifying monster up there killed them all. He grabs Sungwoo and begs him not to go, because he doesn't want him to die too. Sungwoo grips his spear and gets to his feet. A new quest appears: kill the boss and avenge the professor. It also says this choice will shape his destiny. Knowing this is a key moment, Sungwoo gathers his skeletons and heads up. As soon as they reach the roof, a message tells them they've entered the boss room. The roof is a slaughterhouse. None of the students there survived the boss. Only some minions are left. Seeing that, Jisoo gets furious and moves to rush the monsters, but Sungwoo stops her and tells her to wait. He knows they have to stay calm and think clearly if they want to survive. It doesn't take long for the goblins to spot them. The monsters draw their weapons and close in. Hanho asks if they should run, but Sungwoo decides to stand and fight. He raises his hand and casts Berserker. Buffed up, his skeletons charge the smaller goblins and start cutting through them. Sungwoo tells the others to use the undead as shields. He stays behind one skeleton and attacks whenever he gets an opening. Jisoo does the same and starts cutting down monsters. Hanho still has no idea what to do, so he just stands there awkwardly. Feeling useless, he pulls out a dagger and throws it at a goblin. It hits, and kills the target instantly. Even he looks shocked. He used to throw other students' pencils away in college, so his aim was oddly good. He throws another dagger right away, and that one hits too. Hanho locks in the second he realizes he's finally found what he's good at. As the enemy goblins start losing, a debuff kicks in and lowers their stats. They panic and run, only to stop in front of a giant goblin. The group instantly knows this one is the boss. With the boss there, the goblins get fired up again and charge back into the fight. As the group tries to hold them off, the boss smashes one skeleton to pieces in a single hit. Sungwoo immediately orders all his minions to fall back, but the boss keeps swinging, killing the skeletons one after another. Sungwoo revives them, but his mana is running low, so he can't keep it up for long. Hanho tries to catch the boss off guard with thrown daggers, but the boss blocks them. Then it charges after Hanho, making him scream for help. The skeletons rush in to save him, but the boss knocks them away. Still, one skeleton manages to land a hit. That only makes the boss angrier, and it kicks the skeleton aside. Then Jisoo suddenly darts in and slashes the distracted boss. It's a solid hit, but not enough to finish it. Sungwoo sees she's fighting smart, so he comes up with a plan too. He has his minions surround the boss and orders one of them to strike from behind. When the boss turns to block, he hurls the spear straight at him. It slams into his face, and the boss howls in pain. The MC is nearly out of mana, and only 3 skeletons are left. The boss notices and laughs. Sure, he's already won. Then he swings his sword, knocking the MC off guard. As the boss charges, the MC knows he has to think fast, or they're all dead. Luckily, he spots a sword on the ground. The boss barrels toward him, shaking everything around him. Sungwoo lets out a breath and tightens his grip on the sword. Then he sends both minions at the boss. The boss instantly smashes one to pieces. The other leaps up and catches the sword the MC tossed it, but the attack misses because the boss blocks it too fast. Now that the skeleton has a sword, weapon synergy activates. Its attacks get faster, and the blade feels lighter. On top of that, its one-armed warrior effect kicks in, giving its first hit an 88% chance to cause bleeding. The MC realizes these buffs give him a real shot at winning. He grabs a chair and rushes the boss with his sword. Jisoo and the skeleton charge in too. He smashes the chair into the boss to open him up, and all 3 attack. But the boss slams the ground, blasting them back. Then Hanho suddenly nails him with a thrown dagger. The MC knows this is the moment. He orders his one-armed skeleton to give itself up so they can land one clean hit. It had carried the fight, but now it was ready to die. In a shocking twist, the skeleton's blade connects and triggers bleeding. At last, the boss drops, and the MC levels up. He also sees the skeleton absorbed all the boss's mana, reached level 2, and gained commander traits. His friends say they leveled up too after the boss died. Then they start checking their level cards. The MC picks a random skill card and gets the power to make bone weapons with mana. Right now, he can only make 4, and their quality depends on the bone he uses. With the boss dead, his exclusive quest ends too. He also gets another skill that raises his minion limit. He still doesn't get the destiny part of the quest. While thinking about it, he sees a hood fall from the sky. His friend picks it up and says it boosts his chance to hide from enemies. Jisoo gets a fire whetstone. If she sharpens her blade with it, her attacks can set the sword on fire. The MC says they can test their new stuff later. They need to keep moving. Back at the cafe, the students start getting nervous. Even the nerdy kid wonders if they should have gone with Sungwoo to fight the boss. Hearing that, Jinseok starts yelling that anyone who doesn't like it can leave. He says if they want to complain, they should go outside, because Sungwoo is the only reason they're still being protected. Then he completely loses it, starts cursing everyone out, and says the MC is dead, so nobody can save them now. Right then, a group of skeletons appears and scares him half to death. The MC walks in and asks if he really wants him dead. He opens the exit door right in front of him and gets ready to leave campus. The group and the skeletons all look back at Jinseok. The The MC asks if he has anything to say. Jinseok just makes an awkward face and stays quiet. Behind him, other students start whispering that he acts tough but is really still a loser. Ignoring them, the MC, Hanho, and Jisoo leave with their skeletons. After checking that the area is clear, Sungwoo spots a passage and tells everyone to follow. As they move deeper, they come across several bodies with crushed heads and wonder if those monsters are still somewhere on campus. Hanho suddenly perks up when he sees a group of people ahead. The MC and the others walk over. They're all armed, and it looks like they fought off monsters and made it. Jinseok quickly pushes to the front, smiling as he greets a guy named Daesung. Daesung recognizes him too and seems surprised he survived. While they talk, Jisoo frowns. She already knows him. When Jinseok leans in and whispers something, Jisoo and Hanho mutter that he's obviously talking about Sungwoo. The MC just stands there smiling. Daesung introduces himself as the student council president, says everyone has been through hell, and insists they need to unite to survive. Then he points at the skeletons and asks about them. The MC casually says they're part of his class card skill. With a trace of disdain, Daesung asks why he picked creatures that kill people. Sungwoo immediately sees what he's doing, trying to paint him as dangerous. Daesung says if he wants to join them, he'll have to get rid of every skeleton. Annoyed, the MC asks what happens if he says no. The student council president raises a hand and asks everyone if they really want those creepy skeletons in their group. Hanho gets mad at the word creepy, but after looking at the skeletons, he kind of agrees, though he still thinks they're cute. The MC says the skeletons are part of his class. If he destroys them, he loses his weapons, and in this world, survival depends on protection, and they provide it. Daesung smirks and says he doesn't need to worry because their group will protect him. Then he asks one last time if he wants to join them. That sets Jisoo off. She steps forward with her sword and says they don't want to join him anyway, and being student council means nothing now. Daesung looks at her and asks if she's from social and physical education. Smirking back, she says none of that matters anymore. The university is basically destroyed. He tells them to calm down and think over his offer again. That only makes her angrier. She brings up how he stole student fees by forging checks during a festival and reveals she was the one who reported him. As the group starts to leave, he yells that they'll regret giving up the synergy effect by not sticking together. After they get away from the student council group, the MC asks Jisoo if she has a personal issue with Daesung. She says he's just a bully who comes to campus to chase girls and harass women. Hanho grumbles when he hears the student council president is that kind of scumbag. Jisoo says they should focus on leaving campus first and avoid crowded places since monsters might target big groups. Sungwoo thinks for a moment and suggests the footpath by the hill since it leads to the main gate and avoids most people. They head up a long wooden staircase while the skeletons keep watch. It's a little too quiet. Suddenly, Sungwoo raises a hand, telling everyone to stop. At the top, they spot a huge orc standing over fresh corpses, bigger than the goblin boss. The MC realizes this is the next wave. Without warning, the monster slams its axe into the ground and charges straight at them. Used to this by now, the MC almost smiles. He sees a chance to make new skeletons. The orc charges the skeletons first and smashes them apart. Then it turns on Jisoo, who awkwardly thrusts her sword. As it lifts its axe to strike again, one of Sungwoo's skeletons jumps in and shatters itself to save her. The MC knows he can't let the orc get any closer, so he orders another skeleton to stop it. The one-armed skeleton steps in front of the orc. When the orc swings, it dodges and lands a hit on the monster's shoulder. The MC tells Jisoo to fall back to stable ground. They can't fight the orc on the stairs. She looks frustrated that the orc broke through her so easily. Once they move up, the MC says they can't fight it head-on. The orc recovers and starts climbing after them. The group moves toward the trees to limit its movement. The MC tells Jisoo he'll use the skeletons as sacrifices for his plan. There are plenty of bodies nearby, so mana is the only thing he really needs to manage. The orc pushes through the trees after them. Once it is surrounded, Sungwoo orders the skeletons to attack. At the same time, Hanho throws a dagger at it. The skeletons join in, hurling their weapons too. Two skeletons rush from its blind spots, but the orc still swats them both. Even so, they manage to grab both its arms and hold on. At the same moment, the MC and Jisoo charge in with their swords. The orc swings at Jisoo, but she slips under its arm and cuts into its knee. It drops to one knee just as the MC slices off its right arm. Then the one-armed skeleton leaps up and lands the finishing blow. A window pops up. The MC earns 110 gold for killing the orc patrol leader. Surprised, he realizes they just beat the orc boss. Jisoo says it still wasn't as hard as the last boss. He walks to the corpse and tries to summon it, but the system says his level is too low to raise medium-tier monsters, so he summons regular skeletons instead and asks Jisoo what card she chose. She says she picked the 3-star Tiger Hunter card just because she liked the color. Now that his mana is back, the MC decides to test his new skill. He crafts bone weapons with mana, a low-grade sword, blunt weapon, spear, and arrow. Each one can be sold for gold. When he picks up the axe, he realizes the weapons are better than he expected. He tosses the axe to one of his skeletons, and he hands the skeletons new weapons, which unlock more synergy buffs. He gives Hanho a sword and tells him to return it to the skeleton later. Then they head back down the stairs. On the way, Hanho notices something strange. Ahead of them is a sealed purple gate with a warning. Beat the boss in 8 minutes, or every monster gets twice as strong. Sungwoo groans. This is the second time they've run into this. At the same time, another alert says orc squads have started hunting, drawn by the smell of hunters in big groups. Jisoo realizes bigger groups attract more enemies, so sticking together may be a bad move here. At the same time, an orc goes after the student council team. From outside the building, Jisoo and Han-ho hear their screams. Seung-woo feels relieved they didn't go with them. The three of them realize a large group isn't always safer. Another alert announces the first orc wave. 5 orcs are coming for them. Han-ho starts freaking out when he sees them coming and asks Seung-woo what the plan is. After a quick pause, Seung-woo smirks and says he's got an idea. He plans to build a trap with nearby cars and his skeletons. As the orcs come down the road, one spots Han-ho standing on a car, yelling and calling them pigs. Enraged, the orcs rush him. Right before they reach him, a car door swings open and knocks them off balance. That's when Seung-woo and Jisoo strike. She draws her sword, and his hidden skeletons swarm in. The skeletons hit from every side, giving the orcs no chance to react. Once the orcs are dead, a system message confirms the win. Seung-woo gets 100 gold from the first wave and reaches level 4. He finds out he can now control 7 minions, though his mana is still limited. Meanwhile, Han-ho gets excited about his new high-speed slash skill. The Seung-woo then asks Jisoo what she got. She says she chose strength, raising her power by 2 and giving her a warm, burning feeling. Seung-woo tells Han-ho to return the sword, then summons 2 more skeletons to prepare for what's next. He passes the sword to a skeleton holding out its hand. As they leave, they realize the whole city has fallen into chaos. While moving ahead, Seung-woo suddenly raises his fist, signaling everyone to stop. A group of orcs is attacking a bus, trying to kill the people inside. From cover, the 3 count 7 orcs. One man inside tries to stab them with a spear, but it barely helps. Seung-woo knows they'll all die if this keeps up. Watching 2 orcs lift their axes again, Jisoo says they should help. Her plan is to hit one side of the bus while the spear guy attacks from the other. But Seung-woo doubts that man has the nerve to fight back, and says trusting strangers is too risky. Then he points at a truck and says it's time to show the orcs the power of civilization. Inside the bus, a blonde guy with a sword and shield yells at the man with the spear for missing the orcs. Kyung-soo snaps back, telling him to fight them himself with that shield and sword. The passengers are shaking and crying, sure they're about to die. Then the orcs suddenly stop attacking the bus and turn toward a vehicle racing at them. It slams into them, launching 2 orcs into the air. The men inside the bus are stunned and can't make sense of what they're seeing. Then skeletons leap off the truck and attack the remaining orcs. One man in the bus is even more terrified of the skeletons than the orcs. After it all settles, the people inside wonder if the skeletons are gone. Then a skeleton suddenly appears at the window. The man drops his spear, falls over, and screams for it to go away. Han-ho knocks on the bus door and tells the scared man to open up. But even when they say they're human, he's too afraid of the skeleton to listen. After wiping out the orcs, they leave. The scene shifts to Han-ho hitting a vending machine with his hammer. Seung-woo asks what he's doing. Grinning, Han-ho says he has no cash but wants a soda, so he's trying to smash the machine. The blonde guy they just saved walks over to buy him a Coke, only to find the machine already broken. Seung-woo scratches his head and asks if they should get back to talking. He points at a machine and asks if it gives out items. Seung-woo nods and says they tested it before, but with so little gold, they could only use it once. Then he notices an old TV with a sticker saying, "If you need this, go ahead and take it," and guesses following that message might give them an item. Suddenly, the TV turns on and welcomes them to the E-Class store. Seung-woo taps the screen and starts checking the shop. The store lets them try their luck with bronze, silver, or gold rewards, and E-Class shops carry items up to gold rank. As he looks through it, Han-ho and Jisoo ask if the shop really works. He says there's only one way to find out. Han-ho has around 360 gold, and Jisoo has 584. Seung-woo, though, has 1,552 gold, enough to try the silver roulette too. But he also has an unlimited rank roulette ticket, which lets him pick an item from any rank. Han-ho stares in shock when Seung-woo chooses the gold roulette. His luck holds, he lands first place. For that, he gets a blue orb called the Tear of the Sea Spirit, a legendary item that boosts his mana by 300 and mana recovery by 200. This is exactly what he needs, since mana has been his biggest problem. After that, he spends more gold on the silver roulette and gets second place, winning a shield. Jisoo also gets second place and receives a skill called Leader of the Expedition Force. Han-ho, though, only gets third place and ends up with potions, which leaves him disappointed. Seung-woo tells him those potions could still matter later. Jisoo says the fight at the sports field is still going, so they should help. Han-ho asks if they'll use the same plan again, but Seung-woo smiles at the truck and says he's thinking bigger this time. Elsewhere, the student council group cries out as orcs attack them. Daesung tells everyone to group up and get ready to run while he holds the line with his sword. One of the men tells him there are still people trapped in the stands. Daesung says to ignore them. They don't have time to worry about anyone else. Then he orders Jin Seok and Yongmin to lead since they both have shields. The group suddenly sees a bus charging at the orcs from behind. The bus tears through them without mercy, while the man driving laughs like a maniac. After crushing the orcs, Han-ho leans out and yells for everyone to get on the bus. The players outside realize they should have followed them from the start instead of staying behind. Jisoo jumps off the bus and faces an orc, wanting payback for last time. When it swings at her, she blocks with her sword. This time the blade doesn't get forced back. She cuts the orc down with her burning sword and turns back proudly, only to find Seung-woo and his skeletons already wiping out the rest. She sees how well he fights by keeping his distance. defense, while his summons do the work. That makes her feel a little foolish for putting all her points into raw strength just to overpower orcs. As he keeps tearing through them, she starts wondering what kind of life he had before all this. After the fight, he looks at Daesung and asks why he's here when he couldn't stand being near the skeletons before. Daesung lets out a nervous laugh and asks if Sungwoo is really going to hold a grudge right now. Sungwoo glares at him and says he saw him abandon people and run. Daesung insists he was just falling back to regroup his team, but everyone on the bus knows that's a lie. While they argue, a notice appears saying the orc chief has become enraged. The Sungwoo gets on the bus at once and tells Daesung he can come only if he follows orders. First, he tells him to hand over his armor. Daesung protests, asking how he's supposed to protect himself without it. Sungwoo just smiles and says he'll be under his protection. After they leave, a system message says he's reached level 5 and can now control medium-sized monsters. Another alert says his monster limit has gone up too. He's pleased to learn he can now control 9 monsters. Then he notices movement behind him and turns to see a skeleton wearing all the armor he took from Daesung. He wonders if it's too heavy for it to move. Thinking back on past fights, he realizes this skeleton has always been more dependable than the others. He sighs and tells the skeleton to take it off. The skeleton looks crushed while Sungwoo puts on the chainmail over his white t-shirt. Hanho walks in and gestures toward the crowd behind them. He says they may need another bus if they want to keep saving people, but Sungwoo says rescuing people isn't the priority anymore. With Jisoo and Hanho beside him, he grabs the swaying bus rail and tells everyone they need to fight the orcs. A system window appears, announcing that the orc boss has started a global destruction operation. Now the monsters will hunt every survivor until no one is left. Sungwoo looks at the crowd and reminds them they can't keep running forever. By the rules of this game, the only way out is to kill the boss. A guy in a tracksuit with bandaged fingers raises his hand and says he saw a huge number of orcs in the gym, around 100. That news sends a wave of fear through the crowd. Then the system warns them about a penalty for poor teamwork. 3 more alerts appear. The first says at least 10 players are still below level 5, cutting their movement and attack speed. The second says at least 10 players haven't killed a single monster, lowering their attack power and gold gain. The third says that because most of them are hesitating, the chance of confusion has gone up. Sungwoo lets out a long sigh. He knows they can beat most of the orcs, but now one thing is obvious. He tells them he'll fight the orcs himself. To him, a weapon means nothing if you don't know how to use it. Jisoo and Hanho try to stop him, but he gives them the same answer. The crowd just stares, wondering if he's lost his mind. The student council members smirk, thinking this could be the perfect chance to get rid of him. Jinseok looks out the window, calls him an idiot, and says he'll be dead soon. Jisoo knows it's a bad plan and tries to talk him out of going alone. He reminds her that on the first floor, she said there was no point in sticking together. His skeletons are stronger than most people on the bus, so bringing others wouldn't help much. Jisoo knows his plans usually work, but this time the risk feels much bigger. Sungwoo walks out onto the field with his skeletons, and everyone watches from the university windows. His friends stay on the bus a short distance away, ready to pull him out if things go wrong. In the middle of the field, Sungwoo suddenly stops as dark enemy shapes appear. The orcs pour onto the field roaring, then charge him all at once. He studies them, trying to spot the chief. Since no special system message appears, he guesses this is only a mid-level boss. A red orc lifts its axe toward him and growls. Sungwoo moves up to the stands and orders his minions forward. His shield scrapes as he sets it down. At the top of the stairs, he chooses to make his stand. The orcs roar and rush the stairs, while the skeletons raise their daggers to strike. Sungwoo instantly uses Wild Berserker, boosting the goblins' strength and attack. But instead of meeting them head-on, the skeletons hurl their daggers at the orcs. A few orcs drop, but the boss blocks the attack. Sungwoo sees the throw failed and orders his skeletons to charge, even knowing it's basically suicide. The orc boss tears through all the skeletons, and Righty glares at it with fire in his eyes. Sungwoo places a hand on Righty's skull and tells him to wait. After wiping out the skeletons, the orcs grin, until something slams into one of them from behind. An undead orc warrior stands there, now under Sungwoo's control. A notice says teamwork has triggered the first synergy stage. He unlocks weapon synergy, which needs at least 5 axes and boosts attack power and speed for the first 10 seconds. The orcs struggle against the undead, who don't bleed and never get tired. From the top of the stairs, Sungwoo and Righty watch the undead orcs crush the living ones below. Students at the windows can only stare as he wipes out the orcs by himself. Behind the shaken orcs, Jisoo, Hanho, and the bus driver watch the fight too. Jisoo's eyes widen as she remembers their last talk and realizes he had planned all of this. Sungwoo checks the system alert showing his mana and smiles when he sees it rising. He wonders if this is what a legendary item can do. Skulls drift over the battlefield as another alert says the orcs are weakened by the heavy scent of death, cutting their stats by 30. Terrified, they start to run, but their leader roars, boosting morale and cutting that debuff in half. With a shout, the orcs charge him again. On the other side, Sungwoo's undead army braces for them. Righty climbs onto the fence above Sungwoo and leaps in to support the undead. As he charges, he draws his sword and starts cutting down orcs. With the undead orcs beside him, the skeleton rushes the enemy on Sungwoo's command. After the last orc falls, Sungwoo sits on the steps and exhales. Then a notification says he earned a lottery ticket for defeating 100 monsters, ranking up to infinite status as the 21st player to do it. That means 20 players got the ticket before him. Then he hears a bus engine. Someone is trying to drive the bus away and escape, but they slam slam into the pink wall and can't get out. Annoyed, Sungwoo sees the student president's group getting swarmed by orcs. They were the ones who tried to flee in the bus. They scream for help as the orcs try to drag them away. Frustrated, he facepalms. They ignored his orders and made everything worse. As Sungwoo gets ready to save them, the other students are told to come with him. He'd rather fight alone, but he lets them join as long as they stay out of his skeleton's way. He heads into the building with 2 undead orcs. Inside, defeated goblin bodies hang from the ceiling. The place is horrifying. The group stops when a glow cuts through the smoke ahead, revealing a monster with shining eyes. Holding the orb, Sungwoo wonders if this is the boss. He tells everyone to get ready. They're about to face the orc boss. The hostages are beaten badly, some with teeth knocked out. He's relieved no one is dead yet, but confused. He didn't think the orcs were smart enough to take hostages. The student council members look at him and beg for help. He glares at them and says this happened because of their own stupidity, and they dragged others down with them. Since he's facing an enemy that may not understand him, he decides to go all in with no hesitation. His plan is to throw the orcs off with a sudden attack and rescue the group. Then, without warning, one orc swings its axe and cuts off the student council president's head. Everyone is stunned, but that isn't the end of it. The real orc boss appears from the roof. He casts a strange spell that makes everyone feel weak. Jisoo gets several alerts saying she's fallen into confusion from the breath of the abyss, and her mana keeps draining. Now the orc boss fully reveals himself, a junior black magician, like a shaman. Hanho's hands shake as he fumbles with a bottle. He drinks it to restore mana, then offers one to Sungwoo too. Sungwoo refuses and tells him to give it to Jisoo instead. He grins as he breathes in the streams of dark mana, almost refreshed by it. A system alert says the breath of the abyss has greatly increased his mana, pushing it past 4,000. Now he understands why he feels so sure of himself. The system says the built-up abyssal breath has temporarily activated his first awakening, greatly boosting his stats and the number of monsters he can summon. Lit only by his own mana, he walks toward the boss with a smile. Black magic used on a necromancer. The boss is clearly confused. He never expected this. Jisoo runs after Sungwoo and says they should attack together, just like on the roof. Sungwoo gives a chilling smile, his body glowing with overflowing mana, and says nothing will be the same from here on. The undead rise into the air, and Hanho watches in shock as all the bodies on the roof come back to life. His eyes stay wide as system messages stack up with all kinds of synergy buffs. Meanwhile, Sungwoo looks terrifying, ready to show the boss the real power of death. The orc shaman starts smashing the undead warriors to pieces, but a system alert reveals they have a guaranteed chance to revive. No matter how many skeletons the shaman destroys, they keep coming back. Every time he kills one, Sungwoo brings it right back, and the orc shaman starts to wear down. The shaman stares at Sungwoo, who now looks like the real monster. Sungwoo asks if he finally understands who he's facing. With glowing eyes, he looks straight through him and says, "This is the true nature of death." The shaman shrieks in fear, unable to figure out how to beat him. He tries to run, but the undead army closes in from every side. Seeing that, Sungwoo tells him he's a fool if he thinks he can escape death. The shaman screams as skeletons leap at him from all directions. He tries to fight them off, but there are just too many. In the end, Righty lands the final blow and ends it. Sungwoo gets 1,055 gold for killing the junior black magician. After the orc chief dies, Righty absorbs his mana and ranks up. Sungwoo realizes his minions need to land the boss kill to gain experience, so he opens his minion list. He now has 33 skeletons, including one level 3 veteran, when Hanho calls out and says something is coming out of the boss monster's mouth. When Sungwoo checks, he sees it's an item. The description says it gives devil traits, and once he puts it on, taking it off will need many sacrifices. He doesn't really know what that means, so he guesses it's probably similar to his necromancer class. He equips it and gains the devil attribute. Now every attack can drain mana from his enemies. Then all his skeletons collapse into piles of bone as the orc shaman's spell finally ends. They return to the other students, who cheer after the boss goes down and call Sungwoo their hero. But he doesn't enjoy it. He doesn't need more people around, and he knows sticking with too many lowers his odds of surviving. Now that the boss is dead, the seal breaks, and the exit doors swing open. The students wonder if they can finally leave and start talking over what to do next. Some decide their best chance to live is staying with Sungwoo. Hanho checks his phone, clearly worried, and says this is happening all over the world. He wonders if his parents are safe. That makes Sungwoo think about his own parents too. A bus suddenly pulls up, and Kyung-soo tells everyone to get on. He says he drove during military service, knows where the base is, and plans to take them there. Sungwoo just smiles and lies, saying he can't go because his house is close by. Kyung-soo tells the others to board, and says they brought 2 buses for everyone. Everyone gets on except Sungwoo's group. Kyung-soo says goodbye and drives away. After they leave, Hanho asks where they should go next, then asks Jisoo where she lives. She says she stayed in the school dorm because her family lives on an island. Then she asks Sungwoo if she can stay with him, even if she won't be much help. He tells her she'll be useful and lets her come along. Hanho asks too, and Sungwoo jokes that first he has to cut off a hand and become a one-armed fighter like Righty. Out of nowhere, Jisoo tackles both of them to the ground to shield them from something above. As they drop, a huge dragon flies over them. The group stares at the terrifying creature, with no idea what it is. Meanwhile, one bus suddenly stops, and Kyung-soo sees several dragons chasing them. A student yells at him to keep driving, but he says moving is even more dangerous now. The dragons seem to be targeting only the buses that keep moving. Then a system alert appears. The boss, Wyvern Alpha Male, has shown up. A second later, the dragon lands on top of the bus and tears it apart after lifting it into the air. Watching that, Seungwoo realizes he's still far too weak for this world, but he can get stronger. Without turning around, he tells Jisoo that from now on, they won't avoid monsters, they'll hunt them. She looks confused and asks what he means. He says they can't survive by only reacting. If they keep doing that, they'll just stay prey. Maybe tougher prey, but still prey. To live, they have to overpower the monsters. He tightens his fist and leads the group toward a pack of orcs. As the monsters and players face off, a system message announces the tutorial is over. Then the hunt starts, and Seungwoo sends his skeleton army to trap a group of minions. The goblins try to run, but every way out is blocked. The skeletons keep cutting them down as the goblins scramble to escape. Each kill gives Seungwoo extra gold. After wiping them out, he levels up. Hanho crawls out of hiding with a nervous laugh, joking that Seungwoo handled it all alone. Seungwoo sighs and says goblins are just small fry, not worth much. He checks the level up cards and picks the one that boosts strength. As soon as he chooses it, his body feels different. His skeletons keep clearing goblins farther ahead, and more gold keeps coming in. When he steps out, he finds Jisoo waiting with her blade. She smiles and says there were 9 goblins, and she killed everyone herself. Seungwoo glances at Hanho and tells him to collect the daggers the goblins dropped. Hanho stores them all in an icebox. As they get ready to move, Seungwoo says they're ignoring goblins from now on. Jisoo asks if that means he wants to hunt stronger monsters. He says goblins only give 10 gold, while one orc gives around 80, but he wants targets that pay even better. They keep moving down empty roads with no one around. Then Hanho spots military trucks in the distance. There are piles of dead soldiers in front of them. When they get closer, they see the soldiers are holding shovels instead of guns. A soldier steps out of one truck with a shovel and asks if they're human. The skeletons behind them clearly scare him. Seungwoo waves with a smile and says yes, they're human, and they mean no harm. The soldier calls for his sergeant and says there are people outside. Seungwoo walks over to speak with the sergeant through the window. The sergeant apologizes for meeting him like this and says he can't come out because his leg is hurt. Seungwoo notices the injury is a goblin stab wound. Sergeant Kim bitterly admits he got stabbed by a monster no bigger than a child. Somehow, they still manage to beat the creature's back. Confused, Seungwoo asks why they aren't carrying guns. The sergeant says their firearms simply wouldn't fire. It wasn't a normal malfunction. Once the monsters appeared, every weapon stopped working, so they had to fight with shovels and swords. Seeing how bad Kim looks, Hanho quietly tells Seungwoo he has healing potions. Kim leans closer when he sees the bottle and asks if they can spare one. Seungwoo looks away and says they can't just give up supplies they might need to stay alive. At that, the sergeant leans out and says he can trade information. He offers to share everything he's seen and heard. Seungwoo says he'll listen first. Kim tells him giant wolves, as big as bulls, are roaming around, and his unit couldn't kill even one before getting overrun. He adds that there are also QR codes. He's found 2 so far. One is at the station, and the other is in the subway transfer center. The sergeant pulls out his phone and tells them to scan the codes, since they install an app. It's the only way survivors can contact each other now that everything else is down. Thinking about this survivor network, Seungwoo finally hands over the potion. Then the sergeant asks where they're headed and says his group is going back to rejoin their unit. Seungwoo asks if he'll actually be safe with them. Kim says that at first their officers took their guns and made them fight monsters with shovels, but he hopes those officers have changed by now. Seungwoo says they're going somewhere else. Before Kim leaves, Seungwoo warns him about what's flying in the sky. Kim starts sweating when he hears there are giant dragons overhead. After they part, Seungwoo keeps moving with his companions and skeleton army. At the station, they find their first QR code. Before scanning it, Hanho nervously asks if it might put a virus on the phone. The app has a message board and a news feed where players can share information. The game's admin uses it for announcements too. Seungwoo reads one of the admin posts and wonders who's behind all this. He checks the message board too, but it's still empty. Jisoo tells him posting costs about 1,000 gold. Then a new post appears from player 4884. It says their group is building a safe zone at the H apartment complex in Hwasong City. Another player comments, asking how to contact them. When Hanho sees the address, he says it's near his home. Seungwoo asks if they should head there. He also wonders how that player could casually spend 1,000 gold. After all they'd been through, they were only level 6, while that group was already level 8. The more he looks at the post, the more something feels off. Even so, he wants to meet high-level survivors, so he keeps heading for the address. Then his phone beeps. He checks and sees a comment on the post was deleted. The player asks why it was removed, and the poster replies that someone was just talking nonsense, so they erased it. That only makes Seungwoo more suspicious. Elsewhere, a muscular man looks down at his phone. He gives a creepy smile, realizing another victim has walked into his trap. Elsewhere, a man desperately tries to protect his daughter from a pack of minions with nothing but a baseball bat, swinging it to keep them back. But he soon realizes he can't hold them off and starts screaming for help. But no other players help. They just watch from nearby houses where it's safe. As the minions close in, one suddenly gets hit with a dagger. Then an undead orc charges in and starts hacking at them with its axe. The man stares in shock as Seungwoo's undead army saves him at the last second. Seungwoo reaches out and tells him he's safe now. Shaking, the man says his house is close, but they ran out of food. The MC gives him a few cans from his bag. He knows it isn't much, but it's all he can spare. The minions try to run, but the skeleton army corners them. Chasing them to the stairs, the group finds a dungeon sign. Han-ho asks if they should go down and finish the minions. Before they move, the man stops them and warns them not to enter the basement. He says something even worse than those green minions is waiting down there. Sung-woo smiles and thanks him for the warning. Once they head downstairs, a message pops up. They've entered the Elder Slime's shrine. Deeper in the basement, they find a dead minion with slime wrapped around its head. An undead orc quickly smashes the slime with its axe. Each kill gives them 140 gold. Han-ho looks at his melting dagger and complains that the slime even eats metal. The MC points out it can't melt bones, which makes his skeletons the perfect counter. Then Han-ho hears something and turns to see a giant slime. It crushes one skeleton minion in a single hit. Sung-woo realizes that if the slime can't melt something, it can still crush and chew it. His skeleton's attacks also do nothing because the slime is too big and dense. He quickly comes up with a new plan and starts making bone weapons. Instead of summoning more skeletons, he turns bones into weapons and hurls them at the slime from a distance. Jisoo tosses a skeleton over, and he reshapes it into another weapon. While he's making weapons, the slime charges him from the front. The MC uses an orc warrior as a shield to block it. The slime swallows the minions and destroys them. Seeing that, the MC grins. The boss just messed up because one of the swallowed skeletons had a bag full of bones inside it. He uses his weapon skill on those bones, and blades burst out from inside the slime, ripping it apart. The skeletons rush in and smash the pieces so it can't heal. As usual, the one-armed skeleton lands the last hit, and they get 2255 gold for beating the slime boss. Sung-woo tells the skeletons to store the slime in an empty glass bottle. They may need the acid later. While gathering the goo, one skeleton finds the slime monster's core. It can dissolve things or fuse them together. The MC picks it up with a cloth and wonders if it's a crafting item. Han-ho calls out and tells him to check the comments on that post. The post is now full of deleted comments. Other players ask why, but the poster keeps telling them to ignore it. Someone asks if the first player who tried to contact them made it there, and player 4884 says no. They claim something must have happened on the way. Han-ho says deleting all those comments feels really suspicious. Sung-woo agrees. First they spent 1,000 gold on the post, and now they keep paying to comment too. Something is clearly off. Then we cut to an underground parking lot where a group of men is hanging around. One says hunting monsters is pointless when killing players pays better. A normal person is worth 500 gold, and a player can be worth over 1,000 depending on level. The other guy laughs and says players are easier to kill, and they enjoy it too. Nearby, two other men sit in a car. One asks about their boss, but the man beside him looks completely unstable. He clutches his head like it's splitting open and screams the name Professor Red. The other man nervously asks if he means the serial killer. The twitching man flashes back to when a monster attacked him. It was a vampire. Showing its fangs, it told him it had a use for people like him. At the same time, the MC draws his sword and asks Han-ho if he thinks he could ever kill another person. After the vampire bit him, that man became a low-rank vampire too. He can't believe it ended up like this. He and his gang had only gone to a convenience store to loot supplies. Then the monster bit him and turned him into a vampire. After that, he started killing his own gang members. The vampire watched with a smile as he slaughtered them one by one. Their boss kept drinking blood from the bodies on the floor. He didn't feel human anymore. The vampire told him to keep feeding and growing until they met again. He snaps out of the memory when the man next to him shouts at him. Another guy walks up to the car and asks if everything's okay. He says it's fine, then asks what the guy wanted. The man shows him his phone and says their prey just arrived. Their post got another comment. Player 157 says he's with two others and they want to meet at the park. Hearing that, the boss immediately orders them to drive to the park. With a cruel smile, he thinks how easy it is to lure fools into the open space around the apartments. The residents stay quiet because they're terrified. And once the prey runs out, the boss plans to kill them too. The driver suddenly brakes when he sees a group standing in the road. They have hoods on and their backs turned, so neither man can see their faces. The boss loses it and yells at him to run them over. The driver obeys and floors it. But when they hit them, only bones fly everywhere. The hooded figures were skeletons, not people. Sung-woo uses those bones to make spikes and slam them into the car. The driver loses control, and the car crashes. The boss has no idea what just happened. Then someone smashes the window and drags him out. After slamming him onto the ground, the MC grabs his phone and asks if he's the one who made the post. With a sword at his head, the boss freezes. The MC had gotten suspicious when he saw the deleted comments. After thinking it over, he realized these guys had to be profiting from it. So they set a trap. But he didn't expect them to try running people down with a car. The boss glares at Sung-woo and demands to know if he has any idea who they are. Sung-woo answers with a hard kick to the face while one of the thugs watches. Coldly, he asks how many men are upstairs and warns he'll rip his head off if he lies. The man just starts laughing. Then he lunges and asks if the MC has ever killed anyone before. Out of nowhere, Righty appears and slices his arm open. The man screams as blood pours out. Sung-woo looks at him in disgust and says that even now he still isn't cold enough to kill someone without hesitation. But his skeletons aren't like that. As an orc skeleton lifts its axe to finish him, the man starts laughing again. The MC wonders if the pain has driven him insane. He turns to the other thug and asks if they should start with his legs or his arms. That guy breaks right away and blurts out that there are 8 people upstairs. Before he can say more, the boss kills him with his claws. Han-ho and Jisoo stare in shock as he murders his own ally. His torn-off arm has turned into a sharp blade. Then he rips off the man's head and starts drinking his blood. That heals him and boosts his stats too. He used to have a 3-star ninja class, but after the boss bit his neck, it changed to low-rank vampire. That class can't really level up. Instead, it steals stats from the players it kills. The man rises with a roar and activates Berserk mode, boosting all his stats by 20. The MC realizes there's a class even more brutal than his own. The group falls into a defensive formation with the skeletons in front. Seung-woo knows one mistake could let the vampire wipe them out in a single blow. He sends his army in, but the vampire is much faster than he expected, so he quickly orders the skeletons back into defense. The vampire tears through them and rushes straight at the MC. He knows taking out the summoner will stop the undead. Seung-woo barely gets his shield up before the vampire strikes with his sharp arm, but Jisoo cuts him from behind and he just laughs. Then he switches targets and goes after her. As he attacks, several daggers suddenly hit him from behind. He turns and sees Han-ho smiling, 2 daggers in hand. Han-ho starts firing daggers at the vampire non-stop. That only makes the vampire madder, and he switches targets. In an instant, he lunges at Han-ho before he can react, but Righty knocks the attack away at the last second. The vampire slips past the blade, then Seung-woo rushes him from behind with an axe. The vampire reads that attack too and smashes the axe. Seung-woo throws up his shield, but the hit is still too strong. He keeps dodging and mocks them for being too slow. While he's focused on Seung-woo, Jisoo comes in from behind with a flaming sword strike. He spots it and dodges aside. Laughing, he tells her he saw that attack coming from far away. Right after that, Righty leaps onto him with his sword. The blade cuts clean through his left arm, and the vampire screams as it falls off. Seeing an opening, Seung-woo orders all the skeletons to swarm him. At the same time, the vampire's goons rush in. He grins and says they showed up at the perfect moment, but his own men freeze when they see what he's become. While he's distracted, Jisoo slashes him again. Righty and the other skeletons pile on at the same time. He tries to strike back, but Seung-woo drives his sword into the vampire's neck. Then he coldly asks if he can regrow his head too, and tears it off. The kill gives him 1,000 gold because the vampire still counts as a level 1 player. Seung-woo is shaken to learn players can earn gold by killing other players. He turns to the remaining goons and asks if that's why they were hunting people. The gang trembles as skeletons close in around them. Seung-woo steps up and tells them to drop their weapons. They surrender at once and throw everything down. When he questions them, one admits there's a bigger boss. They don't know who it is. They only followed orders and had no idea their leader could turn into a monster. Seung-woo wonders if that hidden boss made the monsters, and if so, what class he has. It also makes him wonder if some classes go beyond 5 stars. Then he asks how many people they've killed. When he hears the number is over 21, he signals the skeletons to kill them. They beg for mercy, saying they only followed orders. Seung-woo doesn't spare them. He knows that if they let them live now, they'll just murder more people later. Jisoo is shaken by it, but she agrees with his choice. A new post appears, warning Seung-woo's group not to meet another team because they're killers. Sergeant Kang reads it and gets furious, realizing people are now hunting each other on top of the monsters. Then he sees another comment saying, User 157, Seung-woo's account, wipe those killers out with a skeleton trap. That makes the sergeant smile. He realizes it's the same group he met before. A soldier tells him there's a call, but he brushes it off, saying their saviors are doing fine work. The scene shifts to a man in armor reading the comments, thankful for Seung-woo's group. Even now, they're still trying to protect other people. He steps out and asks his group if it's time for them to move too. As Seung-woo's group walks down the road, Han-ho tells him about a new post. It's from someone called the Prosecutor of Yeongdeungpo, offering survivors a place to comment if they can't afford the 1,000 gold to make their own post. Jisoo and Seung-woo talk about how people are using it to ask about missing family, share monster info, and explain synergy effects. It's helping a lot of players. Not long after, they arrive at Han-ho's home. He stares at it, worried, and prays his family is still alive. Seung-woo tells him to stay calm and be careful. They don't know what's waiting inside. On the way up, they find dead orcs, which only makes Han-ho more nervous. Praying for his parents' safety, he opens the apartment door. A huge slash mark on it makes his heart drop. He yells for his mom to open up. The door suddenly opens, and his parents are there, clearly worried. After they talk, he learns neither of them chose a class card. Han-ho's dad says none of the cards really appealed to him. While they eat, Seung-woo asks how they managed to stop the orcs. Every other apartment got smashed open, but theirs was the only one that held. His dad says he kept the orcs away with pesticide, stunning everyone. His mom proudly adds that the orcs ran as soon as her husband sprayed them. Han-ho nearly spits out his drink hearing that. After dinner, his mother thanks Seung-woo and Jisoo for bringing her son home safely. Then she offers them green tea, since that's all they have. Han-ho points out that he helped too with his daggers, but his mom ignores him. As everyone rests inside, some kids on bikes notice the lights and smirk. Jisoo is the first to come out after showering. Han-ho's mom feels bad for her, thinking she looks weak. Han-ho knows she's way stronger than him. Seung-woo finally gets to shower and feels relieved that Han-ho's parents are safe. His dad used the orcs' strong sense of smell against them. Otherwise, they'd have ended up like everyone else. Even in this ruined world, that was at least one good thing. Afterward, they clean their weapons, and Han-ho asks what the plan is since they can't stay here forever. Seung-woo says they need to decide where to go first, then move. He thinks the first orcs were probably scouts. If a larger group is nearby, this could turn into a full battle. The problem is, they still don't have a real destination. While he's thinking, Han-ho suddenly shoves his phone at him and tells him to look. The guy who opened that comment post has made another one. In it, he claims they've built a safe zone at Yongdong Post Station with help from a 3-star class user, but they need gold or food to keep it running. Jisoo asks if they can trust him. Han-ho thinks the guy really wants to help people. Sungwoo isn't so sure. He says he finally understands why that first post was made. The safe zone might be real, but they still paid 1,000 gold to open a board for survivors. That makes it hard to believe they're doing this out of pure kindness. He tells them to check the comments, which are full of praise. Sungwoo thinks that was the point, to build trust. Soon they may have a huge group, and then people will bring them all the supplies they need. Han-ho can't believe someone would do all that just for themselves. Seong-woo says he could be wrong, but the station is too far away for them to check. Then Han-ho finds a comment from Chief Gu, saying he has another safe zone at Hwasong Fortress, but people have to pay rent. Seong-woo doesn't like that part, but the safe zone interests him. He asks how far it is, and Han-ho says about 20 minutes by bus. Since it's close enough, Seong-woo decides that's where they'll go next. As they get ready to leave, Seong-woo apologizes to Han-ho's parents for asking them to come so suddenly. His dad just smiles and says it's fine. After bringing his son back alive, Seong-woo has his trust. Han-ho's mom warns him that it isn't just monsters anymore. Bandits are roaming the area too. Confused, Seong-woo asks what she means. Her husband explains they're just high school kids riding motorcycles and stealing from people. Seong-woo sighs, realizing he now has to deal with petty thugs too. Then they hear a bike coming closer. When they turn, they find a group of teens trying hard to look dangerous. They stop in front of them and demand all their supplies. The kids back up the threat with baseball bats and their numbers. Seong-woo smiles and asks if they really think they outnumber him. Behind him, several glowing eyes appear. The teens instantly turn and run before he can finish. The group is left confused, unsure what scared them off. Seong-woo looks back, worried, and sees a pack of giant wolves staring straight at them. Since the wolves don't attack right away, he tells everyone to back up slowly. He doesn't want to fight 4-legged monsters up close. Their claws and fangs are bad enough, but their balance makes them even more dangerous. If anyone gets knocked down, they're dead. The group slowly retreats into the apartment building, and Han-ho asks if they'll be safe inside. But with the wolves still watching, Seong-woo knows they could break in and drag them right back out. As he tries to think of a plan, one wolf suddenly charges and slams into the front wall. Seong-woo suddenly hurls an acid bottle at the wolf, burning it badly. While it writhes in pain, the MC tells his skeletons to throw their spears. Their one edge over the wolves is simple. They can attack from a distance. When another wolf tries to break in, the MC sends an orc skeleton straight at it. The wolf easily crushes the skeleton by biting off its head, but then green acid starts spilling from its mouth. The MC grins and reveals the skeleton was carrying slime mucus. To finish it off, Righty leaps down from the first floor and drives a blade into the wolf's head. The MC earns 240 gold for the kill. The last wolf panics when it sees the skeletons closing in with spears. The rest of the wolves die soon after, and Seong-woo levels up to 7. Jisoo lowers her head and says they just keep becoming dead weight. The MC tells her that's not true. The situation was just bad for them. Looking at her, he thinks that even though her class is Tiger Hunter, it's really more of a special class built around pure physical strength. Han-ho, on the other hand, doesn't seem to be getting any stronger. He tries to control one of the wolves, but his level is still too low, so he says they should keep moving in case more monsters are nearby. Elsewhere, a military helicopter is being chased by flying dragons. The captain yells for more speed, but the pilot says they're already at max. He curses Sergeant Kim for not giving a better report on the dragons, and the pilot reminds him he ignored those reports because they came from a sergeant. Then a system alert appears. The field boss, Wyvern, has spawned. The dragon grabs the helicopter in its claws and tears it apart with ease. After that, it lands on top of a huge building and lets out a massive roar. Seong-woo and the others see it happen, and they're horrified. Han-ho had hoped the military helicopter could fight the monsters, but he was wrong. His dad notices the dragons are settling down to sleep on the building. That puts them dangerously close to the safe zone, but they can't move with that thing still there. Seong-woo says the dragons will leave eventually and tells everyone to rest for now. By night, the dragons are asleep on the buildings, while the group rests below. Then the MC notices a flash, followed by a system notice, like the one from the start of the apocalypse. The second card selection phase has begun. Han-ho shouts at his parents not to repeat his mistake and pick a low-star card. His dad calmly says he won't. He's been playing cards for 20 years. As Seong-woo scans the cards, he sees only 15 seconds left. Since he already has a class, this new card will become his secondary class. One card suddenly vanishes right in front of him. That's when he realizes other people are choosing cards too. Han-ho studies the options carefully, trying to grab the card with the most stars. But the MC knows stars alone aren't enough. His second class has to work with the one he already has. Then he finds the perfect card and picks it right away. He chooses a 3-star link card for the Dark Mage class, and the system says it will merge with his current class to give him new skills. He checks his skills and feels satisfied. They match his Necromancer class perfectly. Meanwhile, Han-ho starts crying because he accidentally picked a 1-star priest card. Its new skill gives him a 10-second shield after he kills an enemy. While he's still upset, his dad asks if he picked the right card. He looks up and sees his dad's 3-star Pioneer class card, which lets him create safe zones. Sungwoo gets excited. Now they don't need to go to the fortress anymore. While Hanho's dad keeps showing off, he asks his wife what class she chose. She says she picked the 1-star chef class. He says she should have picked something useful in a fight. While that goes on, Sungwoo turns to Jisoo and asks about her card. She says she got the 3-star Hitman card. It gives her a sharp danger sense that boosts her awareness when she's threatened. She realizes the MC has become really strong. He fights smart and stays calm even under pressure. Jisoo knows she can never be just like him, no matter how hard she tries. But she still needs to grow stronger, so she'll find her own path, strengthening both her body and her mind. The MC asks Hanho's dad to explain his skill more clearly. The Pioneer class can make a Pioneer's camp. It costs 10 mana every 10 minutes and protects players from monster attacks. The area is limited. Strong attacks can break it, and if his mana runs out, it starts costing 100 gold every 10 minutes. Sungwoo realizes keeping a safe zone here would be hard, and gathering a big crowd around it sounds even worse. He says they should save that skill for emergencies and find a better place to use it. Hanho asks if that means they aren't going to the fortress anymore. The MC looks outside and says they don't need to. He figures every group out there will try to abuse its power, so it's better to avoid them. Then, looking out the window, he notices the dragon starting to move. Soon the dragons fly away, and the group can finally leave the building. The MC tells Hanho to search the forum for store locations. Sungwoo has more than 24,000 gold now. He knows he needs to spend it to get stronger, because those high-level monsters could show up again anytime. Even after checking the whole forum, Hanho still can't find where the stores are. Then they hear motorcycle engines. The kids are back out now that the dragons are gone. Hanho tells the MC it's probably the same gang from yesterday. The MC smiles and says they should ask those kids about the stores. If they've been stealing gold from people, they must know where to spend it. As the kids walk, they talk about the store. They had bad luck last time, but they're sure they'll get good items on the next try. After all, 90% of gamblers quit before they hit it big. The kids finally return to their hideout, but the place looks empty. They quietly unlock a room and find all their friends hiding inside. One of them asks where Yujin is. The other kid starts crying and says the man came back and took Yujin because she hadn't collected enough money. Then Yujin suddenly walks in and tells him to shut up. He asks if she's okay, but his face changes the moment he sees her clearly. She looks like a vampire. He walks past her and heads into their boss's room. The boss calls him Taishong and asks why he killed Wusuk, saying the man was loyal to their cause and was their leader. The kid says Wusuk attacked them first, so they had no choice. The boss asks if he'll kill Yujin too. Then he stands and says that when vampires stop drinking blood, they slowly lose their minds. Taishong hesitantly asks if he even knows how many people Wusuk killed. That sets the man off, and he snaps, asking if Taishong is talking back. He reminds him that their boss was generous enough to let them work for him, and warns that they won't survive if they disobey. Taishong turns to leave and says he'll figure it out himself, but the man stops him and warns that if he doesn't bring back 10,000 gold in 2 days, he'll be the next to die. As this happens, he starts hearing voices outside. Sungwoo and the group have entered the hideout, and the MC mocks their customer service. Thinking he's a buyer, the boss asks what he wants. The MC points his sword at him and tells him to hand over everything. The vampire starts laughing, saying they have no idea where they've walked in. When Sungwoo notices the fangs, he asks if this guy is the boss of the apartment gang. The boss gets furious when he realizes these are the people who killed his gang members. He charges at them, but an orc skeleton catches both his arms. The MC presses his sword to the vampire's neck and asks if he can regrow his head. 2 orc skeletons hold him down while Sungwoo drives the blade halfway into his neck and warns him not to move. Then he asks if he's the vampire lord. The vampire just laughs. Then he instantly breaks free and shatters the sword. He lunges for the MC, but several daggers hit him first. It almost seems like the MC already knows what he'll do. Before the vampire can react, Jisoo rushes in and cuts off one of his arms. He screams as blood pours out. He can't properly heal the arm because her attack has a fire effect. Jisoo swings again, her sword blazing with fire. This time, though, he slips to the side. At the same moment, she ducks and cuts him again. That enrages him, and he starts going after her, but she can actually keep up with the vampire's speed. During the fight, he grabs her sword and tries to counterattack, but her new skill warns her, and she dodges easily. Then the orc skeletons strike the vampire from behind. Thanks to the MC's new skill, they're boosted by Death's aura, which makes them stronger and weakens their enemies. Sungwoo realizes his undead would have folded against the vampire before, but his new skill is letting them hold their ground now. The orcs quickly force the vampire down to his knees. With no way out, he panics and asks what they want from him. He looks at Sungwoo and figures out he's controlling the skeletons. Since Sungwoo looks fragile, the vampire thinks he can kill him in one hit. He decides to stall with talk, get close, then strike. But before he can move, bone spears punch through him. Sungwoo says he can still talk with spears through his chest, then glares at him and asks if he wants more. Taisong watches in shock, unable to believe they beat something that strong. The vampire laughs and warns them not to get cocky just because they won. Then he starts changing into a terrifying monster and says they'll all die once the plan is complete. Sungwoo is done listening, so he tells Jisoo to finish it. She cuts his head off at once, and that ends him. Seeing that, Taesung begs for his life and says he and his group. Sungwoo just smiles and says he only wants everything they stole. The thieves hand over all their gold, but it isn't much. Jisoo looks at the vampire's corpse and asks if this boss is the same one the other vampire mentioned. Seungwoo says whoever this is, he's getting stronger. He even has people collecting money, so he's clearly planning things out. Jisoo can't believe someone adapted to this new world even faster than Seungwoo. Those guys seemed way better built for this world than the old one. Seungwoo knows more vampires will appear soon, since the boss and his men can turn players into vampires. He wonders if he can ignore them, but he can't. Right now, it takes his whole team just to bring down one. If they attack in a group, his side won't stand a chance. After today, he knows they'll face the vampires again. Then Seungwoo turns to the teenagers and asks about the store. Taesung quickly offers to guide them there. Then everyone freezes when a red system message appears. It says some players still haven't chosen a card, even after getting a second chance. Seungwoo can tell something bad is coming. One of the teens starts screaming. He still hasn't picked a card. He says the whole thing felt suspicious, so he didn't trust the system. Then he points at another guy and says he didn't choose one either. Another red message appears. Anyone who still hasn't picked a card will now turn into a monster. Both players scream as the change starts. The moment Seungwoo sees it, he knows they can't win if the transformation finishes. He orders everyone to attack before it completes. Outside, Hanho's parents wait nervously. His mom wonders if it's really okay to hurt all these thieves. Hanho's dad snaps back that those teens made people suffer and even killed some of them, so they deserve this. Inside, the orc skeletons do everything they can to kill the monsters before they fully change. Seungwoo knows that's their only chance. Suddenly, one wolf monster attacks and snaps a skeleton in half. Seungwoo is stunned by its raw strength. Righty and the orcs keep pounding the werewolves until they finally bring them down. Each kill gives him 3,000 gold, and he levels up to 8. He stares at the bodies in horror, wondering what kind of monsters they were to give that much gold. He picks a random stat card and gets +3 speed. He's pleased with that, and Jisoo says he needs better stats since enemies will target him once they realize he controls the skeletons. Meanwhile, Hanho is still freaking out, wondering if this is the kind of monster they'll keep facing. Seungwoo says he has a plan. He'll try turning the monsters into his minions. He avoided doing that to humans before because it could ruin his image with other players, but now things have changed. Plenty of players still haven't chosen a card, and they'll become monsters soon. If he wants to survive, he can't worry about his reputation anymore. As he turns the skeletons into his servants, he thinks they might even be able to stand against the vampires. Taesung watches in shock as his friend becomes one of Seungwoo's skeleton soldiers. Seungwoo gives him a cold look and asks where the store is. Taesung tells him it's inside a used car complex, and the people running it are far worse than his group. They only stole from people, but those men work for the vampires and hunt people for them. Hearing that, Seungwoo tells him to lead the way. They head into the car complex with orcs and werewolf skeletons around them. Seungwoo immediately feels something is wrong. There are no guards in sight. Then a loud crash echoes out, and he orders everyone to hide. From cover, they watch a bear monster fighting a vampire. The vampire is losing badly as the bear smashes him with iron chains. Seeing those chains, Seungwoo wonders if the vampires kept the monster captive. Then he realizes it was probably a kidnapped human who turned into a monster after failing to choose a card. Just when the fight looks over, the vampire gets back up and charges again. The bear is hurt too, but it still hammers the vampire away. Seungwoo realizes this could work in his favor. If he times it right, he can take control of the bear monster. As both monsters roar and clash again, Seungwoo sends in his werewolf skeletons. One stabs the vampire, but the bear strikes back. It tries to grab the werewolf, but the other one jumps in and tears it with its claws. Seungwoo gets 3,500 gold for killing the bear, but he's already at his minion limit, so he has to destroy one skeleton to claim the bear. He dismisses an orc and replaces it with the bear, a massive summon that looks like the biggest a mid-level minion can be. Then Hanho spots their school bus parked with the other cars, and the group realizes the vampires captured the students. Seungwoo knows that if everyone on that bus was taken, the number of enemies inside could be insane. They can't just charge in either. He turns to Taesung and asks about the store, but as Taesung starts pointing the way, someone slaps his hands aside. He turns and sees his friend Yujin, now turned into a vampire. The vampire laughs at her name and says he hasn't hurt Taesung's friends because he sees them as his children. He only came to find whoever has been killing his vampires. Seungwoo realizes Yujin is being possessed and figures the vampire came after sensing his subordinates die. He tells him he's pretty talkative for a vampire lord. The vampire laughs and says he likes explaining things to idiots. Some even call him the professor. Then he cuts to the point. They're all as good as dead. Without warning, he places a lesser curse on Seungwoo, one that can only be removed with holy magic. The vampire lord laughs and gets ready to kill Seungwoo and the others. But before he can act, Seungwoo kicks him straight in the face. Hanho sees it and blurts out, asking if he's even human anymore. Seungwoo looks at the red mark on his hand and wonders if it's from the curse. Luckily, it doesn't seem to be affecting him yet. Then Hanho runs up in his priest outfit and reaches out to him like some kind of angel. Seungwoo thinks it's sad this is what passes for a priest now. Hanho grabs his hand and tries to lift the curse, but his holy magic is too weak. The curse lets the vampire lord track Seungwoo every 12 hours. A new alert appears, a special quest. To clear it, he has to kill the vampire lord. The reward is 30,000 gold and a C-rank item ticket. That actually makes things easier for Seungwoo. Now he'll kill the vampire lord before the vampire lord kills him. Then he goes to Taishang and asks where the vampire's lair is. The group enters the D-rank item store. This time, they have 4 ball choices, from bronze to platinum. The top one costs 100,000 gold. Seungwoo steps up first. He has an unlimited rank ticket that would let him use the platinum ball, but he saves it for later, thinking it'll matter more then. He can still survive without a top item right now, so he picks the gold option. A new screen opens with more choices. Remembering last time, he decides the first place ball is worth taking no matter the price, since it gives the best shot at the top item. He grins and puts everything on the line. This time, luck is with him. He gets the first place prize. His reward is a coupon for a master rank class skill. It costs no mana and creates a safe space where his minions can rest until he calls them back. But summoning several at once triggers Curse of Death, and it gets stronger with more minions. Jisoo and Han-ho glare at him for taking all the best rewards. She shoves him aside and goes to try her own luck. Meanwhile, Seungwoo tests the new skill and sends his minions into the safe space. It works like a huge inventory. He can store his minions there and call them back whenever he wants. Excited, he turns to ask his friends what they got, but both of them look miserable. Jisoo only got a B-rank medkit and some hiking gear, while Han-ho ended up with a tough bullhide cuirass. Seeing their faces, he awkwardly asks if they should keep moving. At the same time, the vampires are holding the students captive in their lair. Surrounded by his friends' bodies, Kyung-soo wonders if he should have gone with the MC back then. He realizes taking everyone to the military base was a mistake. After carefully dodging the dragons and finally reaching the base, they found it ruined and empty. Then everyone started asking him what to do next. Panic spread through the students as they tried to figure out their next move. They all turned to Kyung-soo. Overwhelmed, he wondered why he had to carry this when he had only driven them there. One student showed him a phone and told him about a safe zone at the fortress. With everyone waiting on him, he realized they were still alive because of his choices. So he trusted himself and led them to the fortress. It was a terrible choice. There was no safe zone there, only vampires, and they slaughtered the students without mercy. The survivors were turned into vampire slaves. One vampire kicks Kyung-soo and orders him to keep moving. Laughing, the vampire says they can just eat him if he's too tired. As they joke about devouring them, Kyung-soo can only stare in despair. He knows he'll die just like his friends. As the vampires line up the students, they spot a skeleton in front of them. It's no bigger than a normal minion, and it's aiming its sword at them. The vampires laugh, thinking it's just another monster. One of them jumps in to rip it apart, but multiple spears pierce him instead. Then Seungwoo's whole army arrives. Kyung-soo lights up when he realizes the MC came to save them. When Seungwoo steps in front of him, Kyung-soo sees how much stronger he looks now. They're both college students, yet the gap between them feels huge. The vampires scramble back up and get ready to attack again, but one is instantly torn apart by the skeleton bear. Standing calmly in the middle of his army, the MC orders them to kill every vampire but one. He wants answers first. Kyung-soo watches in shock as he realizes this group is far stronger than he thought. And it wasn't just the MC. Even Jisoo looked much stronger now. The last vampire begs for mercy, while the orc skeletons pin him down. Seungwoo asks how many players and vampires are inside the building, and what levels they are. The vampire says there's only the area manager, who's level 5. There are 12 players total, and the highest among them is level 4. The MC thanks him for being honest, but he never planned to spare him. The vampire desperately adds that he knows the building's security and everything happening inside, but Kyung-soo stabs him before he can finish. Looking up, Kyung-soo says he already knows what's going on inside the factory. He breaks down, saying they can't let a single vampire live. His friends may have been cowards, but they didn't deserve to die like that. Seungwoo pats his shoulder and tells him he did well to survive this long. He says vampires don't become killers overnight. They hide among normal people and only need a chance to come out. The old world may be gone, but they still can't let monsters like that walk free. While they sort out the kidnapped players, one man asks the area manager how long he plans to keep this up. The manager smiles and says these people are just food and experience. They're easier to catch than monsters and far more useful. Then he says their CEO has amazing vision. Hearing that, the man gets excited and says he wants in too. The vampire tells him he can become a regular member if he keeps working hard. He says he also started as a lowly warehouse worker before becoming a permanent employee. In the middle of his speech, he hears someone mocking him. He turns and sees the MC standing there alone. Seungwoo laughs and says they're really calling throwing away their humanity innovation. The manager asks who he is and starts walking toward him with his crew. The students in the cages recognize the MC and feel relieved. The vampire hears them and snaps, reminding them they're only food. Seungwoo gives him a cold stare and asks if his CEO never told him who he was. Then the vampire realizes this is the one who killed Manager Park. Hearing the word manager, the MC laughs and asks if this is some kind of office worker fantasy. The manager sees him walk into the factory alone. He knows the MC is bold, but still doesn't believe one person can beat all of them. Seungwoo just smiles and says his skills are enough. Suddenly, black smoke spreads across the whole floor. The workers panic when a notification says the Great Spirit has been activated. Skeleton minions start appearing one after another from the smoke. With them, Curse of Death kicks in and lowers every employee's stats. The vampires finally understand what real fear feels like as the skeletons swarm them. The manager tries to steady them, but it doesn't work. Every time the vampires destroy a minion, it rises again right away. The manager grows furious and kicks one of the orc minions into pieces. He charges at the MC, knowing he's the one controlling them all. But before he can move, an acid bottle smashes into his head. Han-ho is at the first floor window with a clean shot. As the vampire drops, Jisoo frees the hostages, while Kyung-soo crashes his bus through the factory wall and yells for everyone to get inside. The vampire tries to chase them, not realizing Righty is coming for him on a wolf. The werewolf skeleton knocks him to the ground, and Righty leaps up for the finishing strike. With Seungwoo's crazy buffs and debuffs, the vampire has no chance. The MC tells him the abandoned factory they picked was one of the easiest places to raid. That makes the vampire nervous. Seungwoo isn't just strong, he's smart too. Bleeding from one arm, he hears his CEO offering him power to kill the MC. Seungwoo watches in confusion as the vampire grows larger and turns even more beast-like. A notification tells him a high-level vampire has gone berserk. Seeing how much he changed, he asks if this is his true form. The vampire lunges forward in a rage and tears into the skeletons. The MC orders all of them to fight back, but the vampire holds them off by himself. He moves fast, smashing skeletons as he goes. Then he catches Jisoo for a split second as she vaults over him and cuts his back with her sword. When he turns around, she grabs Righty and hurls it at him, and Righty slices through the vampire in midair. At the same time, another orc swings at him, but the vampire shatters it. Each time he destroys a minion, the MC revives it at once. Han-ho is amazed Jisoo can hold him off by herself, but the MC says that's actually bad for them. He knows the vampire doesn't have long before he collapses. He's lost too much blood and gone berserk. But Seungwoo could run out of mana first. If his orcs stop holding the front, he's in trouble. And his biggest concern is that this vampire is only a servant of the real boss. Seungwoo wonders how strong the true vampire lord must be. While reviving his minions, he spots the corpse of a werewolf monster. He smiles and tells the vampire he's borrowing one of his captured monsters. With one more werewolf added, all his minions get a new synergy buff. The vampire gets confused when the skeletons suddenly become much stronger. Seungwoo orders his werewolves to tear the vampire apart. They obey and start eating him alive. Seungwoo looks him in the eye and tells him to let his boss know his little Hwaseong business is bankrupt now. He gets 10,000 gold for the kill, but the system marks the vampire as a player. The MC realizes he might be able to turn the corpse into a minion. Before, he cut vampires' heads off to stop regeneration, but this one still has his head, so conversion should work. He revives the body as a vampire skeleton and tells it that it works for him now, not the vampire lord. Then the MC gets a notice saying he can view the memories of corpses under his control. He wonders what that means and checks the vampire's memory. He's never been able to view a minion's memories before, so he wonders if this is a new skill. He sees the vampires in a meeting with the vampire lord, who is drinking a huge glass of blood. The vampire lord asks them what the game is for. When no one answers, he says their true goal is evolution. He says it doesn't matter whether the game came from a god or aliens. What matters is the chance to shed their weak bodies, create a new species, and build a new world order. Seungwoo glares at him, realizing this is the vampire lord. The vampire lord says he's been given a new quest, and everyone there must help him with it. They all agree right away. Seungwoo wonders if being bitten brainwashed them, because their loyalty to the vampire lord feels automatic. Then the vampire lord announces a party in Hwasong and tells them to bring in as many people as possible and enjoy themselves. He tells manager Kim to handle the food and farming supplies. Seungwoo realizes they're building human farms and planning slaughter parties. Their plan is to bait people in with fake safety zones and false hope. A moment later, Seungwoo gets an exclusive quest. He remembers getting a similar one when he saw his professor die. This quest is tied to the vampire lord's massacre party. Seungwoo can stop it or use the bodies for himself, and that choice will shape his future. Han-ho tries to wake him, but Seungwoo is still trapped in the vampire's memory. Han-ho starts crying, thinking something went wrong when Seungwoo took over the vampire. When Seungwoo finally wakes up, he puts a hand on Han-ho's head and asks who dared say he messed up. Han-ho flinches. Seungwoo lets go and reminds him that he promised to do whatever he asked. Then he smiles and says he wants Han-ho to do a quest with him. At the same time, the vampire lord is furious that Seungwoo killed his manager even after receiving some of his power. Madame Yang nervously asks if Seungwoo could ruin the plan. The vampire lord brushes it off, saying those weak skeletons are no threat. After the great feast, he plans to hunt Seungwoo down and kill him with a curse. Outside the factory, everyone is gathering daggers and other weapons from the vampires. Han-ho asks if they should really be doing this, and Seungwoo asks what he means. Jisoo reminds him what he said earlier, that a huge massacre is about to happen in Hwasong Fortress. She asks if they should hurry and stop the vampires first. At the same time, Han-ho urgently says something big is happening online. The vampires are posting promises of safety and free entry to lure players to their camp. A man named Manager Gu is trying to draw in survivors. Han-ho wants to post a warning, but Seungwoo stops him. He says a warning may not matter to people desperate enough to grab even the smallest hope. If the vampires change plans, Seungwoo loses the edge of knowing what they'll do. Since they can't stop them yet, he says they should use the time to prepare instead. Then he asks Jisoo if she found anything useful. She says she found some valuable potions in vampire manager Kim's warehouse. Han-ho finds a wireless battery pack they can use to charge their phones. Jisoo also finds a white potion called Treatment that cures infections. Sungwoo uses it on Taesong's friend at once, and she partly returns to normal. Taesong and the others thank him over and over. He knows she's suffered a lot, and even though the potion didn't fully heal her, it still helped a lot. He warns Taesong to keep watch in case the vampire lord takes over her again. If that happens, Sungwoo says, he'll have to kill her, and Taesong swears he won't let that happen. Sungwoo wonders if that means they'd try to stop him from killing their friend. Still, he knows they're criminals, not monsters, so he lets them go. He does tell them he may need them again later. Then Sungwoo asks Hanho's dad, Mr. Lee, to use his skill. It creates a safe zone around the factory where recovery is much faster. Inside that space, Mr. Lee has total control. Everyone starts feeling better as their injuries heal. Since Hanho's mom is a chef, she can cook meals that give everyone buffs. Jisoo looks around and says people are finally adapting. Sungwoo asks if she got an exclusive quest too, but she says no. It turns out he's the only one with one, so he tells Jisoo Yoon she doesn't have to come. She says she wants to go. He asks if it's because she feels a sense of justice, but she says no. She says she can't keep running from monsters forever. If she does, she'll die sooner or later, so she wants to fight to survive. While they talk, a new notification appears. It announces that all survivors have entered Chapter 1. The admin congratulates those still alive, says many died, and explains that those who failed to adapt became werbeasts. From here on, survivors will face both monsters and humans. The notice gives 4 warnings. The event lasts 7 days. No one can leave Suwon or Hwasong Fortress. Players earn double gold. Second-round players can get random combo cards from werbeasts, and each region will spawn a boss with special items not sold in shops. Sungwoo sees the message and realizes they can't move to another region anymore. Jisoo firmly tells him they have to stay and fight instead of running. Hanho is upset that Sungwoo is dragging him into such a dangerous quest. Sungwoo tells him Jisoo has been with them from the beginning, even though she could survive fine on her own. Hanho, on the other hand, is too weak to last even a day alone. Then Hanho changes the subject and says people are replying to his community post. Most comments are mixed, but one from the prosecutor of Yongdongpo stands out. This man built a safe base with a level 3 pioneer skill and formed a guild called Independence, focused on keeping the group alive and creating a safe zone for survivors. Sungwoo doesn't think the man expects him to join. He's just trying to show others his group has honest intentions. Hanho is amazed he thought that far ahead, and Sungwoo says ambitious people are starting to step forward. Then Hanho asks where they're headed. Sungwoo says they're going to level up, then asks Hanho's level. Hanho admits he's only level 5, which Sungwoo calls weak. Just then, Kyungsoo stops the car and says they've arrived. They get out, and Hanho asks if this is really the place. Sungwoo says it is. He declares it their new hunting ground. Monsters are hiding all over the area. Suddenly, a huge burning rock flies at them. They barely dodge it by ducking behind cars. These small monsters can use magic, but they're still no match for Sungwoo's skeleton army. Once Jisoo and the skeletons finish them off, Sungwoo explains that they're called kobolds. He says they came to level up Hanho and maybe find new minions. He already has werewolves that can tear through several low-level vampires. Jisoo calls Sungwoo over and tells him to look at the grocery store. The parking lot is covered in bodies, reminding her of their old campus. Sungwoo realizes this was probably one of the tutorial sites. She asks if there could still be survivors inside. Sungwoo says crowded places draw monsters, so the odds are low. Hearing that, Kyungsoo guesses rural areas or small places like Jeju Island might be safer because fewer people live there. That gives Jisoo some relief, since her family lives there. She notices Sungwoo looking at her and says he doesn't need to worry. She never expected to see them anyway. She adds that they're probably fine since they're all important people. Sungwoo can tell her family situation is complicated, so he doesn't press her. As they enter the mart, the entrance seals shut with magic, turning the place into a dungeon called the Sorcerer's Fortress. The only way out is to beat the boss. A huge magic circle suddenly appears under them and teleports everyone to different places. Hanho drops from the ceiling into a group of kobolds, who mock the weak human they just caught alone. At first he thinks he can take them, but once he realizes he's by himself, he panics. His life expectancy drops from half a day to 30 seconds. The kobolds leap at him, but he accidentally kills one. As the others swarm him, he starts thinking this is how he dies. Then he realizes their attacks aren't hurting him at all. He remembers his priest skill gives him 10 seconds of protection after a kill. The kobolds stare at him, confused that nothing is working. Hanho gets up, still terrified, and asks if they really just called him weak. Meanwhile, Kyungsoo and Jisoo end up together and search for the others. They notice blood around a corner, then find Hanho standing over a pile of dead kobolds. Jisoo stares in shock, but Hanho proudly says he's finally awakened his hidden power. Now that the three are together, they agree Sungwoo can handle himself. Just as they thought, Sungwoo and his minions are wiping out kobolds. He clears them fast, but he's still worried about his friends. Near the exit, he finds a badly wounded survivor. The man is in terrible shape, and potions won't do much. The man weakly lifts a finger and points at a box. Sungwoo picks it up and asks if there's a potion inside. Instead, he finds a strange egg. Its description says a creature from it will change his fate. With his last breath, the survivor says the dungeon boss has the token token needed to claim the egg. The egg was his, but the boss stole its token. Sungwoo is stunned to learn the man was a powerful 5-star dragon knight. He figures the man got lost in the dungeon and had all his tokens taken by the boss. His class likely became truly strong later on, but he died before reaching that point. Even if it's called a mysterious egg, Sungwoo knows it's a dragon egg. He figures the man told him because he wanted him to finish this game. More kobolds rush in. His minions cut them down with ease. Now Sungwoo is determined to get the token and avenge the boy who died before him. As his minions keep slaughtering kobolds, he starts wondering why they keep charging him without any fear. They seem to be attacking like mindless puppets. Then he hears an explosion and spots a kobold sorcerer. Creepy as it looks, one of his minions quickly kills it along with the rest. Sungwoo levels up and chooses the skill option, hoping to raise his minion limit. Instead, he gets a new skill, Corpse Explosion, which uses 10 mana to blow up a body. He gets to test it right away when more monsters charge him. He tells his minions to stay back and uses the skill on a corpse, triggering a huge blast. The kobolds outside flinch when they hear the explosion. Then Righty suddenly bursts through the door and wipes them out. Sungwoo praises him, and Righty beams. Soon they find the dungeon boss wrapped in roots. It's a high-level kobold sorcerer inside a force field that can only be broken by destroying 3 cores hidden around the dungeon. Normal attacks won't work. Seeing that shield, Sungwoo understands why the boss stayed put while its guards fought for it. Then the boss casts a deadly spell that will kill anyone under level 10 in an hour. Sungwoo immediately realizes everyone in his group is below level 10. Those kobolds rushing him before were only buying time for this spell. He sends his minions at the boss, but the shield blocks everything. Thinking fast, he orders them to stack kobold corpses around the boss, then blows them all up in one massive explosion. But when the smoke clears, the boss is completely unharmed. Angry, the boss burns some of its own health to speed up the spell, cutting the time to 52 minutes. Sungwoo grows tense. Now he has even less time to find the cores. Frustrated, he decides to go after the cores since that's the only way to stop the curse. By reading memory fragments from revived kobolds, he learns where they are. Righty quickly destroys the first of the 3 cores. Sungwoo now has only 19 minutes to find the other 2. He keeps moving, reviving monsters and digging through their memories. He soon finds the next core's location and heads to the first floor. On the next floor, they find dead kobolds, and Sungwoo wonders if Jisoo killed them. Then he gets a notice that the second core is destroyed and figures she saw the instant death warning too. He spots someone fighting kobolds ahead and assumes it's her. He calls out, telling her to find Han-ho and Kyung-soo. To his shock, the one crushing kobolds is Han-ho. Holding a dead monster, Han-ho coolly says Sungwoo is late. Sungwoo can only wonder if he's dreaming. At that moment, Jisoo arrives and says she destroyed 1 core, but Sungwoo is far more curious about what happened to Han-ho. Han-ho acts like a hero and says there's no time to talk. They need to find the last core. They only have 13 minutes left. When they reach the final core, the kobolds defend it desperately. Knowing they can't waste time fighting, Sungwoo tells everyone to focus on the core. Jisoo finds it soon enough, but the timer is already down to 10 minutes. Sungwoo gives Righty a boost as he jumps over the kobolds and smashes the core. With the shield gone, they have just 9 minutes to kill the boss. Sungwoo is furious and vows to make it pay. Han-ho drops back to normal and says the boss should be easier to kill now that Sungwoo can blow up corpses. Sungwoo says he already used that trick in front of the boss, so it may be ready for it. Han-ho suggests blowing up the whole building, which gives him an idea. He tells everyone to regroup and head to the boss room. They make it in time, and a fireball from Sungwoo's kobold sorcerer interrupts the instant death spell. Staring it down, Sungwoo angrily asks if that's all it's got. Furious, the boss transforms into a fallen tree spirit, roars, and attacks. It tears through his minions with ease, then swings at the group, who barely dodge. Jisoo slashes a branch with her fire sword, but it quickly grows back. Sungwoo tells her to move and orders his werewolf to hurl dead kobolds at the boss. He detonates the bodies as they get close to its face. For a second, he thinks the smoke means it's dead, but the boss regenerates again. Then a kobold sorcerer's fireball strikes it from behind. The group keeps hammering it with fire, but it still won't stop healing. Sungwoo tells them to keep attacking. Then a notice appears. The boss is out of mana and is now burning its own health. He smiles, revealing he's been draining its mana with the devil's bloodstone. Even without mana, the boss keeps coming, so Sungwoo orders everyone to fall back. It tries to chase them, but collapses from weakness. Before leaving, Sungwoo looks back and reveals he left most of his skeletons on the first floor. Once everyone is safe, he detonates the pile of kobold bodies his minions stacked under the boss. With no mana left to heal, it dies. For killing the fallen tree spirit, Sungwoo gets 12,140 gold and reaches level 10. The system also gives him a roulette ticket for being the 69th person to hit level 10, and his minion limit goes up by 5. He also gains a new skill, Death Response. It lets him summon 10 zombies for 10 minutes without using his minion slots. That means he can now control up to 25 undead. On top of that, he gets the Dragon Knight's token. Raising his sword, Sungwoo feels sure he can beat the Vampire Lord now. The Dragon Knight's token turns out to be the Masterless Sword, which gives him 6 extra strength. He still can't open the dragon egg because he isn't a dragon tamer, but he learns it can hatch after 5,000 days. That time can be shortened by killing strong monsters with the sword. Sungwoo realizes he'd have to wait 13 years to use the egg. Jisoo says that's probably the penalty for not having the right class. Sungwoo says he can earn the sword's approval by killing monsters, so the more he hunts, the faster the egg will hatch. Since the sword also boosts his strength, he's still happy to keep it. Han-ho points out that Sungwoo's phone is ringing. He gets a message from Tai-seong, who was sent to Haegung Square to watch the vampires. Tai-seong says a lot of people are there, but no vampires have shown up yet. The message reassures Sungwoo that he's still safe. Back at the factory, Sungwoo had told him to blend in with the survivors and keep watch on the vampires. He also told him to send a private message if anything happened. Tai-seong gladly took the job since he'd already been around vampires the whole time. It seems he still hasn't spotted any vampires in the so-called safe zone. Just then, one of his orc skeletons reports finding 2 dead werewolves. Sungwoo wonders if the tree spirit killed them. He revives both and adds them to his army, bringing his werewolves to 5 and his total minions to 15. Fully prepared, he heads for Hwaseong to wipe out the vampires. Meanwhile, the survivors start getting nervous because the people who invited them still haven't shown up. Then the vampire master walks in and tells them to get ready. When one asks if it's time to feast, he just smirks and says they're going to kill the people who attacked the factory. The other vampires are confused. They thought the party came first. The vampire master says the plan changed because that guy is nearby. He wants him dead before he can ruin their plans, and since the order came straight from the vampire lord, no one should hold back. Tae-seong sees the vampires move out and quickly texts the MC. The vampires reach the elementary school while searching for the MC. He's still marked by the vampire curse, so they can track him. They mock him for being careless. A little farther in, they find a dead dire wolf. From the claw marks, they guess one of his werewolf minions killed it. Then they spot a trail of blood and follow it. The vampire master can't believe their area manager lost to a loser like this. They call the MC an idiot for not knowing blood draws monsters. One vampire notices the blood trail leads to the auditorium. Once they find him, the vampire lord orders everyone to kill the MC at once. They know he controls minions, but one vampire still thinks he can win. He's expecting 5 werewolf skeletons at most. As the vampire master serving right under the vampire lord, he thinks he can handle 2 himself. With their numbers, he likes their chances. He leads the vampires inside. There they spot the MC with his minions. He only seems to have a handful of skeletons. That makes them even more sure of themselves. So they rush after him. The MC runs until he reaches a dead end, then stops and tells them this will be their grave. The vampires start to feel something is off. He says they counted his skeletons, but they still don't know all his skills. One vampire laughs and asks if he hid a few extra skeletons nearby. Sungwoo just grins and says he doesn't control a few bones. He commands an army. Then he calls out the rest of his minions from the void and uses Death's response to bring in zombies. The vampires are stunned by the sight. Meanwhile, Sungwoo hangs back and lets his minions handle it. Righty boosts the skeletons with a small power-up. Then the zombies rip through the vampires. Buried under non-stop debuffs, they can barely breathe. Sungwoo shows them what happens when you fight an undead army. One female vampire charges straight at the MC, but the kobold sorcerer's fireballs hit her first, and Righty finishes her. The kill gives the MC 2,000 gold. Soon, every vampire is dead except the vampire master, but he's strong. He starts cutting through skeletons and zombies. 2 zombies manage to bite him, but he easily throws one off. Then the vampire master leaps at the MC, trying to kill him. Sungwoo stays calm and smiles, telling him to look closer before attacking. That makes the vampire master panic, and he asks what he means. 2 hours earlier, outside the school, the MC had given one of his minions a special order. He first tried blowing up an orc skeleton, but it failed. Then he realized why. The orc was a skeleton, not a corpse, so the skill couldn't work on it. Next, he used Death's response to summon zombies and wondered if they could explode since they were made from corpses. He learned that moving zombies count as summoned minions, but once they stop, they're just corpses again. So he detonates the zombie left behind, blasting the vampire master with massive damage. As the vampire master drops in agony, Sungwoo mocks him. A werewolf tears off his leg, and the vampire master asks if Sungwoo really thinks he can beat their boss. The MC answers by killing him with the nameless sword and earns 20,000 gold. That also cuts the egg's hatch time down to 4,149 days. Then he revives the vampire corpses. Since he now controls over 5 vampire skeletons, he gets a synergy bonus. All their attacks cause 5% bleed, and before death, they enter berserk mode for a 10% stat boost. With his stronger army, the MC feels ready for what's next. Then Jisoo messages him. The vampires are moving, and the guards are acting shady by taking everyone's weapons before entry. The MC figures the vampire lord sensed his royal guards dying and is rushing to catch him. Now those vampire guards all serve him instead. At the survivor camp, an older player notices werewolves stuck on a rooftop. People wonder who put them up there. Whoever did it had to be strong enough to kill them first. It's almost Jisoo and Han-ho's turn at the weapon check. Jisoo watches a guard claim they're collecting weapons for everyone's safety. He says they've already killed 4 werewolves, so no one needs arms anymore. She feels sick seeing humans work with the vampires. They're only helping make the slaughter easier. Just then, Taishong sneaks over and tells her twin swords are hidden like they planned. He says Young Shik, their 2-star swordsman friend, helped with it. Han Ho asks if he prepared the other thing too, and Tai Xiong says yes. After the check, they blend in with the other players. Soon the Vampire Lord shows up with his masked minions, clearly furious about the MC. Han Ho quickly realizes it's the Vampire Lord and figures the masks are hiding their fangs. Their swords are hidden safely, so now they just need to wait for the MC. As the Vampire Lord begins speaking, the masked vampires spread out and surround the whole crowd. He tells them humanity is doomed because humans are weak. Then the Vampire Lord removes his mask and says they were born to be sacrificed for the next stage of evolution. Panic spreads as the vampires begin attacking. The survivors rush for a way out, only to find electric fences around them. The whole camp was a trap. The Vampire Lord smiles at the chaos while Jisoo tries to guide survivors to safety. Then he spots the swords in her hands and wonders how she got a weapon. At that moment, Kyung-soo slams a school bus into the fence. The electric barrier breaks, giving the players a path to escape. Jisoo and Han Ho jump out and lead survivors through the opening. Furious, the Vampire Lord turns and sees the MC stepping off the bus. With a smirk, he calls the Vampire Lord the Mosquito King. Then he looks at the vampires and asks why they aren't having fun. The Vampire Lord laughs and says he showed up right on time. Baring his fangs, he says they're about to have a lot of fun. Then he turns to Madame Yang and says their party is off to a bad start. She says they're missing the main course and orders the vampires to surround the fleeing survivors. The Vampire Lord asks if he's trying to save the survivors, but the MC says his teammates can handle the vampire girl. Hearing teammates, the Vampire Lord laughs and says in another situation, he might have hired him. Seung-woo says he doesn't need that. He already has friends on his side. Suddenly, a werewolf skeleton bursts from the bus and lunges at the Vampire Lord. He scoffs, asking if the MC really thought that could kill him. But as he grabs it, he realizes it's a trap packed with goblin corpses. The MC detonates it, setting off a huge explosion. The vampires panic when they see their boss on the ground, though they tell themselves he can't go down that easily. Then they see the MC run into the bus and chase after him. Inside, all they find are piles of monster corpses. Seung-woo slips out through a hole, then blows up the bus and wipes out a big chunk of the vampires. Meanwhile, Madame Yang is hunting survivors with human helpers. When they hear the blast, they wonder if something happened to the Vampire Lord. She says he's far too strong for the MC to kill and tells them to focus on the survivors. But when she turns back, she sees them both dead on the ground. Then she feels a deadly presence behind her and barely avoids Jisoo's strike. With fury in her eyes, she faces the vampire girl alone. Han Ho and Tai Seong manage to guide the survivors to safety. So far, Seung-woo's plan is working. Han Ho still keeps his daggers ready, just in case. But then a vampire appears behind them. The Vampire Lord had left him there to guard the edge of the area. He mocks them for getting caught and asks if they'll help him level up. Thinking this one looks weaker, Taesung charges first. Han Ho tries to stop him, but he can't. The vampire dodges Taesung's attacks and nearly bites his neck, but Han Ho cuts in just in time, throwing his daggers. The vampire jumps up to dodge Taesung's punch, but Han Ho throws more daggers and hits him in the face, knocking him down. Han Ho can't believe he just dropped a vampire. Then he notices he got no gold, which means the fight isn't over yet. Still alive and furious, the vampire gets back up and screams at them for ruining his beautiful face. Meanwhile, the MC's explosion wipes out the weaker vampires below, but he knows the real threat is still coming. Then the Vampire Lord lands on the bus, this time with wings. Bro really bought the premium skin. The MC knows this won't be easy. As the Vampire Lord charges, he summons his undead from the void. When the Vampire Lord crashes into the middle of the orc skeletons, he tears through them with no trouble. Seeing they won't hold him long, Seung-woo raises zombies from the ground. The Vampire Lord is a little surprised, but he doesn't care. He knows they can't really hurt him. As the Vampire Lord kills one of them, the MC quickly tries to blow up the corpse. This time, the vampire is ready. He uses Blood Fly to fire a high-pressure blood mist. It is not that strong, but it is enough to stop him from blowing up the corpses. Changing plans, Seung-woo sends in the werewolves and activates Cerberus Synergy to boost them against one target. But the Vampire Lord cuts down 3 werewolves with a single swing. Seung-woo knows he cannot win up close, so he orders his troops to attack with spears. As he dodges them with ease, the Vampire Lord says, "This is boring." He calls it the limit of humans who never evolved. Seung-woo asks if monsters like him are what he means by evolved. The Vampire Lord proudly says they are far better than humans. He says the strong are meant to rule the weak. That has always been human history. Society treated him like trash for being a serial killer, but the apocalypse gave him his chance. Now he thinks he is one of the chosen, picked to lead the world into its next evolution. Seung-woo grabs his head, realizing the vampire's grand plan is complete nonsense. He asks if he still believes that garbage. Nobody has taken ideas like that seriously in 100 years. The Vampire Lord keeps rambling until Madame Yang calls for help. She cannot believe she is losing to a human she thought was beneath her. The whole time, she has not landed a single blow on Jisoo. She tells her that she never trained at all. She is strong, but every attack is the same and badly coordinated. She got like this by staying near the Vampire Lord and taking easy experience. Jisoo answers with a heavy double slash, bringing Madame Yang down for good. She thanks her for giving her confidence back. Meanwhile, Han Ho and Taesung are still in trouble. The vampire offers to let them join him. In a world this unfair, he says, they would survive better under vampires than under the Vampire Lord's rule. He says they used to be normal students too. With monsters everywhere, they chose to cling to someone strong to stay alive. He asks again if they want in. Hanho says he has a point, and Taesung thinks he is about to switch sides. But Hanho says the side he picked is much stronger than theirs. Then a motorbike rider appears behind the vampire, pulling his eyes away for a split second. Hanho instantly throws a dagger. The vampire dodges, and the blade hits the rider in the chest. He is fine because a minion is sitting in front of him. That was Hanho's plan. The real target was the goblin. Hanho shifts into his Gigachad form and stands right in front of the vampire. The sight makes the vampire shake. He swings with everything he has, but Hanho does not budge. It feels like punching solid metal. Hanho looms over him and drives in rapid stabs with high-speed slash. Taesung and Kyung-soo jump in too, and the three attack together. The vampire tries to hit Taesung, but Hanho takes the blow with his own body. He says he has been building agility this whole time, so the vampire has no chance of escaping. He keeps tanking hits while the other two try to finish the job. The vampire realizes their solo attacks are weak, but together they can knock him out. On top of that, they have a fast-moving tank protecting them. As Hanho keeps stabbing, he notices his power fading. The vampire realizes the skill must have a time limit. Right then, a goblin is thrown at Hanho. He kills it with his knife and refreshes his skill. One of the others has been assigned to toss goblins to him from a safe distance. Hanho taunts the vampire, saying he can power up as many times as he wants. They have plenty of goblins ready. He reminds him of what he said about surviving by staying with the strongest. He says he was dead wrong. Real survival comes from friends you can trust. Hanho is really about to beat a vampire with friendship power. Then he strikes a goofy pose and says they survive with love and peace. The vampire starts shaking and says he is only losing because they are jumping him. To be fair, he is not wrong. Meanwhile, the vampire lord watches his elite vampires die one by one and grows furious. Sungwoo tells him he is next, and he already knows all his weaknesses. First, the vampire lord cannot use weapons. At first, Sungwoo thought vampires just did not need them because of their claws, but after controlling some as minions, he learned their class actually forbids it. That is a huge weakness. Second, he has low defense and high healing, and his movements are wide and wasteful. Third, he has no mana, so all his skills depend on blood. The MC reveals he has been using Devil's Bloodstone to drain the Vampire Lord's health, and the last weakness is his big mouth. Sungwoo says if he were him, he would stop talking and kill the Necromancer first. Furious, the Vampire Lord activates a blood field and charges at him, but Righty steps in and parries the attack. Then Righty throws a bottle of slime liquid into the Vampire Lord's face. The acid melts his skin and clouds his vision. With little blood left and no strength to heal, he is finally exposed. Sungwoo orders his minions to finish him. The Vampire Lord is still dangerous, but he is clearly weakening. Drawn by blood, he rushes toward werewolves hanging from a nearby building as trophies. He reaches the roof only for a werewolf minion to ambush him from above and stab him. Sungwoo mocks him and reveals he had been getting his werewolf minions from that building all along. Badly hurt, the Vampire Lord crashes to the ground. Sungwoo decides to make the ending dramatic, so his minions throw the Vampire Lord into a room packed with monster corpses. He blows up the building and finally kills him, earning 10,000 gold for taking down a special player. He also gets 30,000 gold and a C-rank item ticket for clearing the No Country for Wicked Men quest. His destiny changes and grants him an exclusive skill. When his group arrives, they celebrate the win together. He looks at them and smiles. The world may be ending, but he plans to stay with them. The next morning, everyone is praising him. Some were saved earlier by Sungwoo's group, and Hanho says more and more people recognize them now. The celebration is cut short when a unit of soldiers arrives, led by Sergeant Kim. He says he saw the huge fight from far away and wanted to know what happened. Sungwoo greets him with a smile and says he is glad he is okay. Then he asks why he came. Sergeant Kim explains they had been tracking a group that claimed to be building safe zones for survivors, but they never expected things to turn into this kind of mess. Sungwoo looks them over and feels relieved they did not try fighting the vampires because they do not seem very strong. Kim then tells him someone wants to meet him. Sungwoo looks confused and asks who. Kim smiles and says the Korean army is still standing. Elsewhere, an army officer looks out the window, 4 stars on his hat. That night, Sungwoo stands in an office and checks his profile. He is now level 10 with around 300,000 gold, and about half came from that last battle. He realizes hunting monsters cannot match the rewards from quests. His skill has upgraded too. Now he can make bone armor as well as bone weapons, and when he forms it, the armor wraps around his body at once. It fits perfectly, leaves few openings, and still lets him move well. He decides to equip all his minions with it to make them tougher. The quest also gave him an item, a heroic rank crossbow that can fire without reloading. It is perfect for him since he fights from the back. With all these upgrades, he feels much stronger and thinks he can beat anyone. He suddenly feels a burning heat behind him. He turns and sees his old home on fire, with his parents calling for help. They beg him to save them now that he is strong. Sungwoo tries to summon a minion, but realizes he is just a kid again. He can only watch his parents burn. Terrified, he runs away. It is all a memory from his past. He tells himself he is still that same weak child. Then the nightmare jolts him awake. Han-ho sees him wake up and says he has been sleeping all day. He points to the door and says, Kim is back with those soldiers from yesterday. When they first asked him to come to base, he sent them away and said anyone who wanted to see him could come here. He was too exhausted then. Now he gets up and tells Han-ho to make them wait outside a little longer. But he is still thinking about the dream. He wants to get stronger so he never has to leave anyone behind again. As Han-ho tries to hold the soldiers outside, the lieutenant pushes past him, walks in, introduces himself as Lutmaj Taeyong Park, and asks if Sungwoo is the necromancer. Sergeant Kim is with him, and the major sits down, saying he will skip the small talk and get straight to business. He says they were tracking a suspicious group in Hwasong and asks if Sungwoo wiped them out. Then he wants details and asks if he'd join future missions. Sungwoo says he can explain how he beat that guy, but he doesn't get how he'd fit into their missions. Lut Taeyong points at him and says he wants him in the army. That instantly annoys Sungwoo. The last thing he wants is to enlist, so he asks why he should join them at all. The lieutenant keeps going on about how, with Sungwoo's help, the army and government can restore order. To Sungwoo, it sounds like they want him to do all the work. He brings up the prosecutor of Yeongdongpo, saying that man is building a rogue group. He saved civilians, formed Korea's first guild, and set up safety zones. Sungwoo thinks the guy sounds impressive, especially since he also beat a boss in his area. But Lut Taeyong sees him differently, because he refuses to follow the government or work with the army. Sungwoo coolly says he disagrees. They have no right to call anyone a rogue group. The army and government failed to protect people during the crisis. Everyone had to adjust and survive on their own. He tells the lieutenant he'd rather work as a mercenary than join the army. The lieutenant loses his temper and grabs him by the collar. Sungwoo slaps his hand away and stands up to leave. The lieutenant warns that he'll regret turning them down because he won't survive by himself. Sungwoo glances back, righty at his side, and says he prefers being alone. Funny thing is, he's not alone at all. He's got an army behind him. The players feel much safer with the soldiers nearby. Han-ho doesn't like that because as far as he's concerned, they were saved by Sungwoo's group, not the army. Jisoo says it makes sense. People need someone to lean on. Even Han-ho admits the soldiers make him feel a little safer, since they should fight better than regular people. Jisoo studies the soldiers and notices they seem uneasy. That catches her attention, because trained soldiers should stay calm in a situation like this. Han-ho walks over and asks a few soldiers if they serve with Sergeant Kim. He says he met Kim before and also ran into a soldier named Kwan, then asks if he can see him. One soldier says he doesn't know where people from other units are stationed. Another cuts in and says that's classified. Jisoo hears that and thinks it's strange, since Han-ho only asked about a private. Both of them start feeling like something is off with these soldiers. Meanwhile, Sungwoo leaves the office after turning down the lieutenant's offer. He had wanted to stay on decent terms with the army, but the lieutenant ruined that. As he walks off, Sergeant Kim approaches and apologizes for setting up the meeting. Sungwoo says he knows Kim was just following orders, then asks if the lieutenant sent him to change his mind. Kim gives a nervous laugh, and Sungwoo sighs. Clearly, the army really needs him. Kim admits they do, but says the battalion commander handled it the wrong way. Then he leans in and says he wants to show Sungwoo something top secret. The two head through the underground parking lot. Sungwoo wonders what could be so secret. Kim raises a hand and tells him to stop. Several soldiers are ahead. If they get caught, he says, they could be executed. Still, the troops are so worn down that he thinks they can slip past. That only makes Sungwoo more curious, since Kim is risking his life for this. They head down the stairs and enter a room. There, Kim shows him a glowing crystal inside a box and says it's called a prophecy stone. He explains that several exist around the world and anyone who touches one sees a vision of the future. Finding one gives a player a huge edge over everyone else. Sungwoo finally reaches out and touches the stone. At once a vision hits him. He feels like he's floating, as if trapped inside a dream. Then a skeleton wyvern flies past him. Below him are nothing but corpses. The whole city seems to have become an undead army. Among the skeletons, he spots himself and Jisoo. Han-ho is there too, down below with the lower-ranked minions, as usual. Then Sungwoo realizes who's behind it all. The Lich King, standing above the undead horde. As Sungwoo stares at him, the Lich King suddenly turns and burns him to ash. He snaps back into his body as a system message says this will happen on January 1st. Trembling, he grabs his arm. Kim says the skeleton army in the vision made him think of Sungwoo. Sungwoo then gets an exclusive quest to claim the Grim Reaper's scythe. He must reach level 15 to learn where it is, and if he fails before January, the Lich King will overpower him and make that vision real. He facepalms, realizing Kim just dropped another quest on him. Now he has only 2 months to hit level 15 and find the scythe. He looked powerful in that vision, sure, but he wants no part of that future. So he asks Kim about the area's boss monster. He'd avoided bosses because hunting them was risky, but now he can't afford to wait. Besides, they're the fastest way to level up. Sergeant Kim says he does know one, and it's the lieutenant's biggest headache. The commander's main goal has been to clear the area and restore order, but that's impossible without players like Sungwoo. Hearing that, Sungwoo agrees to help kill the boss, but he makes one thing clear. He's not doing it for free. The soldiers report back that Sungwoo wants over 100,000 gold to work with them. The commander is furious and demands to know how Sungwoo dared ask for that much. One soldier says they simply don't have anyone that strong. He saw Sungwoo fight vampires alone, and it was unbelievable. The commander pauses, then asks if Sergeant Kang could beat him. The soldier says Kang may be strong, but Sungwoo has an army. As much as the commander hates the price, the soldier insists they can't beat him. He's stronger than a whole battalion. While the lieutenant is still thinking, Sergeant Kim arrives and says hiring Sungwoo would be more than worth it. He promises Sungwoo keeps his word. The army brings in around 60,000 gold a day, so paying Sungwoo would cost nearly 2 days of income. The commander knows it's too much, but he has no choice. They have to secure key positions. One of them is the 01 fighter wing. A terrifying monster has taken over the airstrip, keeping the army from using its planes. They already sent in dozens of men, but none of them could beat it. If that monster dies, the army can use air travel again. With that in mind, the commander finally accepts Sungwoo's terms, though he swears he'll make him pay for it someday. A soldier hands over the agreed gold, then he asks Sungwoo to start the mission as soon as he can. Sungwoo says he can't leave the area for 5 days because of the event, then asks if killing the monster within that time is acceptable. The soldier says no. They need time to repair the airport and check the damage, so Sungwoo has to do it within 3 days. He also introduces Sergeant First Class Kang, the only survivor from the team sent after the monster. Kang looks at Sungwoo and says he'll be his assistant, even though his rank is higher. Then he asks Sungwoo's level, clearly expecting it to be lower than his own. But Sungwoo calmly says he's level 10. Kang is stunned and asks if he's using some kind of cheat. He says he's been hunting orcs non-stop, and even then his level isn't that high. Sungwoo coldly replies that he just needs to hunt stronger monsters. That clearly gets under Kang's skin. He warns that the boss in the airport is on a whole different level. Sungwoo thanks him for the warning and tells him to spend the next 3 days leveling up. Meanwhile, the survivors are looking for him, because they trust Sungwoo to protect them. Kyung-soo looks over the crowd and realizes there are even more people to protect now. He wonders how they'll handle them all. He already told Hanho's dad to use the safe zone only in emergencies, since it costs gold to keep active. A mother asks what they should do now. Kyung-soo says they'll build their own town with the survivors left. Everyone who made it this far should have some skill they can use. Those better at daily work can build, and those good at fighting can become hunters. Their goal is simple: grow their gold and strengthen their fighting force. When Hanho's parents hear the plan, they start clapping. Kyung-soo says it wasn't his idea. Sungwoo told him what to do. He doesn't feel worthy of praise after failing the people who trusted him. Seeing that, Hanho's dad tells him he did his best, and leading people at all takes real courage. Meanwhile, Sungwoo and his group stand among flames and the bodies of dead monsters. Hanho looks around and says it feels like a massacre. Sungwoo says he's right. They've gotten really strong. Any monster that charges them dies right away. The ones that try to call for help get swarmed by his minions, and when they rush in as a group, his explosions blast them apart. If any are still standing after that, he picks them off with his crossbow. The group heads deeper into the building. There, they find a marker with a hammer symbol. Sungwoo wonders what it means and steps into the room. Inside, he finds crafting tools, and the system tells him he can fuse 3 items for 100,000 gold. He's stunned when he realizes he can combine his legendary gear and starts wondering how strong the new item could be. He has the Tear of the Sea Spirit from the shop, the Devil's Bloodstone from the Orc Chief, and the Slime Core from the Slime Boss. He thinks he should start collecting items made for fusion. Hanho reminds him the result is random. Still, he hopes it becomes something he can actually use. Sungwoo tells him his luck is good, so that probably won't be a problem. The system warns him again. The fusion costs 100,000 gold, and there's a 2% chance the items will be lost. Even so, he goes through with it. When the fusion ends, Sungwoo gets a new item. It's called the Chaos Crystal. It gives him the Chaos attribute, boosting mana and mana recovery, while letting his attacks steal both health and mana. Sungwoo wonders how Chaos differs from the Devil's attribute he had before. He hoped for something above legendary, but this is still an upgrade. Before, he had to drain an enemy's mana first to absorb health. Now he can take both at once. His 2 friends congratulate him, and then Jisoo steps up to the crafting machine. She gets a notice saying she can combine 2 of her items for 15,000 gold. After the fusion, she gets a blade with an ignition switch, and every hit can burn the enemy. She looks happy with the result. Hanho glares at them, slaps the crafting table, and demands to know where his fusion item is, but no notification appears for him. Feeling bad, Sungwoo says he'll buy Hanho something from the shop instead. When they arrive at the old car complex, they see the shop has been completely destroyed. Hanho starts crying and asks who did this. Sungwoo studies the shattered screen and says, "A monster didn't do it. There is writing carved into the wall, warning that a new species will replace them. The marks look like claws, but they're too neat to be from a monster." Sungwoo figures someone smart did this, something that understands human language. The group decides to head back. As they step outside, they run into Sergeant Kim again. They ask why he's here, and he says he and the other soldiers got a ground quest, so they've been out hunting. He explains it's basically a daily mission. They have to kill a set number of monsters by day's end, and if they succeed, the commander gets the reward. Sungwoo asks if the soldiers get anything at all. Sergeant Kim says they gain 10% attack power and strength if they clear it. But no matter how many goblins they kill, more keep showing up, almost like they're respawning. He hopes that's not true, because then all their deaths would mean nothing. Jisoo asks if any soldiers tried to run, since they must want to see their families. He says many did at first, but that stopped once they realized they couldn't survive alone, and the army never treated desertion kindly. Now they're just being sent on these quests every day with no real plan. It feels like the army is only trying to stall. They even take all the soldiers' gold, so they can't use the online forum. Seung-woo sees the army still hasn't adapted. That's why groups like the Yongdongpo Prosecutors Guild had a better shot at growing. He moves on, but offers to treat any injured soldiers in their town. Back in town, the players are suddenly attacked by huge bear monsters. The defense team tries to hold them back, but they're outmatched. The beasts tear through the defense line with ease. The players abandon their posts and run for their lives. Kyung-soo shouts for them to come back, but nobody listens. Then one of the bears looms right over him. He can't help wondering why this had to happen while Seung-woo was gone. He forces himself up and charges the bear with his spear. He strikes one in the eye and blinds it. That gives him a burst of confidence, and he thinks he might be able to hold them off a little longer. But another bear sneaks up and claws him almost at once. As it's about to kill him, he cries out for Seung-woo. Out of nowhere, Righty leaps in and cuts off both of the bear's arms. While it screams, Jisoo drives her flaming sword into its face. Han-ho jumps in too and kills the last bear. Then Seung-woo arrives with his minions. He's pleased strong monsters showed up. He wanted new minions anyway. The soldiers can only stare as they finally see his power for themselves. He gains a synergy bonus called Wild Tyrant for having more than 4 bears on his team. It drops enemy defense by 10% and raises ally defense by 10%. Sergeant Kim realizes it isn't just Seung-woo, the whole group is strong, and each of them uses their powers well. He tightens his grip on his axe and thinks how unfair it is. His soldiers, and the men who replaced the dead, could have fought like this too, if they hadn't been thrown into battle with no plan. He knows they didn't deserve to die, and starts wondering if following orders was really the right choice. Seung-woo tells Sergeant Kim to inform the commander he's ready to kill the boss and take back the airstrip. The next morning, the survivors from the bear attack are healed. Han-ho and Jisoo praise Kyung-soo for holding off the werebears by himself. Seung-woo tells him he did well too. Anyone would have struggled alone against monsters like that. Sergeant Kang arrives and mocks the state of the town. Seung-woo hates that this is his reaction after so many people died. They explain the town was attacked by werebears the night before. Kang smugly says he knows how tough werebears are. He killed one himself. Sergeant Kim had already told Seung-woo that Kang had a high-rank class, a 3-star striker who uses martial arts instead of weapons, but he still didn't know what combo card Kang picked in the second phase. Kim asks Kang if he's ready for the boss fight, since Seung-woo is done preparing. Kang gets irritated, thinking Kim is acting like Seung-woo's messenger. He kicks at Kim's foot and says Seung-woo can speak for himself. Then he asks whether Kim has been killing monsters like he was told. When Kim says yes, Kang asks why he's whining about comrades dying on the job every day. As he walks off, he complains Kim isn't bringing in as much gold as before, and adds that the commander is tracking them in real time. Hearing that, Seung-woo realizes the army is squeezing gold from its soldiers like slaves. Sergeant Kim finally snaps. He accuses Kang of getting many of their comrades killed just to level up. Kang grabs him by the throat and demands respect, saying the privates should shut up and keep earning gold because he's the one fighting the hard monsters. He says the others died because Kim was too incompetent. Kang mocks Kim for choosing the blacksmith class and says he just wants to hide behind others. In truth, Kim became a battlesmith to do whatever he could to keep his troops alive. Seung-woo has had enough. He grabs Kang's arm and tells him there's no time for this. Kang shakes him off and says he'd love to teach Kim a lesson, but they need to move. He even apologizes to Seung-woo for having to watch it. Kim says Kang feels threatened by Seung-woo, so he took it out on him instead. Then Sergeant Kim leaves with his team to get ready for the boss fight. Seung-woo feels sorry for him, but there's not much he can do. Seung-woo and the soldiers arrive at the badly damaged airstrip. Kang says he tested the boss yesterday and it was strong. Seung-woo is annoyed since Kang still hasn't shared anything useful. He knows Kang doesn't want the raid to fail, but he's too jealous to say everything. Still, Sergeant Kim already told him enough about the boss, so he isn't concerned. At last, the boss appears. A giant troll even bigger than the aircraft. Seung-woo is shocked by its size. It's much larger than he expected. He quickly realizes his plan to overpower it with the werebears won't work. The troll spots them and starts marching their way. Kang sneers that it's not too late to hand over the 100,000 gold and run. Seung-woo raises a hand and says he's fine. He never had just one plan. Seung-woo uses death response and sends his zombies to cling to the troll's legs, but the troll crushes them instantly with one earth-shaking slam. He blows up a zombie to hit the troll, but the monster heals almost right away. The MC realizes its defense is insane. The curse should have weakened it, but the boss barely seems affected. It doesn't have special powers like the slime or the vampires, just overwhelming brute strength. Kang starts running his mouth again, saying they can't even retreat without losing more soldiers, but the MC has no plan to leave before killing the boss, so he holds his ground. Even though Han-ho is terrified, he still stands beside Jisoo and his friend to bring the monster down. At the same time, the company commander tells Lit Kong that the Yongdongpo prosecutor is growing stronger by gathering survivor groups. He wants to post on the forum and tell the public how the army is doing, but the lieutenant shuts that down, saying they can't trust an unverified network. He says information is everything, and if they reveal themselves, they could expose their location to the enemy. Since they still don't know who made this game, the commander starts doubting that approach. They may not understand the system fully, but it's too important to ignore. It's the only way they can contact their troops. The lieutenant asks if all the soldiers have been told the plan. Once the troll is dead, he plans to kill Sungwoo, so no uncooperative threat is left alive. He already sent Sergeant Kang to handle it and take all of Sungwoo's valuables. The lieutenant is still worried about the MC's friends, especially Jisoo, and asks if they could be a problem. The commander brushes it off, saying she's just a girl, and the other friend is basically useless. Calling him useless after last chapter is wild. The lieutenant tells him to head to the airstrip and make sure everything goes smoothly. He wants them drained of gold before they're killed. The commander realizes this feels less like a mission and more like straight-up robbery. Back at the fight, Han-ho tanks the troll's attacks with his invincibility skill, barely feeling them. As the troll slows down, Jisoo stabs it from behind and leaves her sword lodged in, with an invincible rope attached. Han-ho then runs around the troll with the rope, shocking Kang, who thought the MC's friends were just dead weight. Watching them fight, he starts wondering if Sungwoo got famous by stealing credit for their work. Han-ho's invincibility is almost out, but Sergeant Kim has fresh goblins ready to recharge it. Han-ho throws a knife, kills a few goblins, and his force field turns back on. Sergeant Kang can't believe Han-ho is killing goblins in the middle of a boss fight, then realizes the skill only stays active if he keeps killing monsters. He looks at Jisoo and figures she isn't trained to fight humans. In his mind, that still means he can take her. Still, he never thought things would turn out like this, and starts wondering if he should kill the MC now. As Sungwoo faces the monster, he remembers the plan. Han-ho and Jisoo wanted to tie up the troll's feet with a rope, but he thought it was too risky and said his minions should do it. Jisoo argued that if his minions failed, they would have a better shot at tying it down. The MC still worried about how dangerous it was and said he needed more time to think. Jisoo told him he wasn't their babysitter, they were partners, and he needed to trust them. Back in the fight, the two of them pull it off, tying down the boss and bringing it crashing down. He tells them he's impressed by how much they've grown. Now it's his move. He uses Great Spirit and summons all his minions from storage. Sergeant Kang freezes in fear, wondering if this is a necromancer's real power. One minion brings him the Dragon Knight's masterless sword, and he rushes the boss. With the troll pinned down, everyone attacks without stopping. The boss manages to swallow one of the orc skeletons as it tries to strike, but the MC instantly detonates the skeleton's bag of corpses, blowing up the inside of its mouth. Then he steps in and brings the masterless sword down on its head, killing it. For killing the boss, he gets 220,000 gold, reaches level 11, gains 2 points to every stat, and earns a special item chest. Because he used the masterless sword, the egg's hatch time drops by 98 days, leaving 4,150. For his level up skill, he picks the Great Bone Weapons card, which lets him make more kinds of weapons. Sergeant Kang can't believe the boss is actually dead. The MC tells him the contract is complete. He'll be keeping the boss corpse, since his job was only to kill it. Kang wonders if he kill him right. 20 soldiers behind him. He feels his plan is simple. Get close and snap his neck in one move. Sungwoo just smiles, already knowing exactly what the sergeant is thinking. He tells him he's already too late. Once he realizes he's been read, Kang attacks head-on. The blow triggers a huge explosion, but the MC blocks it with his shield. Kang can't believe the ambush failed. He orders the soldiers to handle the minions while he takes on the MC, sure he'll be helpless without his skeletons. Kang attacks again. Sungwoo blocks with his shield, and it shatters. He swings back with the sword, but Kang kicks his arm and sends it flying. He laughs, thinking the MC has run out of weapons. Then a dagger slices across his face. He jumps back, touching the cut, and demands to know where the dagger came from when the MC didn't have one a second ago. Sungwoo says his armor is made of bones too, so he can turn it into weapons. The sergeant snarls that he's still much better in close combat, then he suddenly finds himself surrounded by skeletons. The MC reminds him he can make weapons from skeleton bones too. Using the skill, he forms bone spears and pins Kang in place. The sergeant calls for help, but his soldiers reveal they've already chosen the MC's side. Sergeant Kim says they've finally decided to survive. They're done being led to slaughter like sheep under Kang. Kang screams that this is mutiny. They aren't even fighting to protect civilians, they're just earning gold for the army. The rest of the soldiers back Sergeant Kim and say he's right. Then the company commander arrives and demands to know what's happening. Sergeant Kim tells him the other platoon exposed the real mission, and they refuse to serve an army like this. The company commander tries to bully him back into line. He warns that nobody can survive alone in this world, and Jisoo says he's only making things worse. The commander keeps yelling, threatening penalties if they leave. Kim looks at Sungwoo's group and realizes fear of punishment is what turned them into slaves. But with the MC and his friends beside them, they have nothing left to fear. Sergeant Kang finally snaps and pulls out a syringe. The commander tries to stop him, but Kang injects himself and turns into a savage, tiger-like beast. Driven mad and far stronger, he kills the company commander. Then he charges the MC, but Jisoo cuts in first. She goes for his head, and when he tries to counter, she ducks with help from Supreme Sense. With her flaming sword, she stabs through his paw. Even so, Kang is strong enough to grab her one-handed and throw her away. She spits up blood from the impact. Then the were-tiger gets a new synergy notice. The MC has summoned more than 3 canine skeletons. Furious that Jisoo got hurt, he gives up on taking Kang alive. He orders all his skeletons to rip him apart. Meanwhile, the lieutenant brightens when he sees Sergeant Kim returning from the mission. Kim reports that the boss was killed, but the company commander and Sergeant Kang are dead. The lieutenant nervously asks what they did to the MC. At that moment, Seung-woo walks in with the were-tiger as his newest minion and says they need to talk about the mission. When Kim returns to the soldiers, they're confused because he was supposed to be out on the mission. That confusion turns to fear when they see the minions behind him, and they call it treason. Kim just smiles and tells them they're free now. Meanwhile, the MC throws the lieutenant down in front of the commander. The commander says he's disappointed. The MC understands why the soldiers obey him. He sends them to die, and if they resist, he calls it treason. The commander insists it was a real mission. He says they survived only because they acted fast and found a new way to lift morale. The MC asks if he means the game's synergy effect, the same thing he once called an enemy. He makes his troops fight for him and punishes them if they refuse. The commander slams his cup down and argues that it helped the soldiers stay alive. He admits that when the apocalypse began, they sacrificed many of their own men to push the monsters back. Because of that, they got a special synergy. The commander says it forces soldiers to obey him. Every day they must clear a group quest for a small buff, and anyone who resists or tries to leave gets marked for nearby monsters. Every other unit nearby was destroyed, but his survived by constantly throwing soldiers into battle. The MC tells him he's only fighting mindless, disorganized monsters. He says this world is like a survival game, with humans used like pieces by some higher power. Then Seung-woo asks him straight out why he ordered his troops to kill him. The commander admits Seung-woo is a threat, and he can't let groups like his grow strong enough to challenge the government. The MC realizes the commander isn't worried about angering him at all. He really thinks a crossbow is enough. He tells the commander to free his soldiers from forced loyalty and hand over all his gold. The commander first snaps that everything there belongs to the military. But when the MC makes it clear he's not bargaining and will just take it, the commander gives in. He turns over 45,000 gold. The MC is let down. He expected much more. Before he leaves, he asks about the werebeast vial. The commander hesitates, then admits he bought it from wandering peddlers. The MC remembers a ruined shop that fits that story. That makes him think they trashed the shop themselves. As he leaves, he warns the commander he'll stay in touch with Sergeant Kim to make sure he keeps his promise. As the MC and his minions head out, the commander suddenly tries to shoot him with a crossbow. The MC blocks it with his bone shield and says he saw that coming. The lieutenant tells the soldiers to attack, but the MC wipes them out with a... When he moves on the commander, the man warns him about a powerful bomb called Abyss Concentrate, which he got from the peddlers. He says they'll both die if he hits the button. The MC calmly tells him to do it. He's curious what the Abyss effect feels like. The commander starts to panic when even his final card fails. Then a skeleton smashes through the window, grabs the remote, and crushes the commander's hand. The MC then orders the off. After cutting off the commander's head, he notices the man was only level 3. All he ever did was hoard gold, and in the end, he still didn't have enough. While thinking it over, the MC finds a locker. Inside, he discovers a few leftover supplies, including werebeast vials that can turn someone into a monster for a short time. Outside, Han-ho is trying out his new healing skill on Jisoo. He asks why she isn't using healing potions, since they'd work better. She says too many injured soldiers still need them. He also asks why she doesn't need to practice his skills to level it up. He glances at the minions and feels a little hurt that they don't respect him. Then Righty pats his back, and his faith in humanity comes right back. The MC comes outside and asks if she's okay. She says she's fine and apologizes for charging in too fast. She really thought she could match the were-tiger because she was a tiger hunter. Seung-woo says she lost because she never picked a class skill. Still, that's good in a way. She isn't stuck fighting just one kind of beast. He's also happy Han-ho's priest class is growing, since it'll matter a lot against the coming Lich King and his undead army. Han-ho can heal, use his force field in close fights, and throw daggers when he needs range. That makes Seung-woo think Han-ho might even surpass him one day if he keeps getting stronger. Han-ho stares at the robe with a perfectly innocent face and says it looks way cooler than his. Seung-woo explains he got it from a chest after beating the troll boss. It's the Shadow King's robe, a legendary item that cuts damage and lets the wearer hide in shadows until they attack or get detected. Han-ho feels left out since he's never gotten a legendary item. Then Sergeant Kim arrives and tells the MC some soldiers want to leave to search for their families, but they've chosen to travel with them. Most of his reliable, brave soldiers died early in the fighting, and he doesn't expect much from the ones left. The MC tells everyone to go back and keep preparing. With only 3 days left in Season 1, he knows he still has to keep hunting. The town is starting to look much more organized, with players assigned to specific jobs. The MC keeps leveling, but too slowly. At this rate, reaching level 15 could take forever. He can crush orcs now, but with his current stats, he still can't face the Lich King. He He needs level 15 soon to unlock the Grim Reaper's scythe. As the chapter ends, players get a notice that the main story's first chapter is over. The double gold event is done, and travel limits between areas are gone. A guide message appears, congratulating players for surviving to Chapter 2. It says they'll soon learn the game's purpose and urges them to get stronger for what's coming. 3 more notices follow. A 20-day event has begun. Powerful raid bosses will appear around the world with huge rewards, and those bosses can attack safe zones. It also says angels and demons will come later, and players can start searching for clues about them now. The MC picks out 2 big points from the update: raid bosses, which could give him a lot of experience, and the coming appearance of angels, demons. He says Korea's server rankings have now been released. Sungwoo is 3rd on the Korean server, while a mysterious player named Gangseo Khan holds 1st place at level 15. He can't believe someone reached level 15 that fast. He's been hunting non-stop and only recently made it to level 12. And it isn't just 1st place that's strange. The players ranked 4th and 5th seem to belong to the same group, and they're still in the forum post from a well-known player, the prosecutor of Yeongdeungpo, leader of Korea's biggest survival community with 500 players. The prosecutor openly asks to meet the MC and invites him to join their guild. He's heard good things and thinks they can work together to survive and learn the truth behind the game. Thinking back on his past, the MC wonders if the man has another motive. Even so, he agrees to the meeting. Meanwhile, the prosecutor's guild seems to be doing well. One member says they should expand now that travel restrictions are gone. But another warns that raid bosses and other unknown beings are out there, so they should learn more first. The guild leader says that no matter what happens, their duty is to kill monsters and protect people, because he wants to restore the world to what it was. The blindfolded man gets emotional, thinking about what a great leader he is. The girl says she tried to find the top-ranked forum players, but couldn't trace the #1 player at all. She did, however, send the necromancer a message for their guild. The blindfolded guy freaks out at the word necromancer. He blurts out, asking if it's Han-Ho's twin brother, then says the necromancer is famous for never taking jobs unless he's paid. The girl keeps looking at her phone and says that's not always true. Even when he does ask for payment, it's usually fair. She lists what he's done for people and says his online reputation is actually pretty good. The guild leader says that's exactly why he wants to meet him. With only 3 people, Sungwoo's group still reached level 12, which is amazing. He wants to be sure the necromancer won't threaten their future. While he's speaking, the girl says the necromancer just posted a reply. He agreed to meet. The leader quickly tells his team to get ready. Han-Ho asks the MC why he wants to meet the prosecutor now when he used to oppose it. Sungwoo says they were bound to meet sooner or later, and the prosecutor might know something useful about leveling up. At his current pace, it'll take forever. While they get ready for the meeting, another player group arrives. Biker gang members led by Taishong, bringing urgent news. He says strange people attacked them and took his. They were bandits searching for something called the Golden Deer. Thinking those bandits might come after their town next, the MC tells Taishong to take him to them. The bandits are badly beating a man while demanding answers. He refuses to reveal where the town is and tells himself he just has to hold out until his friend gets there. Just as one bandit moves in to kill him, the biker gang arrives with the MC. The bandits light up when they see them and demand to know about the Golden Deer. The MC says he knows nothing about it and asks why they're after it. One bandit gets cocky when he sees Jisoo, assuming she's just a weak girl. She gives Sungwoo a killing look and asks if she can take him out. When the MC gives the go-ahead, she easily slips past the man's attack. She toys with him for a moment, then slices his hand right off. His men can only watch as he screams. They fire some kind of magic fireballs at her. She cuts through their boss and rushes the rest with amazing speed. Han-Ho jumps in too, using his final form, and shouts at them for pointing a crossbow at a lady. One bandit tries to grab Youngsik as a hostage, but the MC sneaks behind him and kills him. He earns 8,000 gold, and the rest of the bandits flee. After seeing the robe in action, Han-Ho gets jealous again. Sungwoo tells him he'll let him use it later. Taesung helps his injured friend and asks why the Golden Deer matters so much. The man says it can give players a special item. Then Jisoo spots a golden deer in the distance. Right away, they get a hidden quest. Capture the deer to enter a hidden stage. Sungwoo sends his zombies after it, but the deer is far too fast, so he sends in the werewolves instead. Sungwoo runs after the deer as it darts into an alley. The deer suddenly stops when a werewolf blocks its path. The werewolf turns and tries to scare them off, but when it sees 3 undead werewolves ahead, it bolts. With no way out left, the golden deer is caught without much trouble. The group gets a ticket to the hidden stage, but Sungwoo is focused on something else. That werewolf ran because it knew it was outnumbered, but the other werewolves they fought acted like wild beasts with no thought at all. He can't explain it, but their meeting is about to start, so he lets it go for now. The whole group waits excitedly for the prosecutor. Then Taishong points out helicopters overhead. Sungwoo quickly realizes the leader wants a flashy entrance to show he's in charge of Korea's top guild. The prosecutor steps out of the helicopter and greets Sungwoo with a smile. He introduces himself by his real name, Young-hoon Choi. The two of them shake hands. At that moment, the blindfolded man snaps a photo and says this meeting will be remembered in history. Sungwoo starts reading the guild's mood. Everyone follows their leader without question. That makes him wonder if something more is going on. Even the town's players are pulled in by Young-hoon's presence and charm. That only makes Sungwoo more suspicious, since none of them have met him before. Still, they act like they already adore him. It reminds Sungwoo of the vampires who would die for their lord. He wonders if he's just reading too much into it as he invites Young-hoon inside. Young-hoon comments that the town seems peaceful. Sung-woo says it's nothing compared to Young-hoon's city. Young-hoon tells him they already have over 30,000 people there, not even counting the whole area. Soon, he says, that number will pass 40,000. Sung-woo asks if having more people helps him by giving him more workers. Young-hoon doesn't like that idea and says he's only trying to save as many people as he can. He adds that most of them can't do much anyway. Many are too old or too young, and less than a quarter can really contribute. Sung-woo realizes Young-hoon is basically leading a family of 30,000 people. Young-hoon admits he had been watching Sung-woo for a while, though he didn't plan to recruit him at first. That changed after he checked the rankings. Then he saw Sung-woo's growth wasn't just luck. He opens up a little more and admits that carrying so many people's trust makes him nervous. Sung-woo points out that this doesn't sound like something you'd tell a stranger. Young-hoon explains that he lost his parents when the apocalypse began. He survived by getting stronger, but he never stopped resenting the game. One day, he says, he plans to strike back at it, and for that, he needs people like Sung-woo. Sung-woo asks if he's trying to recruit him into the guild, but Young-hoon pulls out a box and says he wants something more. Inside is a prophecy stone. When Sung-woo touches it, he sees a vision of the world tree on Yui Island. It's destroying everything around it. Its roots spread across the island, killing everyone they reach. When the vision ends, Sung-woo reads that this future will happen if he fails to stop the fallen ones. Young-hoon says the world tree will destroy their whole world, and the two of them have to work together to stop it. He says it has already taken root on Yui Island, where a raid boss is waiting. Sung-woo realizes Young-hoon is building a raid party, and that's why he came for him. With the fate of the world on the line, Sung-woo knows he can't really refuse. He thinks about telling Young-hoon about the Lich King's future, but keeps it to himself, figuring it may never happen if he gets the Reaper's scythe. He agrees to help, but makes it clear he won't join the guild. He also says every reward from the raid will be split evenly. They seal the deal with a handshake. Then Han-ho rushes in and says there's an emergency. A group of raiders is heading straight for the town. Hearing that, Young-hoon steps forward and says this is the perfect chance for his guild to show its power before they work together. Young-hoon calls in the Crusaders, and they line up to meet the raiders head-on. Their leader stops in front of them, cigar still in his mouth. Young-hoon calls to Sung-woo and says it would help if they knew each other's classes. Since he already knows Sung-woo is a necromancer, he reveals his own class, Crusader Commander. The more knights he leads, the stronger he gets. The bandit leader asks if their target is the man in armor, but one of his men says no. They want the man in the cape and the girl beside him. The leader grins and says they're after the ones who killed his men during the earlier raid. He came for revenge, though he didn't expect to find a town this packed. Now he's excited, thinking about how much gold he'll get from killing so many players. Young-hoon knows these bandits have slaughtered plenty already, so he sees no reason to hold back. He orders his knights to charge, but the bandits came prepared. They open with ranged attacks, hoping to wipe out the knights before they ever get close. As the arrows and spells pour in, Young-hoon lifts his sword and gives them a force field buff that blocks every attack. The bandit leader is irritated but keeps fighting. His men rush in on bikes, but their weapons can't get through the knights' heavy armor. The knights cut through them with ease until a truck suddenly charges in. The driver yells for the bandits to get out of the way. Young-hoon steps up to protect his men and charges a special attack with his sword. The blindfolded man screams for the others to fall back, knowing how destructive that skill is. Then Young-hoon unleashes Cross Spear, a massive burst of energy shaped like a cross. Everything in its path is wiped out. The trucks are blown apart by that single strike. Now the bandits start to panic. None of their tricks are working. In the middle of the chaos, one knight is suddenly struck by 2 axes and killed on the spot. It was the bandit leader. He calls the axes back and says they're vortex blades. Armor means nothing against them. Watching this, Sung-woo grows cautious. Those weapons are clearly no ordinary axes. As the knights begin to falter, Young-hoon steps forward with a smile and calls the bandit leader out himself. The leader feels mocked and boasts that his vortex axes are legendary grade items. But instead of dodging, Young-hoon plants himself and takes the hit head-on. The impact causes a huge explosion. When the smoke clears, the blades are shattered on the ground. Young-hoon mocks him, asking if that is what he calls a legendary item. Then he brings his sword down and crushes the broken axes completely, leaving the bandit leader shaken. His class gives him defense based on how many knights are in his order, putting his durability among the best in the world. Sung-woo realizes Young-hoon is basically a walking fortress. Young-hoon raises his sword again and casts a healing buff over all the knights. Yellow light covers them and their strength starts coming back. He can heal allies by the amount of damage he blocked. As long as he's standing, his knights are nearly untouchable. With the knights restored, he orders another charge. Meanwhile, Kyung-soo and the other survivors stay hidden inside a building. Han-ho's dad gets curious and suggests they peek outside. Kyung-soo hesitates, but finally agrees, and the two step out to watch the fight. By then, thick smoke covers the battlefield. The knights are down, and the battle seems to have turned. Knowing he couldn't beat the knights fairly, the bandit leader used a poison cloud he bought from the wandering salesman. It was called Abyss Concentrate. Young-hoon holds his breath in the poison, but his shield can't stop it. He wanted to impress Sung-woo, yet now he knows he'll have to go all out. Then he hears Sung-woo walking up behind him and turns to see him smiling. Sung-woo takes a deep breath of the poison and says he's actually a perfect match for these bandits. Seeing him move through the clouds so easily, the bandit leader gets annoyed and throws another bottle at him. But that only helps. Sung-woo seems to enjoy the poison. The bandit forgot he was up against a necromancer, and Sung-woo enters his awakened form, saying they're a great match. Sung-woo laughs and breathes in the abyss concentrate. It's not as strong as the orc chief's poison, but it's still enough to wake something up in him. Now he decides to show the Liberation Guild what he can really do. The bandits stare in shock, wondering how he's still standing in the poison. One thinks the gas is faulty and pulls off his mask. It kills him instantly. Sung-woo, meanwhile, only gets stronger with every breath. He triggers death response and summons a swarm of zombies. The bandits finally realize they're fighting a necromancer. Wanting to show his full strength, he calls out all his skeletons too. The bandits panic and run when they see the werebeasts revived as skeletons. But Sung-woo doesn't let them escape that easily. He blows them up with corpse explosions. Watching from afar, Kyung-soo is stunned by Sung-woo's talent. Han-ho's mom comes outside too and asks what they're doing. Hearing them, the bandit leader orders his men to grab them as hostages, his only way out. Kyung-soo steps in to protect them. Then Jisoo appears, standing in front of them like a shield. Seeing only a girl, the bandits rush her, thinking she'll be easy prey. They couldn't be more wrong. Jisoo cuts them down with her flaming blade, and the bandit leader realizes she's a monster too. Panic hits him, then he feels a blade slide into his stomach. Sung-woo stabs him and claims the second ticket to the hidden stage. Now that he has both tickets, he can open the stage. The prosecutor asks what it is, but before he can learn more, Sung-woo is pulled into the hidden stage. The prosecutor tries to enter the portal, but a message says he can't. He can only wonder where the Golden Gate leads. Meanwhile, the cameraman is still snapping photos of Sung-woo. The prosecutor gets annoyed and tells him to stop taking pictures. He warns that there are dangerous people outside, so they have to be careful about what reaches the public. The cameraman agrees and promises to be more careful with what he records. Meanwhile, Jisoo is worried about Sung-woo. The prosecutor asks if she knows where he went. She says she has a guess, but even under his charm aura, she won't tell him. He notices her distrust, but since she doesn't shut him down completely, he presses again, saying Sung-woo might be in danger and he only wants to help. As Han-ho starts talking, Jisoo immediately shuts him up. The prosecutor asks if she's really going to stand there and leave her friend in danger. She finally tells him Sung-woo is in the hidden stage, but they're teammates, and she trusts him to handle it himself. The prosecutor praises her skills and offers her a spot in his guild. He says joining would give her a huge boost in power too. Jisoo turns him down, saying she already has a team she trusts. As she pulls Han-ho away, the blindfolded man glares at her, angry that she spoke so rudely to his leader. By now, even the prosecutor knows these people won't be easy to win over. Meanwhile, Sung-woo arrives in a golden city. A notice tells him he'll get a special reward for clearing the stage, and if he dies, his body will be sent back to where he came from. As he tries to understand where he is, he spots a golden minion staring at him. A few moments later, more minions appear. These goblins aren't normal. They're not afraid of him at all. He instantly summons Righty and tells it to teach them a lesson. Outside the gate, the Liberation Guild works to treat their injured. Regular healing potions don't work, so they switch to antidotes. When he hears that, the prosecutor realizes this isn't poison. It's a curse. He asks the girl what she thinks of the item. She says it sounds like black magic, though she has no idea how the bandits got it, maybe from a special shop. The prosecutor's group can't figure out why that powerful curse had no effect on Sung-woo. The blindfolded man uses his 3-star scout class and reports that the curse actually strengthened Sung-woo during the fight. The stat boost wasn't huge, but it awakened other abilities, and his mana recovery and vitality rose at an abnormal rate. That only confuses the prosecutor even more and raises more questions. Manhwa asks if he really made a deal to split all the raid rewards with him. He says he had no choice. It was the only way to get him into their party. Hearing that, she asks to write the contract herself, thinking he's young enough to trick with terms that favor them. The prosecutor agrees but warns her not to write anything that might drive him away. Then he asks what they think about the prophecy stones. Both say it was a terrifying experience. He notices that while everyone else was shaken by visions of the world's end, the MC didn't seem bothered at all, so he asks her to check whether Sung-woo has ever seen a prophecy stone before. Inside the hidden stage, Sung-woo's minions tear through everything. He even revives golden orcs and finds they're stronger than normal monsters, but still no match for him. With no one to protect, he can finally fight at full power. All he has to do is kill every monster ahead of him. No reputation, no teammates, no limits. He feels like a one-man army. As he goes deeper, his mind starts to slip for a moment, but hearing his name pulls him back. He looks around and sees his skeleton minions surrounding him. Even with them there, he still feels a little lonely. Soon he reaches a fork with two options, a big treasure chest on the left and a smaller one on the right. He knows the bigger chest means more danger, but also a better reward, so he chooses the larger chest despite the risk. As he heads toward it, not a single monster appears, and that makes him suspicious. He orders his minions to attack. The moment they hit it, the chest turns into a mimic boss. Its bite is brutal, and its teeth are strong enough to shred targets. Sung-woo assumes it must be slow since it has no limbs. Because of that weakness, he thinks beating it will be easy. But the boss lunges suddenly and knocks his minions away with ease. Sung-woo gets caught in the blow and starts coughing up blood. The mimic turns even more savage and chases him while Righty struggles to hold it back. As he runs, Sung-woo realizes his mistake. He assumed a limbless boss couldn't move well. He can't believe he got that careless and wonders if the awakening messed with his judgment. Then it hits him how arrogant he'd become. He thought he didn't need teammates, but around them, he's always more careful. Just as the mimic is about to bite down on him, his minions manage to hold it back. He quickly casts Death Response inside its mouth, sending zombies in to attack from the inside. He jumps back while his minions force the mimic's jaws shut. Looking at Righty, he apologizes for failing it in battle, then uses Corpse Explosion to blow the boss apart. The blast throws everyone back. When the smoke clears, the boss is gone. He gets 1,434 points for the kill and for clearing an A-rank mission. He realizes the mimic's hard shell blocked outside attacks, which meant the only way to kill it was from within. That's also why he couldn't recover health while Righty attacked it. Sung-woo takes the lesson to heart and vows not to repeat it. The world may feel like a game now, but he can still die. After healing, he moves on to the next room and finds a reward room filled with lockers he can open with his points. The loot inside is rare and can raise a player's stats and experience. None of it can be bought in regular stores. After thinking it over, he picks an oath parchment, which lets him make a pact with another player. If either side breaks the pact's terms, they die. He also takes 3 C-rank items, an upgrade stone, a strength vial, and an experience card. Once he's done, he leaves through the same golden portal. He reunites with the prosecutor, who says he was shocked to see him vanish out of nowhere. The MC apologizes for taking up his time, but the prosecutor says it was worth it and gives him a crate of potions. He also suggests posting a photo and their alliance contract online to give people hope, saying heroes like Sung-woo inspire others. Sung-woo agrees. He knows it could make him a target, but he also needs to keep a good public image. Han-ho stares at the pile of potions and can't help being impressed. He thinks the prosecutor seems like a good guy, but the MC still isn't sure. Jisoo says they should start training and get stronger now that they've joined the raiding party. The next morning, they lure in goblins and orcs with foul-smelling bait called rancid wolf meat, a failed dish from Han-ho's mom. As the monsters rush them, the MC detonates the ones that fall, setting off a huge blast. That lets them hunt much faster than before. At the same time, Han-ho's dad uses his new skill to set up a watch post, making the town much safer from monster attacks. While they talk, Tae-sung shows up with his biker gang and says he has urgent news for the boss. Sung-woo is caught off guard by that title. Tae-sung then says they found a store in Haeungnam, but someone had already wrecked it. Sung-woo realizes this is turning serious. Someone is clearly hunting down the stores on purpose. Those stores matter a lot now because people can't really make supplies themselves. Without a steady supply line, they have to survive by hunting and gathering every day, since farming still doesn't seem possible. Sung-woo tells him to report any new stores to Kyung-soo right away. Every store they find needs guards, or everyone could be in danger. Then he notices some of the women in his group keeping their distance. Tae-sung says it's because he kicked Yu-jin when the vampire lord possessed her, so now they see him as a guy who hits women. Han-ho leans in and jokes that online he may be famous, but in real life, his image is awful. For once, Sung-woo is happy the forum exists. Tae-sung heads out with his gang, and Sung-woo gets ready to farm more levels. Out of nowhere, Jisoo senses danger and warns everyone to get ready. A pair of werewolves suddenly leap out from the nearby buildings. His minions move in to stop them, and just as Sung-woo is about to fire at one, another werewolf yells for him not to shoot. He's stunned. He's never heard a werewolf speak before. As the fight keeps going, one of the werewolves snatches Han-ho's bag and starts stuffing itself with the rancid wolf meat inside. While they are busy eating, Sung-woo's minions close in and surround them. He raises his crossbow and tells them to give him one good reason not to fire. 2 werewolves glance at their leader and ask what to do. The leader tells them to stay calm. They still have a chance. Sung-woo has no idea what he means. They're surrounded and have no clear way out. Then the leader lunges at the weakest orcs nearby, opening a path for the other 2 to run. The MC stops the arrows, but the other 2 still escape. Seeing him risk himself for the others, Sung-woo is impressed by his loyalty. His minions pin the leader down, and Sung-woo asks why they attacked. The leader says they lost control when they smelled the meat in Han-ho's bag. Then the MC asks how they managed to regain their senses. The leader says they were stuck on a quest that forced them to hunt and eat humans. After they finished that quest, their minds came back. The MC never knew a quest could force wolves to attack people. He thought monsters just acted on instinct. He asks if there are more like him nearby. The leader stays quiet, but Sung-woo already gets it. He asks if they were the ones destroying the stores. The werewolf says no, they aren't behind that. If they can, they avoid humans. He says another group is attacking people and wrecking stores to weaken the players. That group is led by humans called the Mad Scientists, who make dangerous items to hurt others. The MC realizes those must be the wandering merchants he heard about. He asks if the werewolf is telling him all this just to buy time for his teammates to return and rescue him. But the leader says he already told them to run and never come back if this happened. When Sung-woo finally puts his sword to the monster's neck, he expects begging, but gets the opposite. The werewolf says he's been waiting for this for a long time. He explains that during the class election event, he didn't trust the system and refused to pick a class for himself or his family. But his son loved games, chose a class card, and became the first human the werewolf ate. He says once he came back to his senses, he wanted to die. Sung-woo knows he still can't let him live, no matter how sorry he feels. With his last words, the werewolf says the game is unfair. He only made those choices to survive, and somehow they all still became the wrong ones. Sung-woo ends his pain. Han-ho feels sorry for him, knowing they are all thinking beings just trying to protect their own. The MC tells him not to get careless. Even the looters they killed before probably had families too. He tells Han-ho to get ready. They're going after the two werewolves who escaped. Jisoo asks what they'll do if they catch them, since they seem like kids. He says he doesn't plan to hurt them. He just wants to learn more about the werebeast's territory, even if none of this feels fair. By giving the werebeasts human minds, the system is creating conflict. Players want them gone, but knowing they were human makes sympathy harder to avoid. Still, he knows he can't risk mercy on creatures that can kill him and might lose control at any moment. The system built these beasts to hunt people, and their quests prove it. Sung-woo's group travels a long distance while searching for the werewolves. Then they hear voices nearby and quickly hide. They spot the two werewolves, now captured by a pack of kobolds. One kobold jokes about turning them into sausages, but the leader stops him. They're meant as gifts for the queen. The kobolds jab the werewolves with spears and drag them back to their nest. The group is confused. Kobolds are weak, yet they caught two mid-level werewolves. Sung-woo guesses their spears use some kind of paralysis poison, but he still doesn't get how they bound them so easily. They also notice a store inside the dungeon, which means no one has cleared it yet. Sung-woo tells the team they need to secure that store if they want their community to survive. Right then, a notice pops up. This dungeon is called the Venomous Spider Queen's Chambers. It's a deadly zone where 124 players have already died, and clearing it gives a 50% bonus reward. Han-ho gets nervous since they didn't bring any goblins, and this dungeon clearly favors monsters. As they move deeper in, they find people trapped in spider webs, crying out for help. Jisoo cuts the webs apart with her flaming blade and frees them. One of the survivors thanks them, but several spiders suddenly crawl out of his mouth and kill him. Sung-woo orders everyone back and blows up the bodies. He warns them to stay sharp and watch the ceiling. The spiders are coming from everywhere. The blast draws in more spiders and kobolds, and they start swarming the group. Then Han-ho suddenly throws his knife and drops one of them. That triggers his Super Saiyan form. All fired up, he enters berserk mode and starts smashing spiders and kobolds with a huge grin. The monsters panic, thinking he's the real demon, and start running. Han-ho gets drunk on the power and starts repeating Sung-woo's whole speech in his head. He even starts thinking he doesn't need the team anymore, that he can handle everything alone. Now he's basically a priest bandit. The kobolds switch tactics and order the spiders to web Han-ho from every direction. Sung-woo realizes this is how they captured the werewolves. They manage to bind Han-ho for a moment, but he tears free with a roar. The kobolds tell the spiders to keep firing webs at him, and this time they fully pin him down. Once he realizes he can't break out, Han-ho snaps back to normal and calls the MC for help. Sung-woo blows up the nearby bodies again, catching the monsters in the blast. While helping him, he gives Han-ho a quick lesson about keeping his emotions under control. Then even more monsters show up. He uses Death's responsibility to summon zombies and sends them at the enemy. Another explosion wipes out the attackers. That lets his team secure the subway station. But the way to the next station is blocked. He remembers the subway links to a mall above, where he thinks the queen is hiding. After clearing the mall, they reach the boss room. A warning says this killer dungeon has already taken 124 lives, and they can still leave now for a small reward. Han-ho gets scared. The dungeon is offering a reward before they even enter. Jisoo asks if he wants to keep going, but he refuses to back down and says they should move forward. Inside, a kobold shaman welcomes them and reveals that he is the dungeon boss. Sung-woo thought the boss would be the Spider Queen, so this catches him off guard. Han-ho is shocked too, especially since the shaman speaks perfect human language. The shaman laughs and says that's because he's eaten 20 human brains. The MC realizes monsters in this game can grow smarter and stronger by killing humans. The shaman mocks them, saying he'll soon have 23 human brains. Then the ground shakes, and the venomous Spider Queen appears, joining the shaman. So this dungeon actually has two bosses. Then the two combine, the shaman becomes the brain, and the Spider Queen becomes the body. Sung-woo instantly uses Death's response and unleashes all his zombies. He plans to blow them up first, then finish the fight with his skeletons. But the Spider Queen catches his zombies in steel-like webs. Instead of killing them, she throws them away. The shaman laughs and says he already knew Sung-woo planned to blow them up. That worries the MC. This kobold seems to have gained the intelligence of the humans he ate. He watches the Spider Queen block Han-ho's thrown dagger. The kobold boasts that he is the brain and the queen is the body, and she'll protect him no matter what. When the Spider Queen fires webs, Jisoo burns through them with her flaming sword. She grins and says the queen burns just like the other spiders. The kobold shaman counters with water magic, putting out the flames and keeping Jisoo back. At the same time, the MC orders his minions to make a barrier and tells Han-ho to stay with Jisoo. He says he already has a plan. As the Spider Queen smashes through his minions, he uses his necromancer skill to raise every corpse hanging above them. As the bodies rain down, he says this nest was basically built for him. Filling your home with corpses is a terrible idea when you're up against a necromancer. The revived minions rush the boss, but the Spider Queen cuts them apart with her legs. Still, one minion lands a hit on her leg. That makes her furious enough to spit poison, but poison does nothing to the undead. They're only bones. The shaman catches on fast and tells her to stop, but she's already slipping out of his control and won't listen. Sheng Wu expected the shaman to figure that out. The queen wipes out the first wave of skeletons, so the MC raises even more from the bodies around them. He knows he can't drag this out much longer. His mana is running low. Most monsters fight until they burn out, then give up. But this boss is different. The kobold knows exactly what he's doing, and the endless revived minions start getting on his nerves, so he and the Spider Queen charge straight at the MC. The Spider Queen leaps at him. He stops her with a bone shield. His stats are far above an orc's now. He still can't match a boss head-on, but if he pours everything into defense, he can hold her off. The Spider Queen shatters his shield again, and one strike gets through. He's thrown back, but he stays on his feet. He expected to take damage. As long as they can't kill him in one hit, he's fine. His minions keep restoring his health and mana whenever they attack. He just has to endure the pain and keep going. Then the queen suddenly stops attacking. Sung Woo taunts them, asking if they're already worn out. The kobold boasts about his brains and says he won't keep fighting a battle with no end. The queen gathers up the nearby corpses, and the shaman burns them with a fireball. He's destroying the bodies so the MC can't raise more skeletons from them. Sung Woo realizes the shaman is even smarter than he thought. His minions rush the shaman, but an air blast turns into a barrier and keeps them back. Sure he's running out of minions, the shaman lets his guard down, and Jisoo slips in from behind to strike, but the Spider Queen is ready. She blocks with her legs and shields the shaman, who mocks Jisoo for trying to catch him off guard. He scans the group in front of him and notices someone is missing. Then Han-ho appears with the zombies and says he and Jisoo made a secret weapon just for him. The shaman calls Han-ho an idiot and laughs that the zombies can't even reach them. But when he orders the queen to attack, he realizes she's no longer in control of herself. Han-ho pulls out the rotten meat and reveals he smeared it on the zombies. The smell is too tempting for both the Spider Queen and the kobold shaman. Since the kobold is a monster too, he can't resist the smell either. Sung Woo knows that no matter how smart the kobold is, he still can't beat his monster instincts. The shaman tries to stop the queen, but he's too late. The MC says his goodbyes and blows up the zombies in a huge blast. At the same time, the prosecutor is fighting another boss. He cuts it in half with one sword swing, killing the man-eating bat. His troops cheer the win, and he gains experience through his crusaders. He's strong enough to hunt whatever monster he wants, and he can level through his party members too. He knows he's not in first place, but he still believes he's the stronger one. Even so, he's bothered by how fast Gangseok leveled up. Even with Korea's strongest guild behind him, the prosecutor still can't catch this mystery rival. That unsettles him. The man is a complete unknown, and he wonders if he could threaten the order he's built. Then a scout reports that the Korean rankings have changed. The prosecutor stares in shock when he sees the MC has reached level 14 and taken second place. Furious, he demands to know how the MC leveled so fast. After the blast, the kobold shaman is barely alive, but Han-ho ends it with a knife to the head. For beating the shaman boss, they get 300,000 gold plus a 50% killer dungeon bonus. Han-ho is proud to finally help and says he's not just some fake tanker anymore, but the Spider Queen is still alive. She screeches and charges him, then Righty stabs her in the eye, killing her on the spot and earning another 300,000 gold. The MC reaches level 14, and Righty ranks up too, boosting his strength and leadership. Sheng Wu also draws a new card and gains 2 more minions. With this many troops, he feels almost ready for the raid. He doubts finding the Grim Reaper's scythe will be a problem now, and his first awakening is getting close, which worries him a little. Jisoo says now that the dungeon is clear, they should go find the store. Later, they find a C-rank store inside the dungeon. It works like a slot machine with gold, platinum, and diamond options. Sung Woo notices the platinum option costs less in this store. Once they read the rules, they realize it's basically gambling. Han-ho says he wants to meet the store manager. Meanwhile, Sung Woo starts figuring out their odds. The system gives out tokens, and the more tokens you have, the better your chance of pulling a good item. Han-ho raises his hand and insists on going first, thinking it'll boost his luck. Sung Woo points out there are 3 machines so they can all play at once. After a bunch of failed spins, a message says 5 losses in a row will at least give them a low-rank item, which only annoys Han-ho more. Jisoo and Sung Woo keep spinning like addicts. The system clearly raises your odds the more you play. That's how gambling hooks you. They go all in, and Han-ho finally hits the jackpot. He wins a legendary magic scroll that grants 1 random skill, though it has a 50% chance to fail. Jisoo eventually stops after running out of money, but our boy isn't quitting that easily. He also hits the jackpot and gets a top-tier item, the Shadow King's Ring. It gives him 3 agility, 2 health, and a Shadow Clone that deals 50% damage. It also unlocks a quest to collect all the Shadow King's relics for the Shadow King's crown. Since the quest is just about collecting the full set, he isn't very interested. Because Jisoo got nothing, Sungwoo gives her the Wind Spirit's bracelet. He also doesn't mind smashing the store machines. Then they head back to town to tell the others about the stores, since someone needs to guard them. Over the next few days, Sungwoo and his party work on making the town more self-sufficient. When they're ready for the next raid, Han-ho tells him the app has a new feature, a live broadcast. He opens a stream that's already on, and Jisoo guesses it's just a test since all they see is an office. The MC wonders whether this came from the system or the Liberation Guild. He doesn't want to call it bad right away, but he can already see how it could shape public opinion. He realizes the prosecutor could use it to build support for his guild. He doesn't think the prosecutor is evil, but ambition can push people into bad choices. Sungwoo's jump to level 14 has clearly messed up the prosecutor's plans, making him watch Sungwoo even more closely. He knows the prosecutor will try to keep most of the raid rewards for himself, but the special oath parchment from a hidden stage might be useful soon. Then a helicopter arrives. The blindfolded man steps out and introduces himself as Minhyum Seong, lieutenant of the Crusader team. He says he's here to pick up the player in second place. While they fly, the MC asks how safe air travel is with wyverns around. The blindfolded man assures him their guild tracks every wyvern in real time. The pilots admit it's not completely safe, but they can't ignore how useful air travel is. The MC sees the advantage of a large guild with good coordination. A small survivor group like his can't do things like this. He starts wondering if there's another way to travel besides flying. Then a new raid quest appears. It'll be a competition. To get the special reward, they have to beat the raid boss solo. The boss has the Gladiator's Blessing, cutting damage from strong attacks by 90%, but that buff turns off in one-on-one combat. Whoever kills it alone also gets a special title. The blindfolded man is surprised because this wasn't part of the plan, but he trusts his sister or the prosecutor to deal with it. Watching him panic makes Han-ho think they're kind of alike. The MC is shocked too, since raid bosses are usually fought by groups because they're too tough to take down alone. He gets the feeling someone is watching them. After all their prep, this sudden change feels way too deliberate. Now he has no choice but to compete with the prosecutor and the other guild members in the raid. The player guidebook shows a message from the prosecutor. 12 groups and 1,000 players will join the Yui Island boss raid, and it will be broadcast live. After that, the Liberation Guild plans to hunt monsters across Korea, then eventually the whole world. Most players are excited, but some say the MC should lead instead since he's ranked higher than the prosecutor. When Sungwoo and his team arrive, the other players are excited to see him. As they land, the prosecutor comes out to greet them himself. The MC tells him he's impressed by how organized everything is. Then he spots a camera and starts to suspect the prosecutor is using the raid for publicity. He spots a huge crowd of players and wonders if this is meant to show how outnumbered they are. Then a purple-haired player steps up and mocks him for bringing only 2 teammates. He says this hardly looks like an equal alliance, then brags that he brought 31 elite members, as if the purple hair wasn't enough. Since they still haven't discussed the contract, the MC suspects the prosecutor and the purple-haired guy planned this to embarrass him. Sungwoo asks the player to introduce himself first. The prosecutor says he's Gang-Yoon Lee, leader of a Daehak-ro group and a fire sorcerer well known on the forums. Sungwoo says the 3 of them always move together, and headcount doesn't matter in a boss raid. It isn't a war. Gang-Yoon gets irritated, but the prosecutor reminds him what class Sungwoo is. He says Sungwoo is never truly alone, which is exactly why they invited him to the raid. While the blindfolded guy nervously bites his nails, the prosecutor says it's time for the meeting. They go inside for the meeting, which is about to begin. Leaders from different groups are already gathered there. Minhwa Seong, the Crusader's deputy lieutenant, announces that the new quest has made the raid harder, so the rewards should be bigger too, even if they don't know what items will drop. She suggests selling the items for gold and dividing it evenly among the 12 leaders. The MC scans the room and realizes everyone is in on it. Equal splits aren't always fair, but none of the leaders object. He sees the trap now. They were with the prosecutor from the start, all tied to the Liberation Guild. Even split 12 ways, most of it still goes to them, leaving him with scraps. When Minhwa asks if anyone objects, Sungwoo raises his hand and asks why they'd split rewards evenly when the quest says someone must fight the boss alone. Whoever risks their life should get all of it. Minhwa reminds him that he was the one who first suggested sharing rewards equally. Sungwoo quickly says he asked for fairness, not equality. The other leaders reject that idea, saying everyone has different strengths. They ask if he just wants someone else to kill the boss for him. Then one leader, Anseok-gu, stands up and challenges him to a duel. He's ranked 11th and known as Iron Fist. Anseok is famous for fighting monsters with his bare hands. Sungwoo brushes him off, saying he's only mad because he knows Sungwoo is right. That only makes Anseok angrier. But the prosecutor slams the desk and says it's a great idea. Hiding his irritation, he adds that this will make the raid even more interesting. That night, Anseok vents his anger on a pack of lizard monsters. As the fight drags on, more and more monsters pour in. Instead of retreating, he decides to go all out. Then fireballs suddenly rain down, and the blast wipes the monsters out. The purple-haired guy shows up and warns Anseok to be careful. If he dies, they'll all be in trouble. The island has turned into the perfect home for lizard monsters. Still, Anseok is sure he can wipe them all out. Gang Yoon adds that they also have to stop the fallen ones from planting the world tree seed. Anseok asks if he knows who they are, but Gang Yoon says he has no clue whether they're players or monsters. That's why, he says, taking control of the island comes first. He seems sure the prosecutor can handle it. He's the kind of man who keeps his word. A moment later, they spot a helicopter heading toward Uito Park. Anseok thinks they're going after the prosecutor, but the purple-haired guy says the MC is heading there too. They're worried he might reach the boss first. Not far behind Sung-woo is Myung-soo Yang, an archer who was already a rising star before the world changed. He believes success isn't always about hard work. Sometimes it's about knowing the right people and playing politics. People like those who obey and fit in easily. He knows he isn't the strongest, but he's good at sticking close to powerful people to survive. Manhwa gave him 2 weapons and told him to trip the MC during the boss fight, but things aren't going the way he expected. Watching the MC's team fight, he realizes his plan is falling apart. Jisoo's flaming sword and Han-ho's unbreakable defense barely seem real. He stares at them, wondering if they tamed some kind of new monster. On top of that, the MC is marching around with an army of armored zombies. The boost he gets from them feels a lot like the Crusaders' synergy. While he's thinking, Sung-woo glances back and asks his group if they want armor too. They say no, they're archers and wear light gear. But he puts armor on them anyway. To their surprise, they feel both lighter and safer. That pushes the MC's synergy even higher with more than 40 units. Myung-soo feels like he's helping the very man he's meant to beat, and hopes it won't hurt his review. Myung-soo slips back into flattery and points ahead. Uito Station is there, and beyond it is the park with the boss room. As they get closer, the MC grows uneasy because the water level is rising. The archer warns that lizard men are hiding in the water, waiting to ambush them, so teaming up would be smarter. He secretly thinks even the necromancer might struggle here, but Seung-woo ignores him and tells Han-ho and Jisoo to fall back. His werebear minions start hurling lizard men into the water, and the MC detonates the corpses, killing every monster hiding below the surface. The move earns him a pile of gold, and the nearby archers can only stare. When the smoke clears, the MC tells them the way ahead is open. Soon, a helicopter arrives and a cameraman starts filming him. Han-ho notices it right away and realizes it was meant to capture the guildmaster's big moment, but the cameraman gets so excited that he keeps filming the MC and his skeletons instead. He thinks this is exactly the kind of footage the prosecutor would want, something to raise the spirits of other survivors. The viewers cheer as they watch the MC cut through the monsters. Then the cameraman's assistant says the Crusader team is calling. When he answers, he hears Manhwa yelling that he needs to turn back now or face the consequences. He doesn't get it. She gave permission to film the other teams. She snaps that she only allowed it so players wouldn't accuse them of bias. Afraid for his life, the cameraman quickly turns away to film the other teams. The MC and his friends figure the other teams must be doing well too, which is why the helicopter left. Eventually, the 3 of them reach the boss room. Even though it's a park, Jisoo says it feels more like a jungle. Then the ground starts shaking like an earthquake, and a beam of light shoots up from the northern forest. A notice appears. The raid boss, Lizardman Warlord, has spawned. It cuts concentrated attack damage by 90% and is seeking a worthy one-on-one challenger. They notice helicopters racing toward the boss. The MC realizes the prosecutor was waiting for someone else to find the boss first so he could rush in and claim the rewards. He's even more ruthless than the MC expected. The Crusader team heads straight for the boss without clearing the nearby monsters. The contract never said they had to travel on land, but it's hard to trust someone this obsessed with winning. Han-ho asks what they do now, and the MC says they'll fight their way through the monsters. As his minions start opening a path, he sees a green light shine from his clothes and instantly knows what it is. It's the C-rank card from the hidden dungeon. It lights up once the player has enough experience to level up with it. The MC is excited. He can finally reach level 15 and unlock his first awakening. He uses the experience card, and at once he's pulled into another realm. It feels like touching the prophecy stone again, except now his real body seems to be floating in space. There, he sees a bright light and a system message calling him the one who holds the reins of death and saying he must find the Grim Reaper's scythe. A new quest appears. Who is the Master of Death? Part 2. If he takes the Grim Reaper's scythe, he gets the first stage of awakening. If he fails, he may become the Lich King's servant. The choice will shape his fate. The figure inside the light seems to be trying to talk to him, but he can't understand it. He wonders if the system itself is speaking to him. Somehow, the being feels calm and strangely familiar. He doesn't think it means to hurt him. Then another message tells him he will witness death with his own eyes. He reaches for the light, but it vanishes, and he wakes back up in the real world. Han-ho says he was gone for about 10 seconds, which tells him it really happened and wasn't just a vision. He now knows he'll soon witness a death, and he prays it won't be one of his friends. The message leaves him with even more questions. Suddenly, a huge explosion sounds from the boss's direction. The MC knows he can't stand there thinking. He can't deal with that quest right now, so he focuses on the boss. He signals his team to move out and tells Myung-soo to fall back and regroup. They rush toward the boss room and find the Crusader team's helicopter shot down and crashed. The blindfolded guy crawls out of the wreck and wonders what hit them. They were attacked mid-air, but no one saw what it was. A massive spear is stuck in the front. The prosecutor steps out of the flames and tells his team to regroup. He says his blind faith zone saved everyone in the crash except the pilot. Then he tells them to get revenge on the monsters. More lizard men rush in, and the Crusaders get ready to fight. About 17,555 people are watching the live stream. The knights quickly cut down every monster in front of them. While they fight, he notices the prosecutor charging cross spear. He wipes out waves of lizard men and tells his team to brace for a second wave. Then a loud crash comes from the trees. Manhwa realizes the lizard men warlord has shown up. The prosecutor orders the crossbowmen to fire. But most of the bolts bounce off the boss and do almost nothing because several people attacked at once. He quickly tells them to stop. He thought they'd heard it more, but the attack barely left a mark. Worse, attacks like that are pointless because the boss heals fast. The boss suddenly charges the knights and cuts two of them in half. Another knight struggles and cries out as the boss closes in. The prosecutor jumps in and pulls the boss's focus. He tells the Crusaders to handle the smaller lizardmen while he takes the boss himself. Facing the boss, he says he's found the one he came for. The boss rushes him, but he blocks with his sword and realizes they're evenly matched in strength. Still, the boss has the reach advantage with its longer blade. Even so, he believes he can win because he's faster and reacts quicker. The two trade brutal attacks. A helicopter crew films the fight, and the reporters are stunned that the prosecutor seems to be overpowering the boss alone. Soon Gang Yoon and Ansayoke reach the scene. They spot skeletons in the trees, so the MC must be here too. The prosecutor knocks the boss back with cross spear and lands heavy damage, but something feels off. The boss keeps smirking, and that gets under the prosecutor's skin. He's furious and wants to wipe that grin away. Then the boss suddenly breathes fire. The prosecutor blocks it with his force field. His Crusaders rush to help, but he orders them to stay back. He knows it's too dangerous. The boss just broke his force field in one hit. Then the warlord sheds its skin and reveals its real form, the Wandering Drake. A new message announces Phase 2. The prosecutor is stunned that the boss had been hiding its true form the whole time. Honestly, the non-stop grin should have been a clue. The Drake lunges, and even blocking one hit nearly shatters the prosecutor's bones. A second later, the Drake's tail blade whips in. It leaves him badly wounded. The crowd watches in horror as the prosecutor drops. Manhwa starts crying, sure he's about to die. Just as the Drake moves in to finish him, a corpse explodes beside it. Sungwoo's minions join the battle, smashing the Drake's head with bone weapons while the werebears hammer it with their fists. As the Drake roars and tries to get back up, the MC drives the masterless sword into its head. Everyone cheers when they realize the necromancer is overpowering the Drake. People watching from home erupt too. Even Manhwa is relieved to see him. She doesn't care about the rewards anymore. She just wants the boss dead and the prosecutor saved. Sungwoo leaves the sword buried in the Drake's head, and one of his werebear skeletons arrives with a bone hammer. And Seok realizes he's about to hammer the sword deeper into the boss's skull. Even the purple-haired guy believes he can finish the Drake. Then someone warns Manhwa that a huge swarm of lizard men is heading for the MC. She realizes the fight was unfair from the start. The one-on-one rule only applied to the boss, not the mobs. She orders everyone to protect the MC at all costs, and the knights form a wall in front of him. Han-ho looks at them and says they finally know who really matters. At the same time, the werebear brings down the hammer and drives the sword through the Drake's skull. For a moment, it looks like the boss is dead. Just when everyone thinks it's over, the MC sees the body move. Jisoo asks what's going on. They already killed it. But the boss starts a third phase and transforms into its final form, the young host of the seed. A system message says the raid isn't over, and no one can leave until the boss is dead. The MC is fed up. The system keeps changing the rules like it's playing with them. The knights are struggling to hold back the lizardmen, but he trusts his friends to handle them. The real problem is the giant boss in front of him. He shouts for everyone to move. The boss is about to breathe fire. The blast is so huge it wipes out its own lizardmen too. Seung-woo tries corpse explosion, but it does nothing to the boss. His werebears burn to ash, and he can't see a good way to fight back. For now, he decides to keep the boss busy. With his forces thinning out, he revives fallen lizardmen and tells everyone to fall back and spread out. They can't fight the boss and the swarm together. The lizardmen have to go first, so the raid party pulls back. As they retreat, Han-ho notices the prosecutor is badly hurt. He tries to help drag him to safety, but the boss appears behind them and attacks. Righty jumps in and slashes the boss, stopping the blow. The MC bursts from the shadows and stabs the boss in the eye. But the boss strikes back and cuts off one of his arms. Then it's revealed that was only a shadow clone. The real Sungwoo grabs Han-ho and runs. Han-ho, still stunned, asks what that was. Sungwoo tells him it was a shadow clone. It couldn't do much damage, but it fooled the boss. He also knows the hit mattered because it went straight for the eye, and the boss clearly hates that, as it chases after them in a rage. The MC wonders if stabbing its eye just made things worse. Then Jisoo lands a surprise attack on the boss, buying the others more time to retreat. Sungwoo looks at her and reminds her he told her to run. Jisoo just smiles and says the three of them always fight together. Hearing that, Sungwoo and Han-ho turn back to face the boss with her. Sungwoo activates death response, and zombies rise from the ground. The boss tears through them with ease, so he blows the corpses up. He said they'd beat the boss, but he knows it won't be easy. The blast doesn't even scratch its outside, and he can't attack from within because it won't eat his minions. He keeps reviving lizard men for Hanho and Jisoo, but the boss wipes them out right away. Then the boss prepares another fire breath. This time, Hanho and Jisoo are right behind the MC. Instead of dodging, he tries to block it with a bone shield. He barely survives, but most of his minions are gone. The boss charges again, and he's too worn out to run. As the tail swings in, Hanho jumps in front of him. The hit instantly shatters Hanho's holy force field. The boss attacks again, and Righty tries to stop it, but his sword snaps. Even so, he grabs the boss's blade and cuts off its tail. When the boss attacks once more, Righty shoves Hanho out of the way. He says his final goodbye and is crushed by the boss. Hanho snaps and charges straight at it. A were-tiger grabs both Hanho and Jisoo and carries them to safety. Meanwhile, the MC faces the boss alone. Righty's sacrifice bought him enough time to recover a little. He knows the boss won't let anyone escape, so he stays behind to buy his friends as much time as he can. He summons a bone shield and sword, then takes the boss's attack head-on. Now it's just him against the boss. Manhwa and the others watch in fear, realizing even he isn't strong enough for this monster. The boss smashes the MC's legs with its tail, then it gets ready to breathe fire again. Broken and exhausted, he looks up and realizes he's failed. It feels like he'll die just like his parents did. In those last moments, he thinks of the friends he made and sees that his life wasn't all bad. He finds peace knowing he at least saved them. Then the fire breath hits him directly. Hanho and Jisoo are devastated as a skeleton carries them away. After dying, the MC wakes up in that strange space again. He thinks it's a miracle he lasted this long. So much of it came down to luck, good item draws, and the friends he made. Even now, he worries about them and wonders if they survived without his skeletons. Then he hears someone call out to him. He looks up and sees the Grim Reaper. That's when he realizes he had to truly die to meet him. He asks if he's here to send him to heaven or hell. He's tired and ready for it to end. The Grim Reaper mocks him for being worn out so young. The MC is startled, then wonders if the Reaper is actually teasing him. But his surprise turns into total shock when he sees the Grim Reaper is actually his own dad. Sungwoo asks if this is real or just another trick from the system. His father says it doesn't matter. Sungwoo agrees. Dead is dead, and this feels like a fitting end. He asks if his father hated him for running from the fire. Sungwoo admits he was scared to die, so he just watched. After that, he studied and pushed himself hard to become stronger, always trying not to take on too much. But even after all that, he still feels like he failed. His father laughs and asks if that's what has been eating at him this whole time. Then he teases him again, saying he thought he'd grown up by now. He asks how a little kid could have saved them in a situation like that. And he says Sungwoo didn't run because he was scared. He ran because he followed his instructions. The fire broke out all of a sudden while they were asleep. Sungwoo and his dad got downstairs, but his mom was still trapped in her room. His dad told him to go outside and wait, and made it clear he was not to come back in. Sungwoo didn't want to leave him, but his father promised he'd save his mom. So Sungwoo had it wrong all this time. His father never abandoned them. He was trying to keep his son safe. His dad tells him again it was never his fault. As head of the family, saving them was his job. Hearing that, Sungwoo says he still couldn't save his own people, so he failed too. But his father says he didn't fail. He saved him. That makes Sungwoo realize he didn't fail either, because he saved his friends. His dad asks if he's ready to fight his way back to the real world. Sungwoo smiles and says he can't just go quietly with him. His father points to a bright light and says that's the path back. Before leaving, Sungwoo looks at his dad one more time. He's happy they got to meet again after so many years. Then his father stops him and hands him a scythe. The moment he takes it, he gets his first awakening and a new skill. Back in the real world, the boss keeps tearing everything apart. Jisoo and Hanho still can't accept that Sungwoo is dead. The prosecutor wakes up, crushed by guilt over his reckless choices. He sees the bitter looks from Sungwoo's friends. Deep down, he knows he deserves them. He remembers Hanho saving him when he couldn't move. Maybe Hanho's passive skill played a part, but he was still the only one who came for him. He pushed away his strongest ally and made plans without him. Now he knows he has to fix this, or the world is done. The blindfolded man runs over the moment he sees him awake. The prosecutor realizes Hanho saved him earlier, which means Manhwa left him behind. They begin pulling back from the battlefield. As they retreat, the prosecutor apologizes to Sungwoo and vows to protect his friends as best he can. Then the sky suddenly goes dark. A warning message appears. The Great Spirit has been activated in their area. Manhwa spots a green light in the black fog and wonders if Sungwoo caused it. Then our guy appears, looking like a Lich King. Manhwa and her crew panic, thinking he turned into a lich after dying. Sungwoo can barely feel anything. His senses are dulled, and he isn't even sure he's alive. Then a notice says he's been revived by a special necromancer feature, now on a 31-day cooldown. His first awakening lets him summon the Grim Reaper Scythe and raise large monsters for his army. He also gets a secret store coupon for being the 9th player to reach first awakening. He can summon the Grim Reaper Scythe once a day for 1 hour and transform into a lich. The skill adds 50 minions, boosts all stats by 10, and lets him revive and heal undead without limit. Now he's ready to fight the Drake boss again. He calls out to the Drake and says it's time for Phase 2. Hanho and Jisoo rush toward the boss when they see Sungwoo use his Great Spirit skill. The prosecutor stares, wondering how Sungwoo survived a hit like that. As his friends run toward him in excitement, they realize the Sungwoo in front of them looks completely different, almost like a monster. Jisoo spots the scythe in his hand and figures this must be what happened after he cleared his quest. The Drake attacks his minions, wiping out most of them in one blow, but his new skill brings them right back. Manhwa and her crew cheer when the minions rise again. Then the Drake unleashes a huge blast of fire, and Sungwoo blocks it with a giant shield. Just before the flames hit the prosecutor and the others, Righty spins and blows the fire away. Hanho is so happy he runs up and hugs Righty. Sungwoo, though, is on a whole different level. He asks the Drake why it stopped attacking. The monster is nearly out of health, while he's still fresh thanks to endless mana. He revives more minions, and they swarm the Drake until sheer numbers overwhelm it. Then he uses weapon creation to make bone chains and lock the Drake down. He orders his minions to strip away its skin. Before long, they tear off its outer layer, leaving the Drake drained and beaten. Sungwoo tells Righty it's time to end it. Righty lands a heavy slash, and this time, the Drake dies for good. The masterless sword now has 4,235 days left before it can hatch the egg. Sungwoo gets 1,115,556 gold for killing the raid boss. He also earns the title Amateur Dragon Hunter, giving him +2 stamina and 30 fire resistance. Back in town, people celebrate after watching the battle live on their phones. After beating the Drake, Sungwoo raises a hand and orders it to rise again. In front of every player watching, the Drake comes back as a skeleton and joins his army. The prosecutor and his group are stunned. This puts Sungwoo on a whole other level. Hanho starts crying and says he knew Sungwoo was alive. Sungwoo awkwardly looks away and says he's actually dead. Jisoo just worries if he'll ever turn back to normal because right now he looks really strange. One of his minions picks up the heroic grade item. Drake hides. Righty also grabs a legendary item, the Dragon Heart, and hands it to Sungwoo. It's a crafting material used to make other items. Sungwoo also gets the Seed of the World Tree, a godly item with unknown effects tied to the prophecy they saw earlier. He realizes the mysterious fallen ones may come after it. Then the photographer walks up and asks for a few words after that insane battle. Sungwoo warns him not to trust any group that promises safety. Every group taking in survivors so far has failed. The system keeps testing groups, and a lot of those trials aren't fair to lone players. So he says, everyone needs to grow stronger on their own if they want to live. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking, and a huge blast erupts near Yeongdeungpo Station. Manhwa tells the prosecutor their base is under attack. He immediately orders everyone back to the station. Sungwoo sees the black smoke from the blast and realizes it's the breath of the abyss. He wonders if the group making deadly bombs is behind it. As the helicopters lift off toward town, the prosecutor drops to his knees and begs Sungwoo to help. He says the station is full of non-combatants, and in his current shape, he can't protect them. Sungwoo knows he can't ignore whoever attacked the town. He tells the prosecutor they still need a long talk, but for now, he'll help. The helicopters have to land outside since they can't fly through the smoke. A survivor tells Manhwa they were attacked by beastmen who seem to have regained their minds. Now Sungwoo is sure the wandering salesman group hit the station, a mix of self-aware werbeasts and crazy scientists. As he nears the smoke, he notices the color is lighter and guesses they changed it to spread farther. The Crusader team can't do much against the smoke, so Sungwoo says he'll handle things inside. If the werewolf's last words were true, this anti-human group could become a huge threat. He figures they were smart to hit Yeongdeungpo Station while the Liberation Guild's main force was away on a raid. He needs to hunt them down and learn who they really are. As he enters the smoke, he summons the Abyss Drake for its first real fight. The whole station is buried in smoke from the breath of the abyss. Inside, two masked beastmen talk about how easy the attack was with the main force gone. The werewolf sneers that humans still underestimate how smart beastmen are. The hog monster says humans and beastmen can never live together. They're a new species now. Then he asks how much longer the ceremony will take. The werewolf says he doesn't know. Only the werebeasts who ate mage brains know the details, and they've made themselves the bosses. The hog complains because he ate an archer's brain, so he can't use many useful skills. The werewolf says he's still luckier than the ones being used as test subjects. While they talk, two huge glowing eyes appear in the windows, and the Drake skeleton suddenly tears them apart. Sungwoo steps inside and realizes he saw so few beasts outside because they were all gathered in the station. Then he sends the Drake back to the abyss. Since the beastmen mentioned a ritual, he figures they're collecting people in the station instead of killing them. With his stats, he can handle these werebeasts himself, so he plans to pick them off quietly one by one. Inside, a bull beastman is herding about 200 human players together. They were told to round up as many humans as possible, and another monster says the other floors are packed too. He asks if the bodies are for an experiment, but the bull says he doesn't know. He did overhear talk about pulling experience out of human bodies, and that shocks the other monster. The bull says they became monsters, so in this world, anything can happen. Then a notice appears. The Great Spirit and Death's response spells have activated. Minions and zombies rise from the abyss and rush the beastmen. A were-tiger lunges at the bull, but the bull blocks it with ease. His hooves flare up with fire, and he smashes through Sungwoo's skeleton minions, wiping several out. Realizing who's behind it, he shouts for Sungwoo to show himself. Sungwoo answers by driving his masterless sword through the bull's back. The monster calls him a coward for attacking from behind. Sungwoo shoots back that spraying gas on helpless people was cowardly too. Right after killing the bull, he revives him and adds him to his army. He gets 30,000 gold for killing a level 2 bull, which tells him the conscious werbeast must use a different leveling system. He spots a human still alive, but the gas will kill them soon, so he orders his minions to carry the unconscious survivors out of the gas. As Sungwoo leaves the station with them, the ground starts shaking. A warning pops up. A wide area summoning spell has been activated nearby. He doesn't know the full plan yet, but he knows he has to stop it fast. Sungwoo heads for the summoning circle. When he gets there, he sees a werebeast sitting in the middle of it. He figures this is the one who spread the gas. One werewolf recognizes him and tells the others they'll earn a huge reward if they bring his corpse to the researchers. Since a day has passed, Sungwoo summons the Grim Reaper's scythe and takes on the Lich King's power. He knows 5 minutes with the scythe is plenty to wipe out these werebeasts. His minions keep pouring out of the abyss and clashing with the beastmen. No matter how many fall, they just come back. The werebeast in the summoning circle laughs at the sight. He tells Sungwoo it's already too late. Then another notice appears. The summoning spell has finished activating. The werebeast rises and mocks them for streaming the raid online. Thanks to that, they learned exactly how many resources were spent to beat the boss. While he's bragging, one of Sungwoo's minions bites the werewolf mage and hurls him off the roof. Sungwoo steps in front of him and demands to know what he summoned. The werewolf just laughs and says they're all doomed. Yeondongpo Station starts breaking apart, and a notice warns that a raid boss is about to appear. At the same time, the prosecutor is still trying to recover with healing potions. He's angry at himself for being so overconfident. Han-ho and Jisoo see Sungwoo's minions bringing back the rescued survivors, and everyone cheers. The prosecutor realizes he was doing it all wrong. Building a huge group wasn't the answer. It wasn't that he couldn't survive alone. He just believed everyone else couldn't survive without him. As the breath of the abyss starts to clear, another warning appears. A wide area summoning spell has been activated. Jisoo and the others race toward the station. When they arrive, the building is collapsing, and a giant ogre gladiator drops down, the raid boss. The werewolf laughs, saying Sungwoo can't beat this boss after the fight he just had. Sungwoo only smirks and says they should have watched the live stream to the end before making that summoning circle. Then he reveals he has a boss monster too, and summons the Drake skeleton. It comes down with a clean punch to the ogre champion's face. The moment people see the skeleton, they start cheering. It gives them hope. The werewolf is stunned. He never thought Sungwoo would bring out a boss of his own. The prosecutor realizes that if he wants to keep up, he has to become even stronger than Sungwoo. The ogre champion roars in pain, and 2 of Sungwoo's minions slip out from behind the Drake and throw spears. The ogre claps once and destroys both of them. They were wiped out so completely that Sungwoo can't even revive them. This boss is on a whole different level. The Drake also can't use fire here, or it would roast the ogre too easily. Still, Sungwoo can control it, and that matters. The Drake grabs the ogre by the hair and kicks him with everything it has. The ogre fires back by grabbing the Drake's shoulders, but Righty jumps in and stabs its eye. The ogre slams to the ground, and the Drake pins it while Sungwoo's minions swarm in. They keep piling on until the boss finally goes down. Sungwoo reaches level 16 and earns 705,000 gold for killing the raid boss. He upgrades Death's Response. Now it summons 15 masterless zombies for 100 mana, lasts 20 minutes, and has a 30-minute cooldown. He's happy about the level and gold, but the real prize is the ogre itself. Now he can use it as a minion. The ogre already has a heroic rank bracelet, Protection of the Thunder God. It burns all mana for a huge attack boost, but after one use, the wearer loses mana for 24 hours. Since the ogre has no mana anyway, Sungwoo lets it keep the bracelet. Now both of his boss-class minions fight on the same side. The werewolf stares in total disbelief. Sungwoo tells him he's really good at making monsters join him. Then he drives the scythe into him and says the joking is over. Before Sungwoo can question him, the werewolf dies. Jisoo suggests their leaders planted something in them so they couldn't spill any information. The prosecutor is frustrated. It could have told them a lot about the group. Then Sungwoo remembers the memory fragments. He revives the werewolf and looks through his memories. Sungwoo thinks the system is clearly pushing them somewhere. First vampires, now werbeasts. In the memory, he sees the werewolf and other beastmen heading to Yeondongpo Station. The werewolf is watching the boss raid livestream, but another monster tells him to turn it off because they're almost there. Now Sungwoo understands why the werewolf never watched the ending. One of them mentions a rumor that their mission isn't only to attack the Liberation Guild. The other monster brushes it off and says he doesn't know what he's talking about. The werewolf asks what the higher-ups are really planning, but the other beast says their only job is hitting the Liberation Guild while they have the chance. Then the werewolf brings up Yui Island, where the mad scientists were trying to build a lab. That shocks Sungwoo, because it's where the second bad ending happened. The werewolf keeps talking about their plan, and just as he's about to reveal something important about the scientists, the other beast cuts him off. When Sungwoo comes out of the memory, the others ask what he learned. He says the beastmen attacked Yeondongpo Station to take control of Yui Island. He also found traces leading to Cinderim. Now he needs to learn what the group wants there. Cinderim Station is the main transfer point between Seoul Subway Lines 1 and 2. A lot of people used it every day, which means it's packed with humans, and perfect test subjects for the scientists. One mad scientist laughs, praising the monsters for setting up a lab near Yeondongpo Station. To him, it means endless test subjects, basically a dream. His assistant says they need more freezers and complains about the awful stink of rotting corpses. The scientist shrugs it off and tells him to get used to the spell. The mouse monster says that's easy for him to say. His sense of smell is much stronger. Annoyed, the scientist asks if he knows how bad he smells, then asks if he wants to become human again. The rat monster quickly says yes. He never chose to become a werebeast. Without even turning around, the scientist says he should volunteer as a test subject for the head researcher. The mouse starts shaking and nervously asks if he's serious. The scientist laughs and says he's only joking. Still, he says the rat should think about it, since were-rats are treated like the lowest class among werebeasts. Then a dog werebeast rushes in, saying a dragon is outside tearing buildings apart. The scientist looks annoyed and asks if the dog has been taking drugs, but the dog frantically shakes his head. Realizing it's real, the scientist orders the dog to take him to the dragon. As the scientist and the werebeasts rush out with buffs on them, one says their Yeondongpo raid failed. When they finally face the drake, they realize just how huge it is. The scientist nearly faints. He never expected to see something like a real dinosaur. Sungwoo's party charges in with the drake, and the scientist recognizes them from the Yui Island raid. Knowing he can't fight that thing, he turns to run and orders the dog to stall them while the others pack up. As they hurry down the stairs, the were-rat suddenly stops. The scientist yells, and the rat says he smells something familiar. The scientist snaps at him to move. They still have a lot to pack. Once they start moving again, the rat suddenly senses danger. He jumps in just in time, saving the scientist from flying boxes. Then Sungwoo appears right behind them. He says the delivery was wrong, so he's here for a refund. The scientist tries to play dumb, so Sungwoo calls in the giant orc and reminds the scientist he sent that monster after him. He scans the lab and spots both human and monster bodies. He guessed part of it from the werewolf's memory fragments, but now he sees they're even worse than he thought. He asks the scientist if he's ashamed that his sick hobby got exposed. The scientist snaps, insisting they're trying to improve the human race. He rants about making a superior humanity, so Sungwoo shuts him up with a shot to the leg. The rat tries to help him up, but the scientist jams him with an experimental serum to turn him into a stronger beast. The rat's body swells with power. Sungwoo quickly uses the Shadow King ring to summon a clone. Both of them fire crossbows at it. The rat tears through the clone, and Sungwoo realizes its attack power jumped a lot. But then the orc boss minion crushes it underfoot, killing it on the spot. Sungwoo gets 13,000 gold for killing a mutant were-rat. The scientist, still on the floor, tries to inject himself. Before he can, Sungwoo slices off one of his arms. He warns that if he tries anything else, he'll start cutting lower. Foaming at the mouth, the scientist admits he sent the rat to stall for time so he could inject himself. As he dies, he says his colleagues will turn Sungwoo into a fine test subject. Sungwoo just smiles and says he doesn't need torture to get answers. He'll revive him as a minion and read his memories. But when he tries to resurrect him, a message says, living beings can't be revived. The scientist was faking his death. Mad, Sungwoo hits him right where it hurts. The scientist screams and finally breaks, offering all his inventions if Sungwoo lets him live. Sungwoo is done listening and stabs him. Then he revives the scientist and checks his memory fragments. In the memory, the scientist is sitting there when a man tells him it's time to earn his doctorate and become head of the whole division. Sungwoo realizes this is the man behind the wandering merchants. The man orders the scientist to make large amounts of gas and asks if he can handle it alone. The scientist eagerly says yes, he invented the poison gas, and asks if he should make enough to release across all of Yeondongpo. The man says they likely won't need that much. They only need to wipe out the small fry, while the werebeast sorcerers teleport in the 3 captured raid bosses. Sungwoo is stunned to hear they captured 3 raid bosses. The scientist questions whether the werebeast they caught can really be trusted with something this important. The mysterious man tells him to watch his mouth. The plan can't work without them. He also mentions 4 beasts even stronger than the top-ranked players, saying they'll be needed later. Sungwoo can't understand how beasts could be stronger than top players. They never drew cards and lost so much time, so that shouldn't be possible. Then it hits him. The werebeasts aren't human. They may level up in their own way, different from players. On top of that, the beasts and the scientist got special quests too. Sungwoo knows those quests can make someone much stronger, much faster. Hearing how strong they are, the scientist says he wants to dissect them. The man reminds him their goal isn't to wipe out all players, just kill some of the ants. The scientist jumps up, thrilled, and says humans can evolve into a whole new species. Sungwoo figures this must connect to the scientist's exclusive quest. A white werewolf walks in and sees them talking. Sungwoo recognizes him from an earlier memory. The scientist says the werewolf is one of the 4 beasts and a grand sorcerer, but the werewolf says he isn't a mage. He walks over while the scientist hides behind the boss, saying people only think that because he carries a staff. The scientist is shocked that the werewolf knows his name. Then the werewolf hits him with a flash of light, sending him into panic. He tells the scientist not to worry. Since they're traveling together, they'll be alerted if either one is in danger. But he actually touched him to use psychometry, letting him see Sungwoo. Sungwoo is shocked the werewolf noticed him at all. The werewolf already knows about him and wonders how he found the Cinderum branch so fast. Sungwoo realizes it must be one of the werewolf's spells. The werewolf looks straight at him and asks if he can really read the memories of the dead. Sungwoo says the Cinderum branch was empty and asks if the real base is somewhere else. The werewolf tells him to leave Yeongdongpo before this fight goes any further. They'll win in the end. Sungwoo is shaken, but he still wants to learn as much as he can from this beast. He asks who they are, and the werewolf gives him one name, Evolutionary Society. Then the werewolf uses a skill on him and says that name will soon bring humanity to ruin. Sungwoo comes out of the memory and realizes the enemy can use psychometry too. He recalls the boss mentioning 3 raid bosses in a row. They may change plans after the first one failed, but he still can't relax. Righty hands him a map he found with 3 marked spots, A, B, and C. The first is Yui Island, the second is Sosa in Bucheon, and the third is Byomji Station in Anyang. All the arrows point to Yui Island, so Sungwoo thinks that's where the raid bosses were being gathered. He already stopped Drake before they could capture him, and also took out the Ogre Champion, so only one boss is left. And there's still another Evolutionary Society branch. Back at Yeongdongpo Station, everyone is rebuilding. When Manhwa comes to ask about the mission, Sungwoo tells her to gather info on raid bosses in Bucheon and Anyang. He plans to discuss the rest with the prosecutor and finds him buried in work. The prosecutor looks up and asks if he learned anything. Sungwoo says another attack is coming to Yeongdongpo, and the group behind it is the Evolution Society. The prosecutor says he's never heard that name and asks why they're targeting them. Sungwoo suspects they're the corrupted ones from the Yui Island raid, though he still has no solid proof. The prosecutor slams his desk and says proof doesn't matter, they attacked first. If they're tied to the second ending, they have to be stopped. Realizing they may be an even bigger threat, the prosecutor asks for Sungwoo's help. He wants him to protect Yeongdongpo, since he's the only one who can resist the gas, and offers him 1 million gold. Sungwoo wonders if he's being used, but the prosecutor isn't his enemy, so he agrees. He was going after the Evolution Society anyway, and now he'll get paid well for it. After the meeting, he steps out and sees the other leaders getting friendly with his group. Han-ho, though, isn't happy. Everyone seems to be trying to impress Jisoo. Then Han-ho gets a notice from the community app. The rankings changed again. The prosecutor dropped once more, and a player named Dr. 000 is now 3rd at level 15. Sungwoo wonders if that doctor is the head of the Evolutionary Society. He already knows that reaching level 15 triggers a first awakening. He isn't sure whether only 5-star classes get it, but the doctor has clearly gone through his already. That means Sungwoo needs to level up fast if he wants to grow stronger. Jisoo comes back after talking with the other guild leaders. When Sungwoo asks how it went, she says it was just awkward. Then Han-ho gets a little dramatic and asks if Sungwoo really thinks she'd switch sides. He says she cried her eyes out when Sungwoo disappeared. At the same time, the blindfolded guy assigned from the Liberation Guild gets knocked out after opening one of the jars his minions were carrying. The jars, made by the scientist, hold a deadly gas called Breath of the Abyss that leaks out when opened. Sungwoo warns Minhum not to touch them again. The guy points to himself and declares that he's officially their liaison now. He says he squeezed them into his busy schedule because they're such important allies, though really, he got demoted and stuck doing grunt work. He adds that his guild is gathering the information Sungwoo wanted. As they head toward the other guild members, Sungwoo asks Han-ho if Jisoo was really that upset when he died. Han-ho leans in and says she really did cry a little, but he says the only time he cried was when Righty died. That makes Sungwoo realize that if both he and Righty were in danger, Han-ho would probably save Righty first. Meanwhile, the prosecutor keeps thinking about the recent boss raid and his talk with Sungwoo. He knows he rushed in too hard, going straight for the boss without clearing the lower minions first. If word gets out, his image could take a major hit, especially now that many strong players admire Sungwoo and Righty more. Then he receives a special promotion quest. Train 30 Crusaders to level 10 to unlock his first awakening. He knows he has to clear it fast if he wants to stay ahead of the other 5-star players. But after losing 6 Crusaders in the last raid, he only has 14 left, so the mission won't be easy. Even so, he's set on seeing it through and getting stronger. He decides to hunt with his guild and raise new Crusaders. He gathers everyone and says they'll start hunting tomorrow. Manhwa says rebuilding the station will take a lot of people and time, so this isn't the best moment to go hunting. The prosecutor pushes back, saying they have to move fast to keep up with the other players and prepare for the next attack. He says the MC will handle the Evolutionary Society and serve as their guild's guard dog. Then the prosecutor gives a loud pep talk that lifts everyone's spirits. Meanwhile, the blindfolded guy introduces the MC to an informant who has been tracking what happened at Sosa and Byomgi stations. He says an ogre boss appeared in Sosa, but after that, all news about it vanished, like someone is hiding the truth. Meanwhile, Byumgi Station is covered in black fog and crawling with zombies. Sheng-woo looks at Han-ho, who seems oddly enlightened. He tells him the town is safe and Tai-shung is keeping the safety zone stable. The MC already cleared the bosses on Yui Island and at Sosa, so only the one at Byumgi Station remains. The posts about that station tell people to stay away because of the gas. The MC thinks it's tied to the Evolutionary Society's Breath of the Abyss tests. There's a good chance they have a lab there. He calls over the blindfolded guy and asks if he can borrow a helicopter. Somewhere else, players are desperately trying to hold off a zombie horde at the last barricade. They fire at the swarm, trying to protect the shelter, but the bullets barely slow the zombies down. The players know they have to stop them here, or the shelter will be overrun. They decide to split the horde and strike. They step in front of the zombies and try to lure them away. As the zombies rush in, Jisoo shows up and cuts down several at once with a heavy attack. The MC follows right behind her, sending his ogre boss crashing through the horde. He has activated the bracelet, giving the boss massive attack power. When the others spot the skeletons, they're relieved. The necromancer came to help. Back at base, everyone is still waiting for the MC's group to return. Han-ho comes back grinning and announces that their hero has arrived, meaning himself, of course. He says he and the MC handled everything, but Han-ho's dad ignores that and asks if he came back alone. Han-ho turns serious and says someone has to stay and guard the town since another attack could come anytime. The others figure he's been demoted. He adds that the safety zone needs gold to stay active, so he brought plenty to keep it running. He says they may think he got left behind, but he has proof of how much the MC cares about him. He opens a bag, and Righty pops out tied up with a rope, like Han-ho's own little Pokemon. After seeing Righty, everyone gets excited since they trust him way more than Han-ho. Meanwhile, at the university hospital, some kids peek at the MC through the door. They're amazed by him and call him a symbol of justice and truth. Jisoo watches the kids staring at them and feels glad they got there in time to save them. While she talks, the MC notices blood on her face and neck. She says she's used to the smell by now and just wipes it off with her coat. They've both been through life or death moments together, but they still haven't really talked much, and the MC realizes he barely knows her. He brings up her home and asks if she ever thinks about going back. She says her family is probably fine, so she doesn't plan to return. They weren't great people anyway, and she was glad to leave them behind. To her, life only got better after she left, until the apocalypse changed everything. The MC feels bad after hearing that, but he's also glad she won't be leaving them anytime soon. Then a man in a white coat slides the door open. He introduces himself as Min-seok An, apologizes for the wait, and says he's the leader here. As Sheng-woo shakes his hand and introduces himself, Min-seok says he already knows who he is. He knows Jisoo too, though her nickname isn't exactly flattering. Seeing her confusion, he says the kids really took to it and apologizes. Smiling, she says it's fine, but she really wants to know who started it. Whoever named her that is about to vanish. After bringing up their nicknames, the man says they need to leave. He explains that zombies have surrounded the area for 3 days, and they're running out of options. When Jisoo asks why they don't just escape, he says a local quest has trapped them, and everyone there got it. They leave the building, zombies hunt them. The longer they stay outside, the more come after them. With children and elders there, escape is too risky. The MC realizes this group has gotten too weak. They wanted to help people, but without a real plan, they can't handle this quest. The leader asks them to leave before midnight so they don't get dragged into this mess. Sung-woo looks him in the eyes, realizes he wants help, even while telling them to go. He says he's staying. They came to help this station. They thank them for being willing to help. The wife asks if the two of them want to share a room. At that, Jisoo's head practically bursts into flames, and both of them quickly ask for separate rooms. That night, the kids come by and ask if they can come in. Jisoo smiles and says they all can. The kids are thrilled to meet the necromancer and the red demon. One child asks the MC if he can show them a skeleton. Sung-woo knows exactly which one to bring out. He summons Righty, and all the kids instantly think he's cute. That night in bed, the MC thinks about the smiles on the kids' faces. He can't believe something like that still exists in this world. He gets a quest called Death Comes for the City. It says he can run from death or face it, but either way, death will follow. Once he goes outside, the zombies will hunt him. Then the quest suddenly gets harder because the system detected a player above level 15 nearby, and the MC jumps out of bed. At the same time, Jisoo comes in and says something is happening all across the city. With her sharp senses, she feels vibrations from outside. It sounds like zombies have surrounded the building. A new alert warns that the zombies will now hunt all survivors, inside or outside. Min-seok comes to the MC and says this has never happened before. The zombies only hunted people outside. Sheng-woo says the quest got harder because stronger players are nearby. It feels like the system is playing with them. He starts summoning his minions and says it's time to fight back against the system. The leader suggests moving the non-combatants to the roof. They can deal with zombies, but if ghouls appear, they'll be in real trouble. Ghouls are a different kind of flesh-eating monster, and here they're treated as a higher class of undead than zombies. While they get ready to fight, the leader's kids run up to him. He asks why they're here when they should be on the roof. The children cry and ask if the zombies are going to eat them. He promises to protect them and says they don't need to worry. They have the necromancer with them too. The kids wish them luck before leaving. The fighters on the first floor are struggling to keep the zombies out. They stack chairs and tables into a huge barricade, but it doesn't look strong enough. The leader estimates there are over 200 zombies in the swarm. As they close in, the MC realizes the space is too tight for some of his stronger skills. He tells everyone to move out. Fighting in such a cramped space is too hard. The leader trusts him, and they get ready to head outside. But the zombies suddenly smash through the glass and flood in. He can't use corpse explosion either, since they don't count as corpses. Instead, he summons beast skeletons and gives them shields, creating a strong defensive combo. The zombies hit them hard, but they stay standing thanks to the synergy, even with a 30% stat drop. Zombie wounds can infect players, but his minions are immune. With their shields up, his minions manage to hold the horde back. The leader cuts down zombies with his Pressure of Valor skill and carves through more using Tornado Blade. The MC sees how well he fights and figures he may be at least a 4-star knight. He orders his shielded minions to fall back, then blows up dead zombies to clear the entrance. He quickly realizes he has to be careful. There are kids inside. If he keeps using explosions, he could wreck the building too. More zombies pile up outside, frustrating the group. So they move outside to fight with more room. Now free to use his magic, the MC summons his Drake, and it starts tearing through zombies on all sides. The MC tells Minsock to get everyone off the roof now that the way is open. He says 2 buses are waiting in the underground parking lot. Then the MC gets a notice that one of his minions has been destroyed. He's good at handling swarms, but this is too much. He wants to save Death's Response and Grim Reaper's Scythe in case something worse shows up. He turns to Jisoo and says it's her turn. She'd been waiting for that. She puts on the purifying mask Mr. Kim made for her and charges in, slicing through zombies. Watching her, the MC realizes she's excellent in close combat. Before long, the buses pull up and the survivors start getting on. Then an alert warns them that the survivors' scent is drawing in the ghouls. Minsock tells the MC that ghouls are much stronger and faster than zombies, and they go after children first, so the kids must be protected. He says one once smashed his car window and took his youngest son. Sungwoo pats his shoulder and promises it won't happen again. They move out with the buses in the center while the Drake and skeletons guard them. They're forced to go slow, and Sungwoo knows the only way out is to clear the quest. But the area is far too quiet. They pass a few corpses and realize others were attacked here too. As they move, Jisoo quietly tells the MC that something is following them. The other players panic, afraid it's the ghouls. A ghoul suddenly jumps them. Jisoo tries to warn a player, but she's too late. The ghoul kills him and rushes straight for the bus. Jisoo cuts it down with her sword before it can reach the children's bus. The MC realizes how fast the ghouls are. Only Jisoo can react in time. Then more ghouls appear, along with another wave of zombies. Minsock stares at the monsters ahead, eyes wide. He asks Sungwoo whether players keep their minds after being turned into skeletons. The MC realizes he's asking to be turned into a skeleton if he dies. Just as the leader starts to ask a favor, the ghouls strike again. Everyone rushes to protect the children, the ghouls' main target. Even with the Drake, the MC struggles against the ghouls because they move so fast and so wildly. A few of them leap onto the bus, but the werebeast skeletons bring them down. The ghouls hit back and start tearing the skeletons apart. Minsock blasts one ghoul with a spell, but while he's focused on that, another sneaks up behind him. He barely blocks the attack with his shield. At the same time, the MC revives a ghoul and makes it his minion. He's surprised by how well they regenerate. He tells the leader he'll handle it now and summons the Reaper's Scythe. He wanted to save it, but things are getting too dangerous. Using the Lich King's power, he starts turning the ghouls into his own minions. He also notices Minsock can really fight. His attacks are smart, and he always aims for the weakest spots. His style is rougher, but in pure combat skill, he seems about on the prosecutor's level. With Sungwoo's Drake and Ogre Boss, they manage to hold the horde back. The MC realizes they're only standing their ground because everyone is fighting for their families, and he knows he has to get even stronger. Even with all of them fighting, one ghoul still gets inside a bus. It goes straight for Minsock's wife and children. An old man steps in to protect them, but the ghoul stabs him and kills him instantly. Minsock tries to use Wall of Bravery, but it's still on cooldown. Refusing to lose anyone else, he throws himself at the ghoul and shoves it down the stairs. He kills it, but he's badly hurt too. Sungwoo turns to grab a potion, but Minsock stops him and says it's too late. With his last breath, he asks the MC to protect his family and to use his body as a minion. The MC then gets an exclusive quest. Minsock died in battle without finishing his duty. He can command Minsock's body, but only if he honors the man's final wish and protects his family. If he does, he'll gain the knight's absolute loyalty. He can also refuse and let him die. The MC is angry with the system for giving him another quest like the one he got after the professor died on campus. With no real choice, he accepts Minsock's final request. Minsock finds himself floating in empty darkness. He wonders if this is the afterlife. A Grim Reaper appears before him and says it isn't. Not yet. Minsock is crushed that he may never see his family again. All he wanted was to protect them, but this world took everything from him. The Grim Reaper tells him the MC is turning him into undead and will protect his family. Then he tells Minsock to accept death and forget it all, because now it's time to brokenhearted. Minsock begs to keep his memories so he can still protect his family. The Reaper says someone stronger will protect them now. But Minsock still can't let go. He's the head of the family, and protecting them is his duty. So the Grim Reaper grants his wish and turns him into a skeleton knight with his memories intact. Sungwoo gets a message saying Minsock has been revived as a Death Knight. Even more shocking, he kept his memories, making him one of the strangest undead Sungwoo has ever seen. He wants to ask a lot of questions, but there are still plenty of ghouls left, so they jump back into the fight. As the battle goes on, Jisoo cuts through ghouls with her flaming sword. Another player calls out that they need help keeping the ghouls away from the buses. She realizes they've pushed too deep into the enemy side. When she runs back, zombies and ghouls close in around her. One ghoul gets into the bus and lunges at the wife, but Minsok cuts it down at once. He realizes the ghouls fear him because he's a higher form of undead. He can also feel the emotions of the skeletons. He keeps cutting ghouls down and calls them weaklings. The other players watch in shock. He looks nothing like the other skeletons, far stronger. When he sees some ghouls trying to run, he uses his spell to trap them. Sungwoo thinks sending him against the ghouls was the right call. Minsok feels odd fighting without a shield and starts thinking about getting one. Meanwhile, the MC checks his stats. Level 12, Death Knight class, with 2 skills, one that summons chains to bind enemies, and one that grants lifesteal. Jisoo walks up and says they've wiped out all the ghouls. Then she notices the Death Knight and asks what it is. Sungwoo awkwardly says he'll explain later. They finally stop to rest, but the MC knows they need to reach Byumgai Station as soon as possible. Their enemies have messed with them long enough, now it's their turn. When they finally reach the station, the black smoke is even thicker. Sungwoo asks Minsok if he wants to tell his family what happened, but Minsok says he's not ready. There are more urgent problems right now. As they move on, Jisoo comes running back, coughing. She says her mask is useless against the smoke ahead. Sungwoo realizes he can't take her any farther, so he goes on with the Death Knight and Righty since the smoke doesn't affect them. Inside, the place is quiet, and he doesn't see anyone guarding it. He figures they can't post guards here because of the smoke. Even so, he still can't tell how they're keeping the raid bosses locked up. He guesses they use some kind of magic to seal it without killing it. The Death Knight tells him to move faster. They need to finish the quest quickly. Sungwoo asks if he's worried about his family. He says Jisoo is protecting them. Sungwoo also has to wait until midnight because Reaper's Scythe is still on cooldown. They're heading into the enemy's hidden base, and he knows things could turn ugly fast. Farther in, they find a note from the Ministry of Interior and Safety Emergency Action Committee. The Death Knight recognizes it as a government seal and wonders if this group works for them. The MC is shocked and trusts the government even less. They keep going deeper inside when a notice suddenly appears. The Ghoul King raid boss has spawned. The Death Knight sees that its arms and legs have already been cut off. Then they get another warning. An abyss rupture is forming nearby. Portals open, and zombies can now pour in without end. Sungwoo finally understands where all the zombies have been coming from. As they wonder who set this up, a voice speaks behind them. It's the doctor, and he's not alone. He says they released the gas when the quest level rose, which led the test subject right to them. Then he offers a deal instead of a fight. He says Sungwoo has a class tied to death, while he studies death itself. The MC asks what he means by that. The doctor says he studies abyss energy as part of an experiment in human evolution. He believes humanity has to break its current shell and evolve beyond itself. The MC realizes everything is connected. The doctor says that by capturing the Ghoul King and experimenting with death, they're getting closer to the so-called happy ending the system set up. That means the Evolution Society has a prophecy stone too. The doctor asks Sungwoo to join them, saying it would help him too. Sungwoo shuts him down right away. He asks if the doctor really expects him to become the game's puppet and work for him. He's sickened by the human experiments and poison gas. To him, this isn't for the greater good. They're just sacrificing everyone else to save themselves. The doctor lets out a sigh and says that in the real world, he could have shown him the wonders of science. But this isn't that world. Once he sees Sungwoo won't budge, the doctor tells one of his men to release the Ghoul King. Sungwoo warns him to stop and sends his minions in. But before the skeletons can reach the man, he finishes the pose and triggers a holy power skill. It cuts the MC's skeleton stats by 60%. Sungwoo realizes the power feels like Han Ho's. These people are all priests. Since holy power hard counters his undead army, he switches to his crossbow and fires at them. But the arrows stop before they can hit. The girl on their side uses telekinesis and flings them back. He quickly crafts a shield and blocks the returning arrows. The Death Knight rushes forward, but Seong-guk hits him with holy pressure. The attack shatters his shield and slams him into a room. The girl warns him to be careful. Her test tank is in there. Hearing that, the Death Knight looks around and spots a child's shoe inside one of the large tanks filled with people. When he realizes his child is in that tank, the Death Knight snaps. He lashes out with his chains and strangles 2 of them to death. He says they don't deserve to live. The group tries to burn him down with holy power, but Sungwoo wraps him in armor. That triggers a teamwork bonus that blocks all debuffs on him. The group panics when they see their spells no longer work on the Death Knight. He's still taking damage, but the spell can't knock him back anymore. With their powers failing, the Death Knight cuts them down. At the same time, the MC's ghouls mop up the rest. The girl scientist is stunned. By her math, they were supposed to have the advantage. The Death Knight walks up to her and asks if she's the one controlling that tank. She tries to stop him, but nothing works. He keeps coming and demands to know why she used his child in her experiments. Once he's close enough, he kills her with one swing. The MC earns 12,000 gold. As his allies fall, the doctor plays his last card and tries to run. He sends out a strange tree creature that roots the Death Knight and Righty in place. Sungwoo knows he has to end this now before the doctor pulls out anything else. He uses his Lich King skill and cuts through all the roots. The doctor throws a flash grenade, but the light doesn't affect the MC. He drives his Grim Reaper scythe into the doctor. As he dies, the doctor says Sungwoo picked a good class, one that can survive alone. But his teammates aren't so lucky. Then he reveals he already released an army of zombies and ghouls outside. The Death Knight is furious and wants to tear him apart. Even then, the doctor keeps rambling about making new weapons from the system. At the same time, the Ghoul King begins to heal. The doctor laughs and asks if they'll still fight after losing everyone around them. Hearing that, Sungwoo tells the Death Knight to end him. Minsa cuts off his head in one strike. Then a system message appears. This doctor was only a clone. The MC quickly pulls out his phone and opens the community forum. The 5th-ranked player's spot has gone blank because it was the doctor's clone. They realize he has 5 more clones in the top 20 alone. That's how his group grew so fast and worked in multiple places at once. While Sungwoo is thinking it over, the Death Knight snaps him back to reality. They have a bigger problem, the Ghoul King. Outside, Jisoo finishes off another wave of zombies and ghouls with help from the Wandering Drake and the Ogre Champion. The players start wondering if it's finally over, but Jisoo senses more monsters coming. That sends them into a panic. They've already killed so many zombies. Jisoo knows she can't let anyone here die. Sungwoo trusted her to protect everyone outside. He's still stronger than she is, but she's doing everything she can to catch up. Without hesitation, she charges straight into the middle of the horde. Meanwhile, the skeletons keep falling because the MC isn't there to revive them. Then one of the recently fallen minions rises again. Jisoo sees it and figures the MC must have activated his Lich skill. She uses that opening to push the zombies back. The players call her Sungwoo's girlfriend and say they're the strongest couple in Korea. Hearing that, Jisoo gets a little shy. Even so, she keeps cutting down zombies and ghouls on her own. Some players spot ghouls heading for the buses. They break through the defense line and rush toward the children. Right before they reach the buses, the Death Knight steps in and wipes them out with his chains. He goes to check on his kids and asks if they're okay. They know his voice right away and ask why he turned into a skeleton. He pauses, then says the necromancer made him into one. The kids get excited and say they want to become skeletons too. To them, the MC is a symbol of justice. At the same time, the MC meets Jisoo. He says he never worried about the outside because he knew she had it handled, though she must be tired after fighting so much. She looks at him and says he must be tired too after fighting the Ghoul King with the Death Knight. That makes the MC think back to it. They didn't really fight the Ghoul King at all. The boss was too injured and drained to put up a fight, so it died without attacking once. Still, to impress her, he says it was a brutal battle. Then a new message appears. Chapter 2 of the main story has ended unexpectedly. The game announces a balance patch and congratulates the players for surviving this long. It also lists raid boss kills. Gang Sokhan leads with 4, while Sungwoo is second with 3. The system praises those results and reveals that the Korean server now has the 4th highest average level in the world. Because of that, a hidden chapter will open for the rest of the time limit. They also get a warning. Huge monster armies led by powerful warlords will appear across the Korean server, and the event won't end until those warlords are defeated. The Death Knight realizes finishing the quest early wasn't really a blessing. Sungwoo stays hopeful. He knows the game has an ending because he saw it in the Prophecy Stone, and this is just another step toward it. He wonders if the system is really trying to challenge a necromancer in a massive war, because if it is, he'll crush everyone. Then he smiles at his allies and says it's time to go since the quest is done. Back at the shelter, Han-ho isn't happy about the new notifications. As he cuts down minions, he grumbles that the system is just trying to wipe out Koreans. When the goblins start piling up, he falls back into the shelter. Everyone braces as the goblins keep pounding the barrier. Han-ho's dad asks why he ran after bragging he could kill 1,000 goblins alone. Annoyed, Han-ho says he only pulled back because of the others. Really, he just couldn't stand the goblins' smell. While they wait, the goblins keep wearing down the shield. Kyung-soo tells everyone to get ready and hold formation. They can't depend only on the MC anymore. The goblins keep hammering the shield. Han-ho suddenly thanks his dad for everything he's done for him. His dad thinks they're about to die, so he wipes his tears and says they'll die together. Han-ho stares at him, confused, and says, "Nobody's dying. Goblins are nothing to him." The second the shelter wall breaks, he throws his dagger and kills one. With his force field up, he bursts into wild laughter and charges the goblins, dreaming of becoming a legend. Han-ho goes full Superman and takes on the whole goblin army alone. He gets carried away and starts seeing himself as Korea's biggest badass. When the goblins try to surround him, he spins and blasts them all back. Sergeant Kim is impressed watching him fight, but Han-ho's dad feels very differently. He's embarrassed watching his son tear through enemies like a demon. Honestly, he's not wrong. Han-ho really does look like a monster. While he's slaughtering goblins without mercy, he notices Righty helping him. A moment later, the MC arrives on his Drake. Han-ho is glad to see them, but that fades when he spots the Death Knight. He worries the guy might take his place on the team. Later, back at base, the team talks about the problems that started with the new chapter. Safe zones are weaker now, monsters are stronger, and survivor groups all over the country are struggling. The Liberation Guild is also fighting thousands of orcs. Kyung-soo tells the MC they still need his help. Seung-woo agrees. They should help, since the Liberation Guild is their only real ally. If the Evolution Society attacks now, it could be a disaster, though they also seem busy dealing with monsters. Sergeant Kim arrives with news. They've found the goblin base. He estimates the goblins' root point lines up with the mountain. While other regions are facing stronger enemies like orcs, their town only has goblins. Yeongdeung-po and other areas have to deal with red orcs. He also figures about 3,000 monsters are ready to attack. Kim says they should be careful if there's no urgent reason to fight yet. But Seung-woo says the goal isn't just to survive. They want to see how much gold and experience they can get from these goblins. Kyung-soo likes the plan, but he isn't sure how they'll hunt that many monsters. Seung-woo points at the group and says they'll be the ones killing the monsters, not him. He wants them to use this chance to level up. That night, 2 goblins stand guard at a factory in the mountain. The MC slips behind them and kills both in an instant. He learns the goblin leaders are all inside the factory, which makes things easier. He won't have to hunt them down one by one, and even weak goblins are dangerous under a warlord. His plan is simple. Kill the leaders so the goblins can't coordinate, then let his team clean up the rest. He summons the ogre champion. It slams the warehouse with a brutal attack. The strike wipes out the goblin leaders in one blow. But one goblin lord survives and rushes in. The Death Knight tells the MC he hasn't seen a goblin lord in ages and asks to take this one. Seung-woo pulls out the Reaper's scythe and gives him the go-ahead. The Death Knight makes quick work of the goblin warlord. After that, the MC revives the dead goblins and turns them into his own army. Back in town, the players build a barricade. Kyung-soo tells them these are just leftover goblins that already lost their leaders. The players soon notice the goblins are going down way too easily. That boosts their confidence, and they start wiping them out. Without their leaders, the goblins are hit with several debuffs, leaving them much weaker. The MC wants everyone in town to level up. Most of them are still weak, and that puts more pressure on the whole community. Even with everyone trying, the difficulty keeps rising. That's why the MC sent Han-ho back to town. He knows even weak or injured players still have a chance to grow stronger. Some are even helping kids and the elderly level up, bringing the whole town closer to survival. One kid finally kills a goblin and starts to cry. In the end, they wipe out the goblin army, and Seung-woo gets a notice for being the top contributor in the battle. Every player also gets bonus gold based on what they did. Seung-woo watches it all from a rooftop. He admits fighting alone is still easier, but he doesn't mind how things are now either. The next day, he tells Kyung-soo he expects everyone to reach at least level 8 before he comes back. He says he can't stay and protect them forever. They all need to work hard and survive on their own. Just then, Han-ho tells him the helicopter has arrived. His deal with the Liberation Guild was only temporary, but he's still willing to help in this disaster. The next morning, buses full of crusaders move out together. The prosecutor asks his scout how many monsters have shown up. The scout tells him to wait a moment. They're almost at the northern border. He sends up a magic drone to check ahead. From what he sees, about 200 trolls are coming. He tries to look closer, but a troll spots the drone and smashes it with a rock. Manhwa says they should destroy the bridge since thousands of orcs are also coming from Gimpo. They can't fight both armies at once. But the prosecutor wants to take on the trolls first, so his crusaders can level up, even knowing how risky it is. He needs them at level 10 to clear the exclusive quest, and he sees no other way to close the gap with the MC. Manhwa follows the order and calls in every guard she can, leaving only the minimum at the station. Then the blindfolded guy walks in and says the helicopter carrying the MC is almost here. Manhwa is relieved. She thinks with him there, they can take on both the orcs and the trolls together. But the blindfolded guy says the MC wants them to meet him where the orc army is. Confused, Manhwa asks if he even explained what was happening there. He says the MC just wanted to collect some bones. As the helicopter hovers above, Seung-woo drops his minions from the sky, and they tear through the trolls with ease. Along with the Drake and the orc boss, the MC now has the Ghoul King too. The blindfolded guy and the prosecutor can only stare as Seung-woo's army makes the trolls look tiny. He keeps killing trolls and turning them into skeletons. The prosecutor wonders if even after awakening, he'll ever surpass him. Players from other groups watch from a distance, wondering if the Liberation Guild called in the necromancer. They're live streaming the whole thing. The MC's group earns another achievement for having over 20 giant minions, cutting damage from small and medium enemies by 30%. Then the troll warlord finally shows up. The group watches him charge at the MC's army and wonders if even Seung-woo can handle something that strong. But Seung-woo's ogre champion and the rest of his minions overwhelm the troll chief almost immediately. The troll warlord can't even fight back and is completely crushed. The Death Knight lands the final blow and kills the troll boss. Seung-woo revives the troll chief and adds him to his army, then tells the group to move. They still need to meet the Liberation Guild. The prosecutor thanks the MC for the help. He had hoped to use him to buy time and get stronger, but now it's clear the MC is even stronger than before. He tells him a huge orc army is coming, and there's only one bridge they can use. He wants to show his strength in the next battle. They've already sealed the other routes with items and other methods. The prosecutor knows the whole Korean server will be watching. If he looks weak here, he's finished. so he decides to take the lead. As word about the MC spreads through the forums, many players want to join the raid. They see him as the future and want to help however they can. Meanwhile, the Liberation Guild is struggling to protect its reputation as smaller guilds spread news of his feats online. One informant tells Manhwa that a survivor group wants to join the raid. They have about 200 people, and 5 buses are on the way. Manhwa thinks they should accept them. She wants to bring them to their side, build up the raid force, and convince them to work with the guild. Then she heads into the meeting. The prosecutor asks her to brief everyone on the plan. She explains that their guild has blocked most of the bridge and is tracking the orcs with magic drones. Xiongwu notices every commander is staring at him. Even Manhwa admits he's the strongest person there, and everyone is waiting to see what he does next. Then a crusader reports that a survivor from the west has arrived, a woman who flew in on a strange beast. Xiongwu thinks they've only been using helicopters because of the wyverns, so he wonders what kind of beast she rode in on. The prosecutor stands and says they should hear her out before continuing the meeting. When they meet her, the MC realizes she's riding a griffin. She assures them the griffin won't hurt anyone, then asks the prosecutor for help. A large group of Chinese players recently landed on Ganghwa Island. Xiongwu is stunned since he hasn't run into players from another server before. Gyodong Island is a small island connected to Ganghwa Island by land. The girl explains that the players on Ganghwa made a safety zone on Gyodong Island. Since the island was small, it was easier to secure after clearing the monsters. They knew strong guilds existed on the mainland, but chose to stay hidden. The MC thinks that makes sense. With monsters and looters overrunning the mainland, a small island was safer and made it easier for everyone there to work together. She goes on to say pirates landed on their island a few hours earlier. They came in by the dozens on fishing boats. The island players tried to fight them off but lost. The prosecutor asks how many pirates there are. She guesses around 1,000 based on the boats, but says there could be more. The leaders begin to worry this could be a full invasion from the Chinese server. Manhwa says that's unlikely. The pirates are probably low-level players looking for easy gold. Xiongwu says people like that are even more dangerous than monsters because they attack when players are at their weakest. They realize they have to deal with the pirates, but the orc army is still coming too. One commander points out that the pirates could move upstream and attack at the same time as the orcs. After hearing that, the prosecutor says they should focus on the orcs first. The orcs will likely keep the pirates from crossing to the mainland, and they'll send scouts to watch the river. The girl loses hope when they tell her they can't go to the island right now. Then Xiongwu raises his hand and offers another plan. He says one group should take out the pirates while the other fights the orcs. After finishing the pirates, the first group can come back and hit the orcs from behind. He wants to handle the pirates himself. The prosecutor looks at him and asks if he can really do it alone. He says his skills work better alone, so going solo suits him. He also wants to learn about the Chinese players, since this likely won't be the last time they meet. After the pirates, he'll deal with the orc leader at the rear. He asks the girl to take him there on her griffin so they can arrive without being noticed. At last, the MC leaves with the girl. She says they need to wait by the shore until nightfall because the pirates use huge birds to scout the area. That night, some pirates light a lantern on the island and grumble that the expedition team kept them away from the prisoners. One of them smirks, saying their turn will come when they invade the Korean mainland. They're happy they left mainland China, figuring they can earn more gold by raiding towns in weaker countries. While they talk, one of them hears something. As a human hunter, his senses are sharper than the others. Out of nowhere, the MC appears behind them with his sword and cuts them down with ease. He leaves one alive because he wants answers later. The Death Knight binds the survivor with chains while the others clear out the nearby pirates. The man wakes up with a griffin staring right into his face. The girl tells him not to panic. She'll feed him to the griffin later. Xiongwu leans in and says he has a spell that can read a dead person's memories. So the man has 2 choices: talk now or die and give up everything anyway. Meanwhile, the leader is enraged when he hears about the escapees. At the same time, he sends one of the giant birds out to find whoever caused this. As the birds spread out, the captain smirks. Sure, the enemy can't stay hidden on the island for long. Then one of his men reports that the missing pirates were found dead on the ship. The captain is furious, wondering who dared dump the bodies there instead of tossing them into the sea. He starts to think someone is trying to provoke them. As they run out, the man says it wasn't just one ship. Another one nearby is filled with bodies too. Suddenly, that ship erupts in a massive explosion. The captain and his crew have no idea what is happening. Then they hear others choking after breathing in some kind of black gas. One man says it's a dark sorcerer's gas. It paralyzes anyone who inhales it. Captain warns there may be more bombs on the ship, so they need to leave. They jump into their cars and race for the bridge. Through his birds, the captain keeps getting reports from all over the island. He decides the Koreans launched a full attack. Furious, he thinks they were caught off guard by biochemical weapons. He knows they must abandon the island and set up a new base for the main fleet, all for their general's plan. As they start crossing the bridge, a giant minion blocks the way. The captain stares in shock. He never expected monsters like this on the Korean server. These pirates came from China's second server. Because of China's huge population, there are 3 servers total. Sungwoo realizes they're only the advance force, sent to prepare a base for the main fleet. The captain gets out and orders his men to attack. As they step out, the MC summons all his minions and zombies. At the same time, he hits them with Breath of the Abyss, leaving them paralyzed. They've been trapped from both sides. Knowing he can't escape, the captain uses his bird spell and calls the birds in to fight the zombies. As the birds dive in, the other pirates join the battle too. The MC realizes these are the same birds the girl warned him about, but they are no match for his skeleton ghouls, which tear them apart in seconds. Then Sungwoo revives the birds and makes them his own minions. The captain realizes it's hopeless, so he jumps off the bridge and tries to escape on one of his birds. He believes the main army will crush these minions anyway, but the MC sends his skeleton birds after him and knocks the captain's mount out of the sky. He crashes down and breaks his back. At the same time, the girl returns on the griffin and says the islanders got their weapons back and are fighting the pirates. She thanks him for helping them. Meanwhile, the captain wonders who he really is. Sungwoo knows the captain won't talk, so he kills him and reaches level 17. Then he uses memory fragments to look through the captain's memories. He sees a huge ship that seems to belong to the same pirate group. A man at the front asks the crew where they should head next. Sungwoo wonders if this is the general, hoping he isn't another lunatic like the vampires or the scientists. The general says the second server is controlled by the elementalist, while the first is being expanded by a self-proclaimed emperor who wants to rule the world. Then he asks his crew what they should do next. One of them suggests getting outside help, and the emperor instantly cuts his throat. He tells the others they're drifting across the sea because they still aren't strong or brutal enough. He says they need to swallow the mainland like a shark. Hearing that, the MC realizes the general is insane. No sane person would think of invading another country like this.